When high school ended, my parents thought I went abroad on a nice little vacation, but in reality, I kept them in the dark and ran off to become a mercenary. During one bloody mission, I saved the captain of the elite shadow forces. Just like that, they made me an external advisor and instructor for the unit. Ever since then, the captain spent every single day plotting how to lock me down for a permanent role. The old chief even threatened to fast-track me in as a major, but come on, I am only 18. I want college life. I want to be on a campus surrounded by pretty girls. The old chief was totally helpless, but he mentioned his granddaughter goes to the exact same school and begged me to protect Wan Ming. Apparently, she is a total campus beauty, but when he tried sending a whole platoon of military trucks just to drop me off, I flatly refused. Are you seriously kidding me? With an insane scene like that, how could I ever have a normal life? I gave him a clean salute and walked away. And yet, 30 minutes later, I found myself riding in a dusty, beat-up taxi. We pulled up to the gates, and the driver immediately overcharged me like some gullible kid. Honestly, I could not even be bothered to argue. I took a deep breath of the fresh air. No gunpowder here, only the sweet smell of flowers and the high-energy vibe of youth. But look, the entire campus was completely empty. Turns out, since I stayed back to help the captain recover, I completely missed the registration deadline. Mandatory military drills had already been running for 7 full days. I had to drag my heavy suitcase to the field, hoping to slip into the crowd unnoticed. But before I even reached them, I heard this loudmouthed instructor boasting, spit flying everywhere. He aggressively rolled up his sleeves. Pointing at a tiny scar that obviously came from cutting vegetables, he claimed it was a combat medal earned in a brutal sea of blood. Just then, he dropped his voice, asking the class with fake mystery if they had ever heard of Shadow Dragon. Honestly, I could barely hold back my laughter. He was literally talking about Great Shah's absolute top-tier special forces, and this guy had the nerve to pretend he belonged to them. He went on about how they were lethal killing machines, taking on only the deadliest missions. The entire group of students erupted, staring at the guy like he was some legendary war god, and he just soaked in their worship, completely drunk on his own hype, letting his ego skyrocket. In reality, he was just a discharged private who spent 2 years feeding farm pigs, only knowing about Shadow Dragon from secondhand gossip. But right as he put on a dramatic, battle-weary face, sighing over his old injuries and retirement, a sudden noise shattered the mood. Pfft. I honestly could not hold it back anymore and burst out laughing. The instructor's face darkened like a thundercloud as he roared out who's laughing. Instantly, every single eye in the place locked onto me. Just a handsome kid in a white t-shirt holding a suitcase. I literally wanted to check in quietly and be done. Who could have guessed I'd run into some fraud pretending to be from the exact unit I just left, bragging like this? It is a total joke. From the commander down to the cooks in Shadow Dragon, I know every single one of them. So who on earth was this guy? He snapped, "What class are you in? And what's so funny?" Instructor Wang glared at me, trying to mask his rising panic with pure aggression to save his fragile authority. Setting my suitcase down, I smiled and gave a completely harmless reply, saying, "Sorry, instructor. I am just a late freshman. My name is Gu Feng," and staring right at his bluffing face, I added that I laughed because I've never heard of him in Shadow Dragon. "I know everyone there, so which batch were you in?" Man, the air instantly froze. Dozens of shocked eyes darted back and forth between us, while the instructor's face turned a violent shade of purple. That was a brutal, massive slap to his ego. Of course, he didn't know me. He had no idea how Shadow Dragon even operated. But there was no way he would back down now. After his brain did some incredibly fast math, he figured a basic freshman like me could never have real access to highly classified information about Shadow Dragon. Desperate to save face, the furious instructor Wang let out an angry roar. The veins on his neck bulged, his spit almost flying into my face, as he stepped forward using his massive frame to intimidate me. Pointing right at my nose, he yelled, asking if I thought I could just talk trash about Shadow Dragon, claiming I knew everyone. He scoffed, asking if I thought I was the military commander, while I just watched him explode in pure humiliation. I was absolutely dying of laughter inside. Just yesterday, I was literally sitting in the commander's actual office, drinking warm tea, and that high-ranking leader politely called me Little Goo. Honestly, I had zero interest in wasting time on a complete nobody. Living a normal college life was my real priority, but if he wanted an escape, I'd give him one. Immediately, I wiped that playful look off my face and switched over to a totally innocent expression. "Reporting instructor, I obviously don't know them. I just read those rumors online." "Wait, online?" Instructor Wang froze. I kept up my completely blank face, adding that military forums are always hyping up stories like the legendary Soldier King or the Shadow Dragon. I'm honestly just a massive military nerd. When you brought it up, it sounded exactly like a novel, so I got curious. That excuse was pretty much airtight. It totally cleared my name while quietly mocking him for sounding like a cheap fiction novel. Instructor Wang was completely fooled by my act. Though he still felt something was off, the explanation seemed logical. He quietly let out a massive sigh of relief. As long as I didn't actually know the elites in Shadow Dragon, he was fine. But then, the embarrassment of being played made him boil. This kid dared to make him look foolish in front of everyone, so he had to teach me a lesson. You actually believe internet rumors? That stuff is top secret national intelligence. Instructor Wang scoffed coldly, putting his hands right behind his back. Finally, he bared his fangs. Since you're a big military fan, I guess your stamina is pretty decent, right? Every single student nearby could smell the tension building up. This was clearly him abusing his authority for personal revenge. My mouth twitched into a tiny smirk. I'm actually doing quite all right. I enjoy working out in my free time. Perfect. A pretty nasty grin spread across Instructor Wang's face. Since you arrived 7 days late, you'll make up for all that missed training right now. Hit the deck. 500 push-ups. Waving 5 fingers right in my face, he roared at the top of his lungs. If you don't finish these, forget about eating today. The crowd's reaction says it all. 500? Seriously. This new guy is going to get absolutely crushed. He offended the boss on day 1. Every freshman looked at me with pity. Doing 500 reps on boiling concrete under this sun would destroy anyone. But as for me, not a single trace of panic. 500? Please. Even the guys feeding pigs at the Shadow Dragon base start with 2,000 just to warm up. Doing this was basically like breathing for me. What? Are you scared? Seeing me freeze, the instructor assumed I was terrified. He flashed a smug grin, sneering, if you're too scared, just speak up. Shout that you're a wimp 3 times and I'll let you off. Reporting instructor, no need, I said calmly, tossing my bags aside to stretch my wrists. 500, right? Sure. The very moment I said that, the entire class stared at me in absolute disbelief. Boom. I dropped straight onto the boiling ground, acting like the heat wasn't even there. Begin. Pulling out his stopwatch, Instructor Wang smirked, waiting to watch me completely fail. But just a second later, his face totally froze. 2, 3, 4. Unbelievably fast, my body was moving like a highly precision-engineered machine. Every single rep was quite literally textbook. The only thing you could hear was my body cutting through the air. A literal pile driver. How was this even a punishment? It didn't even count as a warm-up. And check out these onlookers, 3 guys resting nearby literally almost choked on their water. Meet my future roommates. One of them was this wealthy kid named Joe Wei. He spat his water out immediately, yelling, "What the hell? Does this dude have a motor in his waist? Is he even a human being?" Right next to him, the nerdy tech guy, Lin Xian, frowned and pushed his glasses up. 1.5 reps every second. His rhythm is steady as a rock. This insane stamina is completely unscientific. If someone told me he actually came from Shadow Dragon, I would believe them in a heartbeat. Our third roommate, a gym buff named Xiao Rui, looked completely stunned, muttering that he'd be dead after 50 reps with that perfect form. This guy is an absolute monster. 100, 200, 300. As the time ticked away, cold sweat broke out on the instructor's face. He realized my speed wasn't dropping off at all. Instead, I was actually speeding up. It totally defied all physical logic, especially since I hadn't even broken a sweat. To be honest, I was getting a little bored here. This tiny bit of resistance felt like nothing. I should have asked to do these one-handed. I literally had enough downtime to watch some ants move their nest while pushing off the ground. 500. With a massive push, my body sprang straight up, landing perfectly right in front of the stunned Instructor Wang. My breathing was totally steady, like I had just finished a casual stroll. Reporting instructor, 500 push-ups done. Staring at his completely blank face, I gave him a totally innocent smile. Instructor, I think I went a little too fast. How about I throw in another 50 for free? The entire place was dead silent. Instructor Wang's stopwatch slipped right out of his hand, hitting the dirt with a loud click. His throat went completely dry, and he just stood there speechless. What kind of monster was I? Was this actually a regular college freshman? In a split second, my classmates went from pitying me to straight up worshipping me. Just like that, this single stunt turned me into an instant legend. Back to the ranks, Instructor Wang growled, literally forcing the words out through his tightly clenched teeth. He knew his little power trip had totally blown up in his face. I just offered a small smirk and gave him a flawless salute. Yes, sir. Finally, the morning of absolute training hell ended with a beautiful shout of dismissed. The rest of the freshmen collapsed, crying as they dragged themselves toward the cafeteria, while I looked perfectly fine, pulling my suitcase toward the main building. I was already 7 days late, so I had to report to the counselor immediately. At the finance department office, I knocked gently. Hearing a voice tell me to enter, I stepped right inside. Sitting behind the desk was a sharp, professional-looking young woman. This was Yi Xiaoyun, our finance department counselor. Known for being incredibly strict yet stunningly gorgeous, she sat there frowning while flipping through the roster. Her sharp gaze swept over me. "Are you Fang?" "Yes," I replied, quickly putting on my most sincere face. "Miss Yi, I'm so sorry." I explained that a sudden family emergency had held up my registration. Yi Xiaoyun was fully prepared to tear into me, but seeing my handsome face and polite attitude, most of her anger actually melted away. "Fine, I won't pry into your reasons," she said, "but you're a full week late, and your training credits are in serious danger." Stamping my paperwork with practiced efficiency, she gave me a stern warning. "For the next 2 weeks, you need to outperform everyone. Understood?" I immediately straightened up. "Understood, Miss Yi. You won't have to worry. I promise to follow every single rule," I said, assuming that petty instructor doesn't try to push my buttons again. "Your room is number 404 in Building 4. Go get settled quickly, because training starts back up this afternoon." "Thank you, Miss Yi." Grabbing the keys, I turned and headed out, immediately drawing the attention of several girls along the hallway. The rumor of my 500 push-ups on the field had already caught fire in all the freshman group chats. "Look, is that the monster from the field? He is so hot, and I heard he totally embarrassed that crazy instructor." Tuning out the whispers, I walked straight over to Building 4, room 404. And check this out, before I even push my dorm door open, I hear them inside, absolutely losing their minds over me. 500 reps, the chubby guy gasped. Looking at the pure physics of it, that's just biologically impossible. "It's like his body doesn't even feel pain," the nerd's voice chimed in. "Honestly, who cares about science? I'm just straight up worshipping the guy right now. Compared to him, I feel like a toddler," the tall guy added. Outside, a small smirk played on my lips. I swung the door open, asking what they were chatting about so happily. Instantly, all three voices cut off into dead silence. My three new roommates whipped their heads around together. The moment they realized who it was, their faces locked in pure shock. The chicken leg in our chubby roommate Joe's hand slipped out, hitting the floor with a wet splat. Lin Xian, the tech nerd, had his glasses slide right down to the tip of his nose. Xiao Rui, the tall guy, nearly jumped straight out of his chair as a loud curse slipped past his lips. Holy hell, it's the absolute beast himself. I smiled, dragging my suitcase inside, teasing them about not welcoming their new roommate. Joe reacted first. He scrambled over and started circling me. "Are you saying you actually live here? Are we roommates?" Dangling the room keys, I smiled. "Unless they handed me the wrong set, then yeah, I am." "That's incredible," Joe yelled, excitedly slapping his leg. "From this day on, our room 404 can basically walk sideways across this entire campus. We've got the ultimate field legend right here in our dorm." After some quick introductions, I finally got to know these three goofballs. There was our energetic rich kid Joe, the quiet computer genius Lin Xian, and the athletic Xiao Rui, who immediately handed me a cold energy drink. His eyes were full of respect. "Fang, you're insanely low-key. Instructor Wang is normally so unbelievably arrogant. Today, you turned his face completely green, and it was so damn satisfying." I just took a slow sip, smiling, and told them it was just a light warm-up. "What a legendary flex, calling 500 reps a quick warm-up," Joe said, offering a massive thumbs up. "Compared to you, we look like fragile old seniors doing basic physical therapy." Right then, Lin Xian quietly pushed up his glasses. "But honestly, Fang, you have to watch your back. That instructor Wang is incredibly petty and loves holding grudges. You made him look pathetic today, so he's definitely coming for payback this afternoon." Xiao Rui agreed, looking seriously concerned. "We have drill and formation practice later, and that guy is absolutely going to make your life a living hell." Laying out my bed sheets, I casually ask if this guy really thinks he can make things hard for me. Because last time someone tried, the grass on their grave ended up growing 2 meters high. I pat my pillow and turn around with a playful glint. Honestly, I just ate a great meal, so I will have plenty of energy to play with him this afternoon. My three roommates look at each other in utter shock, actually starting to feel a little sorry for Instructor Wang. Right on cue, the sharp screech of an assembly whistle echoes from right outside the window. Cursing under his breath, Joe Wei lets out a tragic wail, grabs his hat, and bolts out the door. Pushing the door open, I casually stroll out ahead of everyone, my absolute beast aura shining even brighter than the blazing afternoon sun. At 2:30, heat waves are radiating off the sports field. The mood in our finance department class 3 formation is incredibly tense, while Instructor Wang stands with his hands behind his back. His face is incredibly dark, and trust me, You can feel the absolute dread as his eyes lock dead onto me. That loud shout sends shivers down the spines of several girls, and once the lineup is set, he stays completely silent. Instead, he walks straight up to me with a sinister smirk, asking if my name is Guofang and if my fitness is really that good. He asks if 500 push-ups was just a breeze, so I stare straight ahead and loudly report that it was actually totally fine. With a cold scoff, he says that since I am so outstanding, I need to act as a role model. He orders me forward, so I step out of the formation as he commands me to face everyone from the very front. He wants the class to get a good look at what standard military posture actually looks like. The spot he points to has zero shade, right on the burning concrete under the brutal sun. I simply reply, "Yes, sir." Without a single second of hesitation, I stride right over to the spot, turn around, and lock into attention. My movements are smooth as flowing water, looking completely textbook perfect. Instructor Wang wanted to tear my form apart but finds it absolutely flawless. Forced to swallow his insults, he quietly fumes inside while trying to maintain his tough guy act. He screams at the formation to use Guofang as their standard and stand at attention for 1 full hour. He threatens that anyone who dares to move gets an extra half hour, and a chorus of tragic groans instantly erupts from the ranks. Under this blazing sky, standing for even 20 minutes could easily trigger heat stroke, but the clock just keeps ticking. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, then 30 minutes slowly drag by as the freshmen get completely drenched in sweat. Their legs start to tremble and their bodies sway, but I stand completely still like a statue welded to the burning concrete. My eyes do not even blink, and my spine stays straight as a ruler while Instructor Wang circles me like a hawk. Unable to spot even a minor flaw, he silently wonders if this kid is actually made of solid iron. At the 40-minute mark, he loses his patience completely, quietly stepping behind me to suddenly deliver a vicious kick straight to my calf. There is massive weight behind that strike, and any normal person would have instantly dropped straight to their knees from the impact. Instead, with a heavy thud, Instructor Wang feels like his foot just slammed into a solid steel pillar. While agonizing pain shoots through his throbbing toes, my legs do not budge an inch or show the slightest sway. A tiny smirk tugs at my lips, and seriously, this foolish instructor has absolutely no idea what he is dealing with. Sure enough, Instructor Wang circles back to my side, grabbing my hand which is pinned tight against the seam of my pants. He hisses that I am just putting on an act, demanding that I keep my fingers straight. As he shouts to keep them tight, he secretly applies pressure, digging his fingers hard into the gaps of mine. Veins bulge across his hand as he strains with all his power, desperately trying to pry my fingers away by even a single centimeter. But a moment later, a bizarre scene unfolds as my hand seems completely welded to my camo pants. No matter how much his face turns bright red from the extreme strain, my arm remains steady as a mountain without a single tremor. Stunned, Instructor Wang wonders how this is even possible, feeling absolutely horrified. It feels like he is trying to lift a 1,000-pound iron block instead of an arm, gasping for breath as he even braces his foot against my calf for extra leverage. With his teeth bared in a painful grimace, he looks exactly like a desperate farmer trying to yank up a stubborn radish while I remain standing there completely unfazed. Turning my head slightly, I ask him in a totally innocent voice if he is just trying to help me stretch, adding that I am not tired at all, so he really does not need to go to all this trouble. Someone in the ranks finally loses it and bursts out laughing, and instantly after, the entire formation starts shaking with laughter. Everyone was struggling so hard to hold back their laughter as Instructor Wang's face turned green from pure, naked humiliation. He abruptly let go, staggering back 2 steps as his embarrassment instantly boiled over into absolute rage. Pointing a trembling finger at the crowd, he roared, "What are you laughing at? Add another 20 minutes to the drill." Then, he whipped his head around and locked his furious, bloodshot eyes dead onto me. Since he couldn't find a single flaw in my posture, he wanted to break me mentally with a killer glare. He strode right up to my face, stopping until our noses were barely 4 inches apart. His massive face, reeking of sweat and pure fury, loomed over me. "Look at me," he growled in a low voice. "Where are you looking? Look me in the eyes." Honestly, I'd just been spacing out and watching the clouds. I felt so helpless because I really didn't want to bully anyone. I just wanted to live a quiet life as a normal college student, but this guy insisted on pushing my limits. "Instructor, are you sure you want me to look at you?" I asked flatly. He roared back, "Cut the crap. If you have nothing to hide, why don't you dare look at me?" As he roared with spit flying everywhere, I let out a soft sigh. "Fine, since you want to see, I'll let you get a good look." I slowly lowered my gaze, pulling my eyes away from the distant blue sky and those peaceful white clouds, and watched this as I focused on his face inches away. The second our eyes met, time seemed to stand still. Every single insult Instructor Wang had lined up instantly got completely stuck in his throat the second he met the murderous intent in my eyes, What he saw was no longer a clear-eyed college freshman. Instead, I showed him a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Countless severed limbs were churning in those bloody waves, releasing a bone-chilling aura that could freeze your very soul. How could a simple college freshman have a gaze like this? This wasn't human at all. Instructor Wang's pupils shrank to tiny pinpricks as his face turned deathly pale before everyone's eyes. His taut nerves snapped. He subconsciously backed away, but his heel caught on something, making him lose his balance. With a loud thud right under the shocked gazes of dozens of watching students, this arrogant instructor collapsed flat onto his butt on the ground. He desperately propped himself up, kicking his feet and scrambling backward in absolute panic. The hand pointing at me trembled violently, and the entire training field fell completely silent. Everyone was totally dumbfounded. I mean, wouldn't you be? The guy looked like he'd seen an actual ghost from just one look. Meanwhile, I just stood quietly in place as that terrifying killing intent vanished from my eyes without a trace. Instantly, I turned back into a sunny, innocent boy. I rushed forward, extending my hand with a face full of concern. "Instructor, what is wrong? Are you actually okay?" Taking a step closer, I made sure my voice was loud enough for the front row to hear. "Look at how pale you are. You are breaking out in a cold sweat. Isn't this a symptom of low blood sugar?" I followed up with concern. "Did you skip lunch today? Let me go grab you a chocolate bar to help you feel better." The moment I said this, the surrounding freshmen immediately connected the dots. Oh, so it was just low blood sugar. But Instructor Wang's heart was still pounding in his chest. He stared at my handsome face with eyes full of shock and doubt, seriously questioning his life choices. Could that terrifying mountain of corpses and sea of blood really have been just a hallucination from staying up too late? But deep down, he knew he had absolutely no choice but to take the excuse I was handing him. Otherwise, a dignified instructor being scared limp by a freshman? If word of this got out, he'd never lead troops again. So, Instructor Wang propped himself up, struggling to stand, but his legs were soft as noodles. Seeing this, I was quick on the draw and stepped forward to support his arm. "Instructor, you have to be careful. Low blood sugar is a serious issue, so take it slow." The moment I grabbed his arm, his body flinched violently, but he felt only warmth and no killing intent from my hand. He finally breathed a slight sigh of relief. The next second, he used my leverage to stand up straight. To hide his deep embarrassment, he put on a stern face and yelled, "I just stood up too fast and my vision went black. Rest in place for 20 minutes. After saying that, he didn't even dare look at me. He turned and rushed off, ordering the sports rep, maintain discipline. I am going to wash my face." Before his voice even faded, Instructor Wang took stiff, awkward steps, slipping out of the training field like he was running for his life. The second the instructor left, my 3 roommates immediately pounced on me like a pack of starving wolves. "Brother Fang, my dearest brother." Fatty Joe offered up an ice-cold cola like a priceless treasure. Jiao Rui's beady eyes flashed with a burning hunger for gossip. "Fess up right now that old Wang was definitely floored by just one single look from you." "Low blood sugar my ass," Jiao Rui says, leaning in with a face full of total awe, asking if I have really practiced some kind of internal martial arts. That crazy aura just now? Dead cold. It felt like the temperature around us dropped a few degrees. Our top student roommate, Lin Xiaowen, pushed up his glasses and began analyzing the situation with a dead serious face. According to microexpression psychology, that was absolute, extreme fear, definitely not just low blood sugar. "What exactly did you make him see?" they ask. Facing my roommate's relentless bombardment, I just calmly unscrewed my cola and took a slow sip of the icy liquid. Then, leaning lazily against a tree, I slowly spoke up. "You guys are totally overthinking this. I'm just an ordinary college student. What internal martial arts would I even know?" Seeing their completely unconvinced looks, I tell them maybe I just looked too righteous, and the instructor's guilty conscience got the best of him after doing too many bad deeds. My 3 roommates rolled their eyes in perfect, absolute unison. Obviously, they didn't believe a single word of it, but since I refused to talk, they could only turn their shock into even deeper admiration for me. Unfortunately, those 20 minutes of peaceful rest passed faster than a single blink. As the sharp assembly whistle blew again, the field instantly erupted into a chorus of miserable wailing, "Fall in, fall in." Instructor Wang finally returned, and a splash of cold water had made his pale complexion look much better. He forcefully tightened his heavy belt, trying desperately to reclaim the shattered authority he had just lost. But every time his sweeping gaze was about to land on me, it would violently dart away like he'd just been electrocuted. It seemed his psychological trauma was quite significant, and soon, pure shame and anger completely overshadowed his fear. The more he thought about it, the more furious he got. A seasoned veteran, absolutely terrified of a young greenhorn like me. He desperately needed to vent this foul anger, but he wasn't stupid. knowing he couldn't suppress me with physical fitness or aura. So, he decisively chose to switch tracks and challenge me in combat skills instead. To him, compared to my dead gym muscles, he was a real professional trained in military boxing and grappling combat. With that thought, Instructor Wang's confidence fully returned. He strutted to the front of the formation, clasped his hands behind his back, and roared from his lungs. Standing at attention just now was only an appetizer. As a soldier, just looking pretty isn't enough. You need real, solid combat power. Our next training subject is military boxing, and the second those words came out, the boys who were just drooping their heads instantly had their eyes light up. Instructor Wang looked at the expectant eyes of the freshmen below, sneered inwardly, and began his performance. While demonstrating the moves, he bragged about his old heroic deeds of catching thieves single-handedly and taking down 3 armed thugs all by himself. He bluffed these freshmen into a total daze, their eyes filled with deep admiration. Right at this moment, Instructor Wang suddenly changed his tune, finally revealing his fox tale. All talk and no practice is just a fake show. He stopped his bragging, his gaze searching through the formation to let everyone feel his raw power more intuitively. I need a student to assist with the demonstration, he says. Any volunteers? The entire scene instantly falls dead silent. The boys, who were so excited a second ago, all shrink back. I mean, would you want to go up and be a human punching bag? Instructor Wang's cold gaze circled the crowd before landing precisely on me, as if he had locked onto his target long ago. A sinister smile curled at the corner of his mouth as he pointed his finger straight at my face. Since there are no volunteers, I will just call names. Gufang. That loud roar made everyone turn to me. Gufang again. Anyone with eyes could clearly see that Instructor Wang was using his official position to settle a very personal grudge. 500 push-ups in the morning, targeted standing at attention in the afternoon, and now he wants to drag me up as a punching bag. Fatty Zhao Rui anxiously mutters from below, telling me not to go because this old bastard clearly has bad intentions. If you go up, you're definitely getting beat up, he warns. I gently pat Zhao Rui's shoulder, signaling him not to panic. Then, I meet Instructor Wang's highly provocative gaze showing absolutely zero fear. I even let a highly meaningful smile curl on my lips. Seriously, playing combat in front of me? The legendary chief instructor of the Hidden Dragon? I could blast him 2 miles away with the mere force of a fart. I respond loudly, slowly adjusting my collar as I unhurriedly step out of the formation, making Instructor Wang's heart skip a nervous beat. But on second thought, he's a trained martial artist, and this was supposed to be a standard teaching demonstration. Even with his expert techniques, he thought he could throw me around until my head started spinning. If he could just make me eat dirt, he would salvage his precious pride. So, I walked right up and stood at attention, telling him I was ready for his orders. Instructor Wang forced a fake smile, saying that since student Gu Feng was in such great shape, he was the perfect partner to spar with. Do not worry, he said. He would hold back so nobody got hurt. He claimed he would take it easy, but his eyes were practically dripping with pure malice. I just smiled right back at him. Since our instructor is so eager to teach, I will absolutely play along. Everyone, make sure you pay close attention. Instructor Wang turned to face us, teaching the 16th stance of the first military boxing set, the cross-side kick. Today, he would show us how to redirect an opponent's force into a flawless shoulder throw. Then he spun back to me, instructing Gu Feng to play the bad guy and grab his left shoulder with my right hand. I simply nodded, reached out as told, and placed my right hand firmly onto his left shoulder. Instructing everyone to watch closely, Instructor Wang yelled out and started an overly dramatic breakdown of the technique. First, when the enemy grabs you, you quickly use your right hand to pin down the back of theirs, then slide your left arm under their armpit, lock their shoulder, and slam them, he grunted, suddenly throwing his full weight into the move with an explosive shout. Now watch this in his head. I was about to get slammed into the dirt by a textbook throw, but nothing happened. Not a single budge. To him, it felt like trying to lift a mountain of solid iron. No matter how hard he arched his back, bent his knees, and strained with every single muscle in his body, I did not budge. Not an inch. It was like my feet had literally grown roots deep into the concrete. While he hopped around like an angry monkey, gritting his teeth and pulling with everything he had, I stood completely still. Talk about an awkward moment. There he was, frozen in this ridiculous bent-over stance, his face turning bright red as the thick veins bulged on his neck. Then came a sound. He strained so hard he accidentally let a loud fart rip right in front of everyone. The sound echoed beautifully across the dead silent field. Instantly, the students clapped their hands over their mouths, turning purple as they tried not to explode with laughter. I just stared down at the guy, who was still bent over with his rear in the air, blushing furiously, and whispered a question only he could hear. Instructor, are you practicing some secret Qigong technique, Or are you just constipated and need a hand? Instructor Wang wished a hole would open up and swallow him whole. How was this possible? How could a mere freshman stand so insanely solid? It made zero sense. Gritting his teeth so hard they almost cracked, he hissed under his breath that I had better cooperate with him. He told me to jump, because if I did not, he could not throw me. I put on a shocked face and blinked, asking if I had to jump myself. Instructor, you did not mention that earlier. I thought you said this was a practical real-world combat skill. In an actual fight, does the enemy jump up on their own to help you throw them? I spoke just loud enough for the students standing in the front row to hear. That did it. Someone in the front row completely lost it and burst out laughing at the image of a helpful enemy jumping. What a joke! That is not a shoulder throw. It looks more like an old man struggling with a broken cart. With everyone laughing right at his face, the instructor completely lost his mind. He let go of me with a violent shove, glaring in pure humiliation. He had actually been embarrassed by a freshman twice now. If anyone found out, his reputation as an elite soldier would be completely ruined. He nodded, muttering that it was fine. Laughing hysterically from sheer rage, Instructor Wang ripped his military cap off and slammed it hard onto the dirt. Student Gu Feng, since you clearly know martial arts and refuse to cooperate with my demonstration, let us settle this for real. He cracked his knuckles loudly, his gaze turning incredibly cold and hostile. I wanted to keep this safe, but since you clearly look down on basic military boxing, let me show you what real fighting looks like. Dropping all professional pretense, he threw himself forward to attack. Instructor Wang dropped into his standard combat stance, roaring at me to fight. I just sighed, looked at him, and shook my head. Instructor, are you sure about this? Punches do not pull themselves. What if I accidentally hurt you? He spat back, telling me to shut up. That completely set him off. Before I could even finish my sentence, he lunged forward, launching a cheap shot. Stomping forward with terrifying speed, Instructor Wang aimed a heavy right hook directly at my jaw, the wind whistling past. He put at least 80% of his full power into this strike. The watching girls shrieked in horror, covering their faces while Jui screamed a warning at the top of his lungs. Brother Feng, watch out. But staring down this massive, heavy fist, I didn't even blink. To me, his flashy attack looked incredibly slow, like a video playing in slow motion. The guy was wide open from head to toe, and he is supposed to be some elite Hidden Dragon Special Forces soldier. Honestly, he is just a complete embarrassment to the Hidden Dragon name. The moment his fist got within 2 inches of my face, I stepped forward instead of backing away. With a quick pivot, I slid my left foot forward by half a step, slipping right into the absolute blind spot of his momentum. Right after that, I extended my right hand, barely grazing his wrist with a soft tap while whispering, "Let's use your own strength against you." Then, I smoothly swept my leg to trip him up. To Instructor Wang, it felt like his fist punched soft cotton. Suddenly, a violent force pulled him forward, and he lost his footing entirely. He completely lost his balance. Talk about instant regret. Before everyone's jaw-dropping gazes, he flew like a cannonball, tracing a beautiful arc before a heavy crash. He slammed hard into the dirt over 6 feet away, face first. It was an absolute textbook faceplant, leaving the training field dead silent. Every single student stood there jaw-dropped, staring at their instructor, lying there completely motionless, while I just stood casually with one hand in my pocket. Was that a legendary one-hit knockout? Brushing imaginary dust off my hands, I looked down at the instructor groveling on the grass and slowly shook my head. What a spectacular landing, instructor. Is that faceplant a new boxing stance? Talk about an embarrassing opening. My voice echoed with absolute clarity across the quiet field. Real combat styles don't involve screaming and making wide, flashy moves like yours. Honestly, what you're doing looks like simple morning calisthenics. True military boxing is dead quiet, but every single blow is completely lethal. After speaking, I walked over to a nearby wooden training dummy. My gaze suddenly turned razor-sharp as I muttered, "Watch closely," because this is what real military boxing looks like. I completely ignored Instructor Wang and took a few slow steps toward that wooden dummy. Now, this training post was made of rock-solid, aged hardwood. My casual, lazy vibe evaporated, replaced by an incredibly sharp, terrifying pressure. Look closely at this. This is real combat, guys. The second I stopped speaking, I whipped my body around and threw a vicious right elbow, moving fast as lightning. A loud, sharp crack echoed instantly. That solid, heavy training post was literally snapped clean in half by my bare elbow strike. Shards of hardwood exploded everywhere, and the shattered top half landed on the grass. Once again, the entire area fell dead silent. Someone swallowed hard. Shocked gasps filled the air, because that thing was made of solid, aged hardwood. Under normal circumstances, you would need an axe and plenty of time just to chip it. Fatty Joe rubbed his eyes hard, muttering, "Am I dreaming? Is this guy using CGI tricks? Or was that wood just completely rotten inside?" Standing next to him, Xiao Rui rolled his eyes and croaked out, "Rotten? Last time I punched that post, I nearly shattered my own bones. Harder than stone itself." If Brother Fang swung his elbow at a real person, everyone shuddered at the thought, looking over at Instructor Wang lying on the ground. Right now, Instructor Wang looked pale as a ghost, sweat drenching his face. He stared blankly at the shattered wood, his lips trembling with absolute terror. I casually brushed a few splinters off my uniform and turned around to look at the completely frozen crowd. Flashing my usual innocent smile, I said, "Come on, guys. Don't look at me like I'm a monster. This wood has been sitting out in the rain for ages, so it was probably hollow. Honestly, I just got pretty lucky here." Everyone screamed in their minds, "Lucky my ass." But before anyone could speak, a booming voice suddenly echoed, "What's going on here? Why are you all slacking off? Do you think this training ground is a local flea market?" Striding over with a deep frown was a middle-aged man in camo, clutching a thermos. This was our chief instructor, Captain Liu. Seeing him, Instructor Wang looked like a drowning man catching a life preserver. He scrambled to his feet and saluted. "Captain Liu, sir." Captain Liu swept his sharp gaze over the filthy, dirt-covered Instructor Wang before locking eyes onto the snapped wooden training post. His eyebrows furrowed into a tight scowl. "Wang Chang, what on earth are you doing? Explain what happened here right now." Shaking with pure anxiety, Instructor Wang immediately started stuttering out a pathetic lie, reporting to Captain Liu the equipment was just too old. When this recruit was demonstrating just now, he barely even touched it and it snapped. Captain Liu scoffed. "Old?" Scoffing loudly, Lu Tai stepped up to kick the broken chunk of solid timber. "We literally replaced this hardwood 2 years ago, and you expect me to believe it's old? Am I a joke to you?" This splintered wood was clearly shattered by an incredible burst of explosive energy. He suddenly whipped around, his piercing gaze locking dead onto me. When he asks if I did it, I immediately stand up straight, looking completely innocent. Reporting to the chief instructor, it was me. Instructor Wang asked me to show the explosive power of military boxing, and I guess I just did not hold back. Lu Tai narrowed his eyes, his mind already calculating two main things, discipline and compensation. He clearly does not believe my story at all as he slowly unscrews his thermos for a sip. He notes that having good skills is great, but in school, this is straight-up intentional destruction of public property. With that, he squats down to pick up the shattered half of the wooden stake. But when his fingers brush across the fresh break, his pupils instantly shrink. The wood is dense, pale, and completely solid with zero rot. This is solid, top-grade birchwood. Lu Tai suddenly looks up, staring at me with a deeply complicated look. Who on earth is this kid? He is supposed to be just an ordinary incoming freshman. Beside him, Instructor Wang is pale as a ghost, shivering as he whispers that this kid is a total monster. Snapping at him to shut up, Lu Tai stands up abruptly, glaring fiercely at Instructor Wang with his mind racing. If he actually admits that a freshman shattered this stake with one single elbow strike, where would the military instructor's dignity be once word gets out? How would they handle the public uproar? With that in mind, he takes a deep breath, puts on a serious yet relieved expression, holds up the broken wood, and tells the students not to panic. He claims that after his professional inspection, he has determined this stake was stored in a damp place, leaving the inside completely rotten. Student Gufang just got lucky, striking it right at its weakest structural point. Thanks to the basic physics of leverage, it snapped, and even a weaker student could have broken it with a light touch. They can't actually buy that, right? The crowd erupts in an uproar before suddenly catching on. Exactly how could a regular human shatter a solid wooden stake with one elbow unless they were literally Superman? It turns out it was just rotten wood, which makes the instructor who fell over look incredibly embarrassed for no reason. Seeing that public opinion has been successfully swayed, Lu Tai secretly breathes a quiet sigh of relief. He shoots me a warning glare, making my mouth curl up as I instantly catch his drift and decide to play along. Scratching my head, I smile innocently, agreeing that the chief instructor is absolutely right. When I hit it, it felt super soft, almost like cotton, making me wonder why the school's training gear is so incredibly flimsy. Lu Tai's mouth twitches violently. This kid really knows how to play his part. Although he managed to smooth it over, he still needs a scapegoat, turning around to point and yell at the dazed instructor Wang. He demands to know why Wang Chang didn't inspect the gear before letting his squad train with it. Giving students rotten wood is a major safety violation, and he asks who would take responsibility if someone got seriously hurt. When Wang tries to argue that the wood was clearly solid, Lu Tai cuts him off with a terrifying glare. He orders him to write a 5,000-word self-reflection, making Instructor Wang's entire world go dark. He almost passes out right there, looking at that iron-hard wood, and then at me standing around with a perfectly innocent face. He feels deeply wronged since I was the one who terrified him, yet he is the one taking the blame and writing essays. Wondering if there is any justice, they are finally dismissed to go grab some lunch. Lu Tai waves them off and turns to me, noting that the equipment needed to be replaced anyway. Even if I hadn't broken it, someone else would have, so he won't hold me liable for any damages. I flash a harmless smile and nod obediently, but that very night, the university's online forum completely blows up. A trending post suddenly appears out of nowhere, claiming a freshman snapped a solid wooden stake with his elbow. And get this, the headline about the terrified instructor shoots straight to the absolute top of the trending list. Although my face isn't visible, someone managed to snap a shot of my back as I stood confidently before the shattered stake. In the photo, my tall posture stands out sharply against the ruined wood on the ground and the miserable-looking instructor. It completely ignites the comment section, with people asking if this is the legendary new freshman badass. While some swoon, others tell them to stop dreaming since the instructor already proved it was just rotten wood. Others claim they could do it too, but eyewitnesses argue that the snap was way too crisp to be rotten wood. Ultimately, no one cares if the wood was rotten, they just want to dox this absolute legend from the finance department. Meanwhile, back in the dorms, Wang Chang is gnashing his teeth at a completely blank self-reflection page. Gufang. Gufang. He kept muttering my name over and over, his furious eyes looking like they could literally burn the paper. Fine then. You think you are a great fighter? Think you are incredibly strong? As long as you are in my company, I have 100 ways to make your life a living hell. Wang Chang slammed his pen down, a sinister glint flashing in his eyes. Tomorrow's training is the dorm inspection blanket fold. That is a tedious, painstaking task. That kid is nothing but brute strength, just a meathead. Tomorrow, I will show him what a perfect tofu block blanket looks like. I will show him what iron discipline really means. But get this, the moment I pushed open my dorm door, 3 pairs of eyes locked onto me instantly. Brother Fang, you are practically my real blood brother. The chubby Zhou Wei lunged at me while gnawing on a chicken leg, demanding I confess right now if I had just returned to normal life from the Shaolin Temple. Exactly, Brother Fang. Xiao Rui stopped his sit-ups, analyzing with a deadpan expression, even if the chief instructor claimed that target was just rotten wood. As a gym veteran, I know the dense hardness of that birch wood stake all too well. For you to snap that thing with a single elbow strike, that explosive power is totally unscientific. Lin Xiaoyan pushed up his glasses, pointing at his computer screen, telling me I was now the famous badass of the entire school. Everyone is trying to dox you. Looking at my 3 roommates acting like a court tribunal, I sighed helplessly and calmly grabbed my wash basin. Your imaginations are way too wild. Shaolin temples, secret martial arts families, come on. You have been reading too many web novels. But Zhou Wei was still unwilling to let it go, asking how I did it. What was my summer training routine? I turned my head, my eyes completely sincere, telling them I just moved thousands of bricks a day at a construction site. That strength was built purely through solid, hard labor. Moving bricks? The 3 of them looked at each other in shock. Their faces were full of total disbelief. Yeah, moving bricks is actually a great workout, I bullshitted with a straight face. As for that wooden stake, it was a pure coincidence. You guys seriously need to believe in science. It is just that when I moved bricks, I would often smash concrete blocks with my elbow for fun. I just have a lot of experience breaking things, that is all. After saying that, I carried my basin into the bathroom, leaving them with the legendary back of a man hiding his true power. Zhou Wei scratched his head as if he had a sudden epiphany, muttering that manual labor like moving bricks is definitely exhausting. Xiao Rui thoughtfully squeezed his own biceps, realizing gym muscles might really just be for show. Maybe I should go work at a construction site sometime. Only Lin Xiaoyan frowned deeply. He was still pondering the physics of stress concentration points, wondering if a human elbow joint could really withstand that kind of extreme impact force. Whether they actually believed it or not, I had finally managed to fool them for now. But I knew very well in my heart that the petty instructor Wang would definitely not let this go. Sure enough, Zhou Wei spoke up to warn me. Brother Fang, you have to be careful. I think you have completely started a grudge with that instructor. He got punished with a 5,000-word self-reflection today. Tomorrow, during dorm inspection, he is definitely going to grill you to death. Honestly, hearing this made me burst out laughing. Just a dorm inspection? But check this out when I walked back in. My roommates were literally wailing in despair. My roommate, Zhou Wei, was staring at his blanket, which looked like a failed batch of bread dough, crying over the lumpy mess. This thing cannot be folded into anything decent. Beside him, Xiao Rui and Lin Xiaoyan were not doing any better either. Their blanket folds were getting more and more abstract. Realizing today's dorm inspection was going to be their ultimate social death, Joe Wei slumped into his chair, looking as utterly hopeless as a salted fish. It is over. It is over. Instructor Wang just got punished yesterday, so he is definitely holding in his rage to take revenge on us today. Brother Fang, you are his prime target. Before he even finished speaking, he suddenly slapped his thigh and turned to look at me with absolute heartbreak. Ah, Brother Fang, you arrived 7 days too late. You practically missed out on $1 billion. I wiped my wet hair, looking completely baffled, asking if I missed a beauty. The campus goddess. Golden light instantly shot out from his beady little eyes. A couple days ago at the freshman orientation, the campus goddess Jiang Wanning gave a speech as an outstanding senior. Oh my god. Thousands of freshmen in the audience did not even dare to breathe. Xiao Rui immediately nodded, agreeing she really is a fairy descended from heaven. She is also Shanghai University's famous unattainable flower, the kind you can only admire from afar but never touch, goddess Jiang Wanning. My hand wiping my hair suddenly paused as a thought flashed through my mind. That old man with the shocking military stars on his shoulders. Before he left, he repeatedly urged me to take good care of his granddaughter. Wasn't that her exact name? My heart stirred. I never guessed that old man's granddaughter was actually such a massive deal, but I kept my face completely flat and calm. Pretty smooth, right? My roommate practically leaped out of his skin hearing the news. Brother Fang, have you totally lost interest in girls? She is the dream girl of every single guy at school, but I could not be bothered to waste my breath on him. I casually chucked my towel onto the rack and headed back to my bunk. Look, stop obsessing over some school goddess. You better worry about your own giant dough ball first. I gestured toward his bed. That messy blanket looks like a total disaster. Instructor Wang will chuck your blanket right out the window. Joey looked like he was about to cry. I want to fold it nicely too, but this stupid blanket is as soft as mud and won't hold its shape at all. I just shook my head. Just watch. The next second, I smoothed my own blanket flat across the hard wooden bedboard. No rulers or guides needed. My hands moved with a mind of their own, pressing, folding, and pinching every corner to perfection. The entire movement was fluid as water, leaving blurry after images. Within 2 minutes, I pulled my hands back and calmly dusted them off. What the hell? The three of them froze in shock, their eyes bulging wider than a cow's. Sitting on my bed was a perfect block of tofu, its surface as smooth as a mirror. Every edge was so incredibly sharp, looking carved by an axe. This was a straight-up masterpiece. Lin shakily pulled out a ruler to measure it and let out a huge gasp. The error was less than 2 millimeters. Brother Fang, are your hands 3D printers? Joey got dramatic and hugged my leg. Dearest brother, is this magic from that secret training too? Before he finished, I nodded solemnly, owning it without even a hint of embarrassment. Exactly. This runs on the exact same principles I used when I was hauling heavy bricks on construction sites. Countless massive question marks immediately popped up right over their heads. I pointed at the neat tofu block and started talking absolute nonsense with a serious expression. You guys haven't moved bricks, so you wouldn't get it. They have to be stacked perfectly. If they are crooked, they collapse and crush someone. I worked that site for 3 months, and now I have got an occupational habit. Seeing floppy, soft things just makes my entire body uncomfortable. I absolutely have to turn them into perfect squares to feel safe. This ridiculous explanation was flawless. The logic was a perfectly closed loop. Joey just blinked his tiny, beady eyes. He knew something felt off, but could not quite name it. Seriously, are they actually falling for this construction site lie? Just then, an absolute thunderous roar echoed from the hallway outside. What kind of trash fold is this? A pig in its pen could fold it better with its snout. Throw it out. A heavy thud was followed by chaotic footsteps. Instructor Wang roared. Next up, Dorm 404. Stand straight. It is over. Yama Wang has arrived. Joey shuddered in pure terror, diving back to his bunk at lightning speed and standing completely straight. Bang! The door got kicked wide open. Wang Chang, rocking 2 massive dark circles under his eyes, marched in looking furious. Clearly, last night's 5,000-word essay had completely drained his soul, but that murderous glint in his eyes was stronger than ever. He held a tape measure and wore one white glove. His posture made it clear he was here to pick a fight. Stand straight. Wang Chang's freezing stare swept across the room, locking viciously onto me. Fang, you were a tough fighter yesterday, right? He sneered with a fake smile. But in this military camp, raw fighting skill is completely useless. What matters most here are discipline and rules. A musclehead like you, if you fail to fold a perfect square block today, you are running laps until you pass out. He ignores the others and marches straight to my bunk. Oh, he has no idea what is waiting for him. His mind was already cooking up 100 brutal ways to humiliate me. But when he reached my bed and looked down, he completely froze up. All his prepared insults died in his throat. He stared in shock. What on earth was this thing sitting before him? Could this masterpiece even be called a blanket? Flat, square, with razor-sharp edges. Wang Chang's eyes went wide as his face twisted in utter disbelief. He definitely stuffed something inside. Cheating to put on a show? He scoffed in disbelief and slammed his white-gloved hand directly onto the folded blanket. But the texture under his hand was completely soft, not cardboard at all. His heart sank. How could this be? He whipped out his tape measure, leaning over to check. Length, width, height, all completely standard. Damn it, it was totally flawless, not even a single millimeter off. Cold sweat is literally dripping down Wang Chang's forehead as his white-gloved fingers frantically swipe along the bed frame. He is checking every blind spot and gap in the metal rack just to find a single speck of dust. Too bad my bed is clean enough to be used as an operating table. The entire dorm is so quiet you can hear a pin drop while Wang Chang stares at that perfect tofu block blanket, his voice starting to tremble. He can't maintain his tough facade anymore, stammering out, "Is this also from your time moving bricks?" I instantly snapped to attention with a harmless smile, reporting back to the instructor. Yes, I used to stack bricks at the site and developed a bit of occupational OCD. I just can't stand seeing things out of order. Wang Chang's mouth twitches violently. OCD my ass. He is so furious he is about to explode, but this textbook perfect dorm room gives him absolutely nothing to complain about. If he keeps picking a fight, he'll look like a total clown. Coughing dryly to save some face, Wang Chang mutters, "Since it's passable, keep it up, but don't go getting cocky now." The moment those words leave his mouth, he turns to leave, clearly unwilling to spend another single second inside this creepy dorm. It is just too damn weird. But just as he takes a step, my calm voice calls out, "Instructor, wait a moment." Wang Chang's body jolts, and he spins around like a cat whose tail got stepped on, taking a very cautious step back. He stammers out, "What do you want?" I just frown slightly. My gaze deadlocked onto Wang Chang's neck. Looking at him with deep discomfort, as if seeing something filthy, I say softly, "Instructor, please do not move." While speaking, my hand slowly reaches forward, aiming straight for his collar as Wang Chang turns absolutely pale with fright. He desperately wants to run, but his legs feel like heavy lead. He can only watch in sheer terror as my hand closes in on his throat. A quick twist. My fingers only end up lightly brushing his collar. No deadly throat lock technique here. I simply help him meticulously straighten his crooked collar button, casually brushing off a speck of non-existent dust from his shoulder. I let out a long sigh, showing a deeply satisfied smile. I report to the instructor, "Your collar was crooked by 0.5 centimeters just now, and my OCD was driving me crazy." I blink my innocent eyes at Wang Chang. Soldiers care most about their clean appearance, and you are our role model. A crooked collar would ruin your grand image, wouldn't it? But Wang Chang only feels an icy coldness where my fingers had touched him. Goosebumps cover his entire body. How is this just a collar adjustment? Think about it, this is a straight-up threat. If I can straighten your neck, I can snap it just as easily. Very good. Wang Chang's voice trembles as he mutters to keep it up before bolting out of dorm 404. He runs without looking back like his ass is on fire, completely forgetting to even look at the other 3 blankets. The second the instructor disappears, our dorm explodes into roaring laughter, and Zhao Wei instantly gives me a massive thumbs up. "Brother Fang, you are a legend. Your OCD is practically a miracle." Shrugging, I sit back down on my bed with a smirk, reminding them that I did warn them earlier about my OCD. I can't stand things being dirty, and I especially hate when people try to act like big shots in front of me. Now, Zhao Wei and the rest are looking at me like I am some kind of god, chanting that Brother Fang is absolutely legendary. They yell that Brother Fang has to treat them to a meal, which makes zero sense to me. Soon, it's 9 a.m., and I am standing in the boring military training formation. Honestly, this feels like forcing a PhD student to sit through preschool. Eyes front. Instructor Wang Chang is at the front of the formation, frantically trying to organize the troops. But no matter how you look at him today, something is clearly off. Usually, he'd be pacing back and forth with his hands behind his back, glaring at us freshmen with terrifying, sharp eyes. He'd be looking for some unlucky bastard to make an example of. But today, Wang Chang is acting like a scared little bird, hiding at the edge. His gaze is completely erratic, clearly carrying a deep hint of fear. Every single time his line of sight is about to sweep over to where I stand, he acts like he just got electrocuted, jerking his head away at an incredibly stiff angle. He doesn't dare look in my direction at all, not even a glance. The man is suffering so much inside. That hand touching his throat yesterday felt like the Grim Reaper's scythe, a nightmare he can never shake. "Hey, did you guys see that?" Standing in the ranks, Zhao Wei nudges Xiao Rui next to him. Old Wang is definitely chickening out today. Xiao Rui whispers back, gloating that Brother Fang's intense OCD adjustment trick probably gave Old Wang some massive psychological trauma. Right then, a sharp whistle echoes across the training field, announcing a 20-minute rest. To us freshmen, this sound is basically a blessing from heaven, and everyone instantly slumps to the ground. Suddenly, a massive uproar breaks out near the field entrance. All those exhausted guys who just passed out instantly jump up like they got hit with pure adrenaline. Next craning, everyone gasps in pure disbelief. No way. Someone yells out. A goddess has arrived on campus. That is the legendary campus beauty herself. Jui literally spits his water out, making a perfect rainbow under the sun. It really is her. The gorgeous Jiang Wanning is right here in the flesh. There she is, Jiang Wanning. Standing near the entrance, her simple white tee and blue denim shorts make her look incredibly graceful as she walks over. Hair in a high ponytail. Neat, perfect. Just a few loose strands framing her face. Sweaty freshmen everywhere. Then her. Her fair skin glows like a refreshing summer breeze. Heading our way. She is heading our way. Xiao Rui's eyes are completely glued. As Jiang Wanning gets closer, the entire Finance Class 3 formation falls dead silent. Every guy immediately sucks in his gut, chests out. Gotta look as handsome as possible. Even our strict instructor Wang Chang quickly adjusts his cap and uniform, standing up perfectly straight. She is the ultimate campus goddess, after all. Seeing Jiang Wanning approach, Wang Chang forces out his most rugged, masculine smile and eagerly steps forward to welcome her. Hey Jiang, hot day out. Hand half extended. Wang Chang waits to greet her, but a fragrant breeze just drifts past. But check this out, she completely ignores him, brushing right past like he is invisible. His extended hand freezes. Awkward. The confident smile on his face turns completely rigid. He wants nothing more than to crawl into a hole, but who knew her target was this specific? Under the burning gazes of dozens of classmates, she walks right past everyone and stops directly in front of me. As I rest my eyes in the cool shade of a tree, a crisp, sweet voice suddenly calls out my name, Guofeng. I slowly open my eyes, and a gorgeous face framed by a plain white tee comes into view. Her features are absolutely stunning, especially those bright, expressive eyes. Raising an eyebrow, I lazily confirm that I am indeed Guofeng. Unlike the starstruck guys around us, I lazily ask if I can help her, as Jiang Wanning quietly sizes me up. So this is the young man her grandfather praised to the heavens, calling him a true pillar of the nation. He even claimed this guy could take out 10 people in under 3 seconds. But no matter how she looks at him, he just seems like the boy next door, making her smile grow warmer. Crouching down to bring her eyes level with mine, Jiang Wanning playfully replies that she would not dare ask for my help. She pulls a bottle of ice-cold water from her bag and hands it to me, admitting she was just too curious not to see me with her own eyes. What kind of person makes her grandfather sing such high praises? 3 heads and 6 arms? She blinks playfully. She leans in close, whispering in my ear at a volume that is just loud enough for everyone nearby to hear perfectly. My grandfather says you are the most incredible young man he has ever met. He specifically told her that at Shanghai University, she must rely completely on me, so she asks Guofeng to take good care of her. Hearing that her safety is completely in my hands acts like a massive bomb detonating inside our entire Finance Class 3 formation. You can imagine the absolute shock. The entire crowd froze in dead silence. Every single jaw drops to the floor. What kind of wild, suggestive talk is this? Is this actually a public confession? Standing nearby, Wang Chang feels his eyes nearly pop out of his head, finally understanding why this kid is so incredibly cocky. Turns out he has massive connections in high places. Looking at Jiang Wanning as she smiles like a sly little fox right in front of me, I know she is playing these games on purpose. This is a total test and a tease, but as a hot-blooded 18-year-old, when a gorgeous girl comes looking for trouble, backing down is never an option. Without saying a single word, a wicked smirk crawls onto my face as I calmly reach out to take that cold water bottle. But the second I grab it, my hand naturally covers the soft, delicate tips of her pale fingers. Her skin feels cool like jade against my warm, dry hand, radiating a clear and undeniable sense of strength. The instant my hand covers hers, Jiang Wanning shivers as if a sudden electric current just shot straight through her. Her heart skips a beat. She immediately tries to pull away, but there is no way I am letting her escape that easily. I just tighten my grip slightly, locking her delicate fingertips against the cold bottle. Whispering that those are the boss's orders, I stare deep into her eyes with a look of pure, raw dominance. I grab the bottle of water and use that chance to lean in close. I closed the gap until she could see her own panicked face in my eyes. With a playful grin, I stared right at her. After all, rejecting her offer would be pretty rude. But since you are putting your safety in my hands, senior, you better be ready. Trapped under my intense stare, Jiang Wanning started to panic. She stammered, ready for what? Releasing her hand, I leaned in right next to her ear. I've got a pretty strong sense of responsibility, you know. When I take a job, I see it through. If you lose even a single strand of hair, I will never hear the end of it from your grandfather. After all, I promised him. Then, my voice dropped, and my eyes took on a deeper meaning. So from here on out, you better stick by my side. If you wander too far, I might not be able to protect you properly. Otherwise, next time I visit your family, your grandfather is going to absolutely skin me alive. Look at her face. My words sounded serious, but this intense vibe completely turned things upside down. Jiang Wanning flushed deep crimson right to the tips of her ears. She cursed silently. What on earth is wrong with this guy? She had wanted to embarrass the legendary soldier king her grandpa praised so highly, but I had completely turned the tables. Who wants you to see it through? Jiang Wanning scrambled to her feet, completely forgetting all the lines she had rehearsed. She fired off a flustered, angry glare at me, but it carried absolutely zero bite. Her watery eyes only showed off her cute, girlish shyness. Here is your water, drink it or do not. Jiang Wanning threw down those weak words, not even daring to meet my eyes again. She spun on her heel and fled with messy footsteps, leaving me staring at her back. Watching her desperate retreat, a sly grin slowly formed on my face. Silly girl thought she could mess with me. Meanwhile, everyone else watching from afar had their minds completely shattered. They could not hear a single word we said, so to them, the scene looked like a movie. The gorgeous campus belle personally brought me water. I held her delicate hand, and we locked eyes with absolute passion. I made a bold confession, and our beautiful campus goddess blushed deeply before running away. If that is not absolute proof, what is? Right then, my boys from dorm 404 finally snapped out of it. Holy hell. A blood-curdling scream tore through the air. Zui lunged at me like a crazed wild boar, shaking my neck with total fury. With bloodshot eyes and a face green with jealousy, he yelled, Brother Fang, you are a monster. She is the campus goddess. What on earth did you say to her to make her blush like that? Zhao Rui and Lin Xiaoan swarmed me like starving wolves, their eyes practically glowing green. We all saw it. You held her hand for 3 whole seconds. You touched my goddess, Brother Fang. Draw your sword. I just stared at these absolute clowns with a wry smile. As my roommates lost their minds, I explained I just met her grandpa while working a summer job, and since we happen to go to the same school, her grandpa asked me to look after her. Holy crap. Holy crap. Holy crap. Zhao Rui let out 3 curses in a row, gripping my arm like a lifeline. Brother Fang, do not play dumb. Spill the details. How does a guy hauling bricks for a summer gig become an honored guest of her family? And when she said she would rely entirely on you, man, even my bones melted hearing that. Are you guys ready for the real story? Staring at all these desperate guys practically begging for gossip, I could only let out a heavy, helpless sigh. It was pretty clear that if I did not give them a solid story, these absolute animals would never let me go. Fine. Since you are begging so sincerely, I will show some mercy. I leaned back against the tree, struck a cool pose, and prepared to spin quite a tale. Honestly, it is not as complicated as you think. I pointed a finger at myself, then nodded toward the path Jiang Wanning had just taken. I was hauling bricks at a construction site this summer, and her grandfather happens to be the ultimate boss there. The big boss? Everyone shouted together. Zue's eyes went wide as saucers. I casually waved my hand and kept a total poker face. That afternoon, the sun was absolutely brutal. The stubborn old man insisted on coming out to inspect the site. But just as he walked over to where I was working, boom, he got hit with heat stroke and collapsed right there. I spun the tale dramatically. In that exact moment, all the managers and contractors panicked. They had absolutely no idea what to do, completely terrified of getting blamed. But I have got real guts. Growing up in the countryside, I learned some basic massage and acupuncture from the local doctor. I clapped my hands together with a completely straight, deadpan expression. So I stepped up, checked his pulse, and realized the old man was not just suffering from heat stroke, his blood flow was completely blocked from years of illness. It was a total emergency, so I didn't really overthink things, I just treated it as a desperate, last-ditch effort. I stepped up, pressed a few key pressure points, and gave him a quick rub-down. The crowd just watched, holding their breath. Linnea eagerly asked what happened next. I shrugged and told her the obvious. He woke right up, of course. Not only was his heat stroke instantly cured, but my quick treatment even somehow relieved his decades-old chronic illness. Absolutely unreal. Xiao Rui slapped his thigh in excitement, looking totally amazed. Brother Fang, you are definitely no brick mover. You are like a legendary doctor descended to Earth. I just smiled and kept spinning the tale. Once that old man woke up, he was incredibly grateful. After we chatted for a bit, he ended up finding out I got accepted into Shanghai University. Turns out, his granddaughter actually goes here too. He felt she was pretty spoiled growing up and worried she might get bullied at school. Since I seemed strong, pretty hardworking, and knew some basic medicine, he figured I was a super reliable guy. So he personally asked me to look out for her on campus. Right then, the way my classmates looked at me completely flipped. Talk about a complete turnaround, they went from jealousy to absolute worship. While everyone was still trying to digest this wild gossip, a loud, clear voice suddenly cut through from outside. Goophone. The crowd quickly parted to make way as a girl from the neighboring group boldly strode right over. She had short, ear-length hair, and her bright eyes showed off some serious fire. "I am Chen Fei," she said, standing right before me. Her cheeks were a bit flushed, but her gaze never wavered. Staring straight at me, she said she heard all about my little stunt. "I think you are totally badass." Taking a deep breath like she was making a massive decision, she asked loudly, "Since you and Campus Belljang are just friends, can I be your girlfriend?" Boom. This sudden, ultra-direct confession instantly set the whole field on fire. "Say yes, say yes," the guys nearby started chanting and cheering. Even I was completely caught off guard by this scene. I honestly never expected that the quick story I just made up would actually have the insane power to attract girls. But hey, credit where it is due. She had great taste. Looking at this incredibly brave girl standing right before me, I did not mock her or brush her off. Instead, I stood up with a smile. "Classmate, you definitely have great taste, but we have literally known each other for less than 24 hours. Is not this moving a bit too fast? I am a slow-paced kind of guy who prefers a real, steady connection." Saying that, I reached out my hand and looked at her warmly. "How about we start off as classmates and friends first? If you ever need help, just ask." Chen Fi was pretty straightforward, too. The moment I gave her a polite out, she happily took it. "All right, friends it is," she agreed, warmly shaking my hand. "But you better remember, if I ever ask you for help, you cannot say no." "No problem at all," I agreed with a grin. Just like that, I easily handled a pretty awkward confession and somehow became the absolute life of the party, blending right in with everyone. But just as everyone was crowded around me, talking and laughing, a sharp, piercing whistle brutally shattered the happy vibe. Instantly, our smiles froze as Instructor Wang, wearing a pretty dark expression, came marching toward us with long strides. His eyes were locked dead on me as I stood right in the center of the crowd. Looking incredibly jealous and annoyed, he roared out, asking if we thought this was some blind date convention. He screamed at the top of his lungs, his voice dripping with absolute rage as he ordered everyone to fall in. Under his harsh command, the scattered crowd immediately scrambled right back into their designated military lines. I casually dusted off my pants and took my time stepping to the front of the line. Instructor Wang Sheng stood before us, his gloomy gaze sweeping over everyone. His eyes glared at me for a split second before quickly darting away. Then he took a deep breath and boom, that break was officially over, and we were moving on to the goose step. Instructor Wang paced back and forth before our line, his voice echoing incredibly loud. The goose step is all about raw, overwhelming momentum, and I am only going to emphasize one thing today. He stomped violently on the ground, pointing right at the concrete below his feet and yelling to stomp hard. "When you kick that leg out, the landing must be absolutely fierce. Use some real force. I want to hear it smash." "Got it? Fine. Everyone, start stationary kicking practice." Dozens of feet slammed down together, but it only made a weak, pattering noise. It sounded completely uneven, totally weak, with absolutely zero momentum. I mean, we were wearing cheap, rubber-soled training shoes, so how could we possibly make a loud, smashing noise? Instructor Wang's brows furrowed deeply as he waved his hand in total disgust, ordering everyone to halt. "Are you guys picking cotton? You're all soft as noodles. I want the momentum of a foot that can stomp straight through this floor." "Got it?" Seeing the instructor fly into a rage, the freshmen all fell silent out of fear. Wang Chang glared at this bunch of useless rookies who couldn't stand straight, his anger flaring up instantly. So, out of habit, he decided to single someone out to show these rookies what the real standard looked like. The next second, his sharp gaze swept back and forth across the entire formation. Sure, he still had some trauma from this kid, especially that earlier look that still made his legs feel a bit weak. But as a veteran, he had to admit that Guofang's physical fitness was absolutely insane compared to the rest. Look at that incredible build, those clean muscle lines, and the fierce spirit he exuded just standing there. If this kid joined the military, he was prime material to be a king, but he refused to believe it. The goose step requires serious explosive power and perfect coordination. He simply did not believe a guy who spent his days carrying bricks could do this better than him. With that, he took a deep breath, pointed right at the front, and roared out Guofang, "Step forward." I took a step out and answered without any expression, but my calm face only pissed him off more. "Aren't you supposed to be strong? Didn't you just smash out 500 push-ups?" He pointed right at the empty space in front of him and roared again, "Get over here. Give them a real demonstration of a ground-smashing stomp. Let me hear if all that brute strength of yours can actually make some noise." Honestly, you have to laugh. Looking at his angry face, I found it pretty amusing. This guy truly never learns his lesson. I shouted back a loud response, then marched straight to the front of the entire formation. Instantly, dozens of eyes from the entire class locked onto me. I took a deep breath and adjusted my breathing. My body tensed up, standing as straight and solid as a javelin. From the side, Wang Chang was still shouting, "Watch closely, see how his legs generate power." The next second, I moved without a single hint of hesitation, launching my right leg forward with violent force, toes pointed down. The leg muscles underneath my camo pants instantly locked up, fully loaded with pure explosive power. Then, my thighs snapped down, whipping up a fierce gust of wind. My entire leg dropped like a heavy battle axe, cleaving straight toward the concrete floor. Boom! A massive, deafening crash echoed out. It was heavy, deep, and incredibly sharp, sounding like a massive industrial pile driver slamming down onto the concrete. A thick ring of dust blasted outward in all directions from the sheer impact. The entire sports field instantly fell dead silent. I mean, look at their faces. Everyone's just standing there, utterly dumbfounded, wondering if that leg is even made of human flesh and blood. Seriously, doesn't his heel hurt from that? Aren't his bones shattered? Wang Chang's eyelids twitched wildly in sheer fright, and he instinctively took a step back. He had been in the military for 2 whole years and had seen elite soldiers goose step, but theirs was just a crisp smack, smack, smack. But this was a terrifying, earth-shaking boom, boom, boom. Wang Chang swallowed hard, staring at my completely ordinary training shoes as a cold chill ran straight down his spine. If that heavy kick actually landed on a human, their ribs would instantly shatter. I slowly pulled my leg back and stood at perfect attention. I looked over at the completely dumbfounded instructor, flashing him a totally harmless smile. "Reporting, instructor." My voice was loud and clear, my tone completely sincere and innocent. "Is this sound okay? Is it loud enough for you? If it's still not enough, I can use a bit more force." Honestly, I was just worried about breaking my cheap shoes earlier, so I held back. Wang Chang's mouth began to twitch violently. "Use more force? Are you seriously trying to demolish the entire school sports field right now? That's enough. That's plenty." He hurriedly waved his hands, his voice sounding a bit dry, yet still loud and trying to seem imposing. Trying to cover up his loss of composure, he quickly spun around and roared at the entire class. "Did you all see that clearly? Now that is how you stomp the ground. Your steps need to have that exact level of impact." Even though he was shouting, he knew deep down that this kind of inhuman force could never be achieved by any normal human being. Back in the formation, Joe lowered his voice, his face full of sheer awe. "Hey Jiao Rui, listen to that. That is what you call professional. He's literally a human pile driver. I told you Guofang was the foreman's favorite guy with that kind of insane leg strength. If he hadn't spent years flattening mud on a construction site, there's absolutely no way he could ever pull that off." Jiao Rui nodded along with pure admiration. "Seriously, that is not marching. That is straight-up heavy-duty dirt compacting." Standing at the very front and hearing my roommates whispering behind me, I just scratched my head, feeling a bit embarrassed. I looked over at the instructor and explained with a simple, honest smile. "Don't mind me, instructor. Back when I worked at the construction site, the roads were super uneven. We had no machines, so we just got used to stomping the dirt flat with our feet. Over time, it just became a habit, so I inevitably stepped a bit too hard." Wang Chang listened to this ridiculous yet flawless excuse, completely powerless to argue, and just nodded. "Well, since you practiced hard, I guess that is actually a good thing." Back in line, but the second the final whistle blew, a dozen excited girls instantly swarmed me. Waving their phones frantically, they begged for my socials like I was a massive celebrity. But little did they know, this insanely handsome guy they were drooling over was actually a poor student who moved heavy bricks just to pay his tuition. I barely escaped that crazy mob, instantly running toward the school cafeteria with my 3 hilarious roommates. Walking over, Joe Wei glared at me with pure jealousy, looking like he wanted to murder me. "Guofang, you did not come to college to study. You came here to collect pretty girls, right?" The moment we sat down in the cafeteria, the female density around our table spiked to an absurd level. Suddenly, a sweet voice called my name. It was Chen Fi, the girl who confessed to me this morning, holding her tray. Without a second thought, She sat right next to me, set down 4 cold sodas, and casually dropped a giant chicken leg right onto my plate. You worked hard today. Staring down at the chicken leg, I smiled helplessly, telling her thanks, but I should definitely send her the money for this. She just rolled her eyes, telling me to shut up and eat. Across the table, Joe Wei completely lost his mind watching us. He began trying to show off to all the girls, sneaking looks at our table. Ladies, why not take a look at me instead? Sure, I cannot stomp massive craters into the ground while marching, but my family literally owns a mine. Sadly, all he got in return was a synchronized wave of disgust. Bang! A hand slammed heavily onto our table, sending our food trays rattling in the air. Looking up, I saw 3 guys staring down at me with absolute arrogance, the leader radiating pure hostility. He sized me up and sneered, asking if I was Guofang, the guy who had to haul bricks just to afford tuition. I quietly pulled out a napkin, wiped my mouth, and calmly asked how I could help him, making him cross his arms arrogantly. He barked that Jiang Wanning was totally off limits, warning me not to think her grandfather's recommendation made me some kind of big deal in this school. You are just a filthy toad dreaming of swan meat, so go take a look in the mirror first. Right after, Jiang Hao pointed mockingly at Chen Fei, his voice dripping with pure sarcasm. He sneered, asking if having the campus beauty was not enough, and mocking me for flirting around in the cafeteria. Chen Fei instantly lost her temper, slamming the table to scream back, but I held her steady inside. All I wanted was a peaceful college life, but trouble always seemed to hunt me down. Looking up at Jiang Hao with dead, lifeless eyes, I asked if he was done, telling him to get lost because he was blocking my light and ruining my lunch. Jiang Hao absolutely lost his mind at my dismissive attitude, ready to launch a physical attack. Suddenly, a loud commotion broke out at the entrance as Jiang Wanning walked in carrying her food tray. Witnessing the tense standoff, she did not look worried at all. Instead, her eyes sparkled with pure excitement. She hid right behind a giant pillar to watch the show. You just know things are about to get wild. Completely humiliated, Jiang Hao flew into a blind rage and lunged forward to grab my collar, screaming at me. The exact millisecond his fingers brushed against my jacket, before he could even grip it, my face completely changed. I suddenly let out an ear-splitting shriek. Everyone watched in absolute horror as my body launched backward like I got hit by a speeding semi, crashing hard onto the cafeteria floor. I instantly clutched my chest, curling into a ball while pointing a trembling finger at the completely stunned Jiang Hao. He hit me. This senior actually beat me up. My ribs are broken, my chest is crushed, my organs are completely shattered. The whole cafeteria went dead silent, while Jiang Hao stood there with his hand frozen, completely losing his mind. He was questioning his own existence, while behind her pillar, Jiang Wanning stared in total shock with her mouth wide open. The chopsticks in her hand instantly clattered straight to the floor. She figured I might fight or just walk away, but she never expected me to pull a flawless soccer flop right here. While nobody was paying attention, I quickly winked at my 3 frozen roommates. Luckily, Joe Wei caught on immediately. His brain working at lightning speed, he whipped out his phone and unleashed a scream way more dramatic than mine. Oh my god, it is murder. Shoving his phone directly into the dazed Jiang Hao's face, he snapped photos while yelling for everyone to witness the crime. Jiang Ha from the sports department is busy bullying people. He just sent a student flying in broad daylight. Realizing he messed up, Jiang Ha panics and tries blocking the phone camera. Stop filming, he yells. But Xiao Rui and Lin Shan aren't having it. They shove him back, making him stumble. Steal the phone? Destroy the evidence? No way. Right then, the entire cafeteria completely explodes in pure anger. Chen Fei is the first to charge in, scratching wildly at Jiang Ha's arms. Who gave you the right to hit people? Suddenly, 7 or 8 girls surround him, shoving and screaming at him. Jiang Ha is instantly drowned in a sea of furious students. He wants to explain, he wants to resist, but it's a mob of angry girls. How could he dare fight back? He can only cover his head and scream, I didn't do it. He's faking. He is acting. Right then, an authoritative voice rings out. Director Li from Student Affairs and Counselor Yao Yun push through the heavy crowd and walk right in. Miss Yi immediately spots me lying on the floor and crouches down in a total panic. Fang, are you okay? I weakly open my eyes, my voice trembling like I am about to draw my last breath. Miss Yi, my chest hurts, I can't breathe. That senior said he wanted to teach me a lesson. Then I just went flying. Hearing this, Miss Yi burns with anger. She whips her head around, glaring fiercely at Jiang Ha, who is currently held back by security. Jiang Ha, who gave you the nerve? Jiang Ha is so incredibly frustrated, he is almost in tears. Miss Yi, I'm innocent. I swear I barely even touched him. He threw himself backward. He's just acting. but my roommate Joe Wei just sneers at him, waving his phone. Senior Jiang Ha, my buddy Fang is famously honest. Why would he ever fake an injury to frame you? If you hadn't hit him so viciously, would he be hurting like this? And honestly, you gotta love how fast public opinion flips to our side. Right then, Director Lee and my counselor Yao Yun, their faces completely livid, push through the rest of the crowd. The moment Director Lee orders them to take me to the hospital, I lie on the floor and quickly signal Joe Wei. Joe Wei understands immediately. He throws himself onto me, wailing dramatically. Fang, you have to hang in there, Miss Yi. He needs a full-body checkup, CT scans, MRIs, medical bills, and emotional distress compensation. Not a single penny less. He has to pay for everything. Hearing this, Jiang Ha's face turns completely green as he makes one last desperate struggle. Why should I? He is completely faking it. Faking it? I immediately start coughing violently, clutching my chest, gasping out that I think my bones are broken. That completely ignites Miss Yi's fury. She trembles with anger. You've got some nerve, Jiang Ha, being unrepentant to the very end. I am reporting this to the school right now to give you a major demerit. Pay up and take Fang for an examination. If you're short a single cent, I'm calling your parents. Hearing this, Jiang Ha completely breaks down. Not only is he facing a ruined reputation and school discipline, he also has to tearfully transfer 3,000 yuan to my roommate. 20 minutes later, at the school gate, supported by my 3 roommates, I hobble into a taxi. Slam. The absolute second the car door closes, the guy who was wearing a mask of pure agony just moments ago suddenly has no sore back, no aching legs, and sits up straighter than a javelin. I let out a long sigh and casually pull out my phone. Driver to the nearest internet cafe. Thanks. The taxi driver is left completely bewildered. My 3 roommates are totally dumbfounded too, but a second later, explosive laughter erupts inside the car. Joe Wei grips his phone, staring at the 3,000 yuan with a flushed face. I mean, can we just agree that this move was absolutely legendary? We totally hit the jackpot. I lean back comfortably in the seat and stretch. My mouth curls up slightly. Keep a low profile, guys. This is just a tactical retreat. Besides, I was only teaching him how to behave. He is too young to be so arrogant. Sure enough, 20 minutes later, the 4 of us are booking a 5-seat private room at the local internet cafe. Time to log in. We are going on an absolute killing spree today. Joe Wei and the guys quickly boot up and log in. I just signed into my account when suddenly, a fair, slender hand gently rests on my shoulder. Right after that, a familiar gardenia scent instantly dispels the room's instant noodle smell. Well, look who we have here, the critically injured patient. A teasing voice whispers in my ear. Instead of going to the hospital for a CT scan, why are you at an internet cafe getting electroshock therapy? My 3 goofy roommates are so startled, their hands shake, almost sending their mice flying in panic. They turn around to look and freeze in shock. Standing there is none other than Jiang, the campus beauty. I did not even turn my head. Instead, I just shifted my gaze and looked at her with total peace. So, senior, to what do I owe the honor of this visit? Did you come here just to see a poor patient? Jiang Wanning pulled up a chair and sat next to me, crossing her long legs with a playful smirk. Visit, she said. I was worried that if I did not show up soon, you'd be pulling off a medical miracle. That acting of yours was pretty impressive. You honestly deserve an Oscar for that performance. You flatter me, I replied, not skipping a single beat as I casually handed her a cold bottle of iced tea. It was mostly thanks to my opponent cooperating so well. Seeing she was not going to push the issue, our chubby roommate actually mustered up the courage to invite the campus belle to game with us. Want to join, senior? We are exactly 1 player short. It was just a polite invite, but Jiang Wanning raised an eyebrow with a sudden flash of excitement in her gorgeous eyes. Sure, my hands were getting itchy. I am platinum tier on the Ionia server. Can you boys handle that? Absolutely. We quickly leaned in with total focus. Campus belle Jiang, you can just play support and lock in Yumi. Attached to Gufang and you can basically go away from keyboard. But Jiang Wanning shook her head, flicking her mouse to instantly lock in Lee Sin. A confident smile curled on her lips as her fingers began flying across the keyboard. Who says girls can only play support? I am taking the jungle. Joe Wei and the other guys were completely stunned, but I just smiled and locked in Zed right away. Since Senior wants to dominate the jungle, I will turn the mid lane into a slaughterhouse. Let us crush them together. And with that, the game began. My 3 roommates were still on edge, terrified that Jiang Wanning was going to drag our team down. But look at this, barely 3 minutes in, first blood goes to us. Jiang Wanning actually solo killed their jungler. Her mechanics were smooth as flowing water, leaving Xiao Ru totally speechless. But I just kept my cool, not surprised at all. Gank mid, gank mid. The very next second, Jiang Waning's Li Xin burst out of the brush, perfectly coordinating with my shadow clone. She landed a flawless insect kick, instantly deleting the enemy mid laner. For the next 20 minutes, it became a total slaughter. Jiang Waning counter-jungled, ganked, and secured every single dragon. Her macro play was insanely good, and our synergy was unmatched until the enemy nexus finally shattered into pieces. Zhou Wei and the guys stared at Jiang Waning's 12-1 score, utterly defeated. Sis, you are way too fierce. This girl is no fragile campus belle, she is straight up the queen of the jungle. Her bright smile after that victory was way more charming than any speech she ever gave on stage. Jiang Waning turned to look at me. Her eyes were filled with real admiration. I did not expect you to be this good at gaming. You can fight, and that tower dive was so badass. I casually took a sip of water, replying that it was just basic mechanics because our jungler set the pace perfectly. We shared a knowing smile, completely in sync. This left my 3 single roommates completely speechless. After that game, we got so hyped up that we literally could not stop playing. We rolled over everyone from normal drafts to ranked lobbies on a massive winning streak. But right as we went to queue up for another game, my phone on the desk suddenly started vibrating. I picked it up and checked the screen, my brows instantly furrowing. It was actually a text from my counselor, Yi Xieyun. She texted asking for my medical report. I checked the time and realized it was already 4 p.m. We had been gaming since 2 p.m. What report? I had not even entered a hospital. Without a report, I would be busted on the spot. Joe and the guys started panicking too, saying we were absolutely doomed. If you get caught, we are all going down with you. Jiang Waning looked at us panicking and scratching our heads, laughing at our misery. She reached out her finger and gently tapped my phone screen with a highly mischievous smile on her face. I thought it was some kind of actual crisis, she said. Leave this to me. She immediately pulled out her phone and made a call. Her voice turned incredibly sweet and playful. Hello, Uncle Wang, it is Waning. A close friend of mine got a little hurt. Could you please have someone send a digital medical report over to me? Yes, exactly. Just a soft tissue contusion, maybe a slight hairline fracture. That is perfect. Thanks, Uncle Wang. Barely 2 minutes after hanging up, with a soft ding, an image popped up on Waning's WeChat screen. It was an official medical report from a top-tier hospital, with my name written on it. Waning forwarded the picture to me, raising an eyebrow like a smug little fox waiting for a pat on the head. All done. Send it to your counselor right now. Staring at this incredibly authentic report, I looked back at the beautiful girl smiling like a flower in front of me and simply gave her a massive thumbs up. Our jungle queen really came through. That backup? A literal godsend. Jiang Waning proudly lifted her chin. Naturally, she promised to cover me at school, so I forwarded the report to our counselor immediately. Not only did she approve my leave, she even offered to help with any extra medical bills. I felt a tiny pinch of guilt. Only a little, though. With our worries gone, we played another epic match. Around 5:30 p.m., Jui rubbed his stomach. He howled that he could not take the hunger anymore. My stomach is touching my spine. Let's retreat. Hearing him, Jiang Waning stood up and gave a massive stretch. The 5 of us packed up, logged off, and left. Who would have guessed? Right at the exit, Jui, our resident rich kid, acted like a total weirdo once again. He grabbed his phone to compare apps. Apparently, some barbecue spot was 32% off on one. Wait, Dian Ping has a cheaper coupon. Let me calculate this first. Seeing him pinch pennies, I shook my head and met Jiang Waning's eyes. Both of us absolutely hated wasting time. I pointed across the street to a fancy Sichuan restaurant. Stop calculating. Let's just go there. I saw they have a great 5-person combo, and Jiang Waning instantly agreed since she was already craving spicy food anyway. She made the call immediately. Jui, still burying his head in coupon math. By the time he finally looked up, the 4 of us had already crossed. He quickly scrambled to chase after us. He yelled for us to wait because he had a VIP card there too. 3 question marks instantly hit my brain. You've only been at this school a few days, but Jui just chuckled. He admitted to making a local food guide before enrolling. Later, over a delicious meal in a private room, everyone warmed up to each other quite a bit. Xiao Rui finally got the courage to ask her. He asked if a goddess like her had tons of guys chasing her. Jiang Waning put down her chopsticks, smiling as she wagged one finger. Not enough to circle the school. Probably just from her dorm building all the way to the south gate. That's all. Unbelievable. Jui nearly choked on his soda, calling it a top-tier humble brag. But right as we were chatting away, crash. The dining room door was violently kicked open. Our cheerful mood froze instantly. We all turned around in unison. A familiar figure stood in the doorway, gasping for air, face livid. It was Jiang Hao, the guy who just paid me 3,000 yuan. He let out a furious roar, filled with absolute grief and indignation. He had been miserably writing his apology essay in his dorm when a friend tipped him off. Now get this, his buddy saw me leaving the cafe perfectly fine, laughing with Jiang Weining. When we walked into the restaurant, Jiang Hao completely exploded. He ditched his essay and took a taxi straight over here. His pointing hand was trembling. Great, you've got some nerve, Guofeng. Weren't your bones supposed to be broken? Weren't you dying? Why are you eating spicy Sichuan food right now? But facing his rage, I stayed incredibly calm. I calmly swallowed the delicious meat in my mouth and slowly took a sip of soy milk to clear my throat. Only then did I look up, spreading my hands with a totally innocent look. Senior, I'm young and healthy, so I recover fast. Is that a crime? I haven't even gained weight. I've been eating spicy food, so this stir-fried greens plate is to balance things out. Jiang Hao snapped on the spot. His mind completely spiraled. He screamed that he saw it. You were clearly eating boiled fish, and my buddy saw you walk out of that internet cafe with a real spring in your step. Guofeng, this is a blatant scam. It's fraud and extortion. He threatened to report me, but I remained cool as a cucumber. I almost wanted to laugh. Go ahead and report me, senior. But you need evidence to back that up. Saying I'm fine doesn't make it true. The counselor already saw the official hospital report with her own eyes. A smirk tugged at my mouth. As for that spring in my step, the burden of proof lies with the accuser. Do you have any proof? Jiang Hao looked totally flustered. Then, a ruthless glint flashed in his eyes. Fine, you want evidence? Both this restaurant and the internet cafe have surveillance cameras. I'm going to find the owners and get that footage right now. He threw down those harsh words. He turned around and stormed out, leaving the room dead silent as Jui and the others turned pale. Fang, this is really bad if he gets his hands on that footage. We are completely finished. Jiang Wanling frowned deeply, looking incredibly worried. Look, I'm afraid I can't help you this time. I don't know the owner of this place, and there is no way I can handle the cafe surveillance. While everyone else is panicking, I stay completely cool. I slowly grab a napkin and wipe my hands without a single care. Standing up, I give Jiang Wanling a calm smile. Don't worry, senior. Seeing me so relaxed actually leaves her completely dazed, but watch closely, because he's about to make a massive power move. Jiang Wanling stares back, completely confused, asking who it is. I just point a finger toward the ceiling and drop 3 very heavy words. Your grandfather. I give Jiang Wanling a quick nod, telling her I am making a call. But the second I reach the end of the hallway, the sound of hurried footsteps starts rustling right behind me. I do not even need to look back to know it is Zhou Wei and his gossip-loving crew. They are incredibly curious about her legendary grandfather. Simply turning sideways, I just tap the speakerphone button. The volume is not too loud, just enough for all of them to easily overhear. Who would have guessed that the moment the call connects, a booming voice carrying the raw power of 10,000 soldiers would explode from the receiver. Little Boo, you finally decided to call me, he shouts. What is up? Did you change your mind? And when are you reporting for duty? He mentions he already handled all the paperwork. But before I can even process his words, the old man drops an absolute bombshell. A special enlistment. As soon as you say the word, you will join up as a major. He even saved a special spot just for me. Hearing this, my hand shakes so violently I almost drop the phone. I cover the mic, faking a violent cough, and then shout back, Boss, is the signal bad on your end? Why is there so much static? I yell, I can't hear you. Zhang Guang catches on to my act instantly. The old fox immediately clears his throat awkwardly, seamlessly shifting his tone as he laughs and starts teasing me. You little rascal, you are sharp as a tack. He scolds, if the signal is bad, we will skip the work project for now. The moment Zhou Wei hears the word project, he excitedly whispers to the others, damn, that is exactly what you expect from a massive boss. Everything out of his mouth is about major projects, but wait, you're not ready for how fast his tone is about to shift. His voice suddenly turns playful and teasingly grandfatherly, telling me to put all work matters aside for just a moment. I heard from Wanling that you two are getting along great at school, he says, and you should know she is a very picky girl. Never have I seen her show this much interest in any guy, he continues. But what he says next is way more shocking. If you ask me, you two should not drag your feet. Once you both reach legal age, why not just go get married? The more I look at you, the happier I am. So let's settle this early so I can hold a great-grandson soon. Before I can even get a word out, Zhou Wei, standing right behind me, simply cannot help himself. He jumps forward with a loud shout, yelling that I am a legend for having the big boss play matchmaker like this. I give this marriage my full blessing, he cheers. Frustrated, my forehead creases as I spin around to glare at him. But right at that moment, Jiang Wanling runs over, blushing with absolute embarrassment, her face turning as red as a ripe apple. She whines into the phone, asking what on earth he is talking about and who is getting a marriage certificate. "I am ignoring you now," she huffs. On the other end of the line, Jiang Guang bursts into hearty laughter. Once his laughter fades, his tone turns a bit serious. "All right, little Fang, you wouldn't call me without a good reason. Are you in some trouble?" he asks. I finally breathe a sigh of relief and talk back into the receiver. "Actually, there is a small matter, and I was hoping you could help me out, old man. I need you to delete some security footage." "Security footage?" he questions. "Did you cause trouble? Or was someone blind enough to mess with you?" Scratching my nose, feeling pretty embarrassed, I lower my voice and explain how I faked an injury to skip military training, only for Jiang Ha to start investigating. I explain the whole situation with the surveillance. Total silence follows on the other end of the line. Then, after 5 seconds, a massive wave of laughter, even louder than before, explodes. "Pfft," he snorts, "you absolute rascal. Back at the border, you were an absolute powerhouse, but now you are faking injuries just to get out of basic military training. Pretending your internal organs were crushed, you are seriously too wicked." Hearing Jiang Guang's obvious amusement at my scheme, I feel pretty pleased with myself. Then he asks if a tiny favor like this really needs his personal attention. Jiang Guang laughs heartily on the other end, but his very next sentence completely throws me off guard. Honestly, at my level, I don't really deal with minor local officials. Tracking down a precinct contact is actually pretty tough for me. My heart instantly skipped a beat, making me worry the whole plan was dead. But then, his tone shifted. "But don't worry. Within 10 minutes, actually, forget that restaurant. Even the mice within a 5-meter radius won't leave a single trace of footage." "Awesome. Thanks, boss." I smiled and hung up. But Joe, standing right next to me, still looked completely stunned. After all, surveillance footage is hard evidence. Even if your dad is some heavy-hitting contractor, can he really pull strings like that? I calmly patted his shoulder with a deadpan look. "Relax and put your heart back in your chest. Trust me, there is absolutely nothing that real influence cannot handle. Now, look at this." At the internet cafe, Jiang Hao is arrogantly slamming his fist on the counter, demanding the owner. "Get your owner out here right now. I need to see the security footage." His furious shout was so loud it literally blew the attendant's headphones off. A middle-aged owner wearing a bright floral shirt walked over, his face showing a deep frown. "Boss, I need to see the footage from just now," Jiang Hao demanded, pointing directly at the overhead security camera. Specifically, that 5-seat private booth. "I need concrete proof that this guy named Guofeng is committing fraud." Hearing this, the owner waved him off with absolute annoyance. "Get out of here. Are you insane? Security footage is private. You think you can just browse through our files whenever you feel like it? Who are you? A cop?" Suddenly, Jiang Hao got desperate. He whipped out $500 from his wallet and slammed it onto the wood. $500 just for a quick look. "I just need to prove that guy was totally fine while surfing the web in your booth just a second ago." The second the owner saw that cold cash, his attitude pulled a complete 180-degree flip. He pocketed it and signaled Jiang Hao inside. "Fine, follow me, let's go." The main computer is in the back. Hearing that, Jiang Hao's face lit up with absolute triumph. His grin turned totally twisted. He laughed inside. "Guofeng, you are dead meat. Once I get this video, let's see how you explain this to the dean. I am going to completely ruin your reputation." He eagerly leaned over the desk, his eyes glued to the monitor while the owner quickly loaded up the surveillance system. He typed the password and clicked the file, but the moment he dragged the progress bar, the entire screen started flickering violently. Then, every single camera angle dissolved into pure static. The words "no signal" flashed across the screen like a cruel joke. I mean, what on earth is going on here? The owner's hand froze right on top of the mouse. What happened? "Hurry up and play it." Jiang Hao was sweating bullets from pure panic. The owner clicked like crazy and even restarted the app, but the screen remained completely black and dead. Why is it totally blank? Cold sweat started dripping down the owner's face now. It was working perfectly fine just a minute ago. How is this one specific time frame completely gone? What? Jiang Hao's heart dropped, and he aggressively shoved the owner aside. He threw himself at the monitor and started dragging the timeline himself, but there was absolutely nothing left. It wasn't just his booth, either. During that exact hour, every camera in the entire building recorded absolutely nothing. How? How is this possible? Jiang Hao roared in sheer disbelief, his voice visibly shaking. My buddy literally said all the security lights were on. How did it fail? The owner stood there, totally dumbfounded. He started slamming his fist against the computer tower, yelling about a hard drive crash or a sudden system glitch. Oh, no. This setup cost thousands. Staring at the blank monitor, Jiang Hao stood frozen, totally lost. It actually broke. It didn't fail earlier, it didn't fail later. It broke exactly when I needed it. This is way too much of a coincidence. A cold chill shot from Jiang Hao's feet straight to his spine. He suddenly remembered that earlier restaurant and my completely calm face. Guofeng. Jiang Hao's eyes turned completely bloodshot. It was you. With his mind completely snapping, he aggressively grabbed the owner's collar and roared to get his money back. Give me back my 500 bucks. But the owner was already sick of him and aggressively shoved him away. The camera is broken, which hurts me way more than you. It's your own bad luck, kid, so deal with it. No refunds. Then I am calling the cops. Jiang Hao stumbled backward, staring at the black screen and thinking about the $3,500 he just wasted. He was so unbelievably furious, his vision went dark. Nearly spitting blood, he scrambled right back up. He tightly gripped the owner's sleeve, begging him to return the money since he saw absolutely nothing. But the cafe owner was a tough street veteran. With a violent jerk of his arm, he slammed Jiang Hao against a fridge and sneered, "You are here to pick a fight, aren't you?" The owner lit a cigarette, his gaze turning freezing cold. "You gave me that cash yourself. My service was delivered. The machine breaking down is an act of God. Honestly, you probably broke it yourself. I haven't even asked for compensation yet, you thug. This place is a total scam." Jiang Hao was shaking with absolute rage. "Fine, you want to make trouble." The cafe owner scoffed coldly and whipped out his phone, dialing a number. "Hello, police department. I have got a troublemaker here picking a fight." Meanwhile, from the restaurant across the street, I watched through the window, enjoying the free show. TSK. Wow, even the cops showed up. Zhou Wei gloated while gnawing on a rib. Our dear senior's mental state is way too fragile. Right then, Jiang Hao suddenly looked up. His gaze cut right across the street and locked onto me with bloodshot eyes. You should have seen his face. He looked ready to eat me alive, but I just calmly raised my glass. I offered him a distant toast. A perfectly harmless, innocent smile played on my lips. Seeing this, the blood rushed straight to Jiang Ha's head. He pointed at me and tried to lunge forward, but the arriving cops pinned him right down. "Are you guys done eating?" I put down my glass and slowly wiped my mouth. "If you're full, let's go downstairs and pay our respects to our dear senior." Outside, police lights were flashing wildly in front of the cafe. "Officer, I want to report a crime." Jiang Ha was held tightly by two cops, but he was still screaming hysterically. "It is that guy across the street, Gu Fong. He is a fraud, faking an injury to extort me. He even hacked the cafe's security cameras." The officers frowned deeply, stopping him before he could even finish his wild rant. Cough, cough, cough. Leaning heavily on Zhou Wei and Xiao Rui, I let out a weak, pathetic cough. I shuffled forward with trembling steps, my face as pale as a flickering candle. "Officers," I whispered weakly, "I am so sorry for causing trouble." Seeing me cough, Jiang Ha lost it and screamed at me to stop acting. He started jumping and cursing on the spot, shouting that I was just grinning at him from upstairs. "Why act like a fragile victim now?" "Shut up." A cop barked at him, but his tone softened instantly when he turned to look at me. "Kid, you are the victim, right? Are you okay?" "No, I am fine." I waved my hand weakly. I looked at Jiang Ha with a pained expression, my eyes filled with pure forgiveness and helplessness. "Officers, I really don't blame Senior Jiang for this." I sighed heavily in a somber tone. "After all, we are both men. I understand his impulse. We are both Shanghai University students, and Senior likes the school beauty, Jiang Wanning. Since I have been close to her lately, he got incredibly jealous. It is only natural he wanted to show off. People do crazy things for love. Even though his methods were extreme and he hurt me, I truly forgive him from the bottom of my heart." I forced myself to stand straight and gave Jiang Ha a weak, reassuring smile. "Senior, I do not blame you." Then, my tone shifted. "If you feel bad about those $3,000, I will just return them. Please, just stop making a scene. Do not make things hard for the shop owner or trouble these officers anymore. We are schoolmates, after all. If word gets out, it will ruin our university's reputation." My speech was so moving it could bring a person to tears. Even the cops were deeply touched by my noble character, turning around to lecture Jiang Ha on the spot. "Look at him. You beat him half to death, yet he is still defending you while you act out over petty jealousy. Charging in to attack people and causing chaos, Jiang Ha was practically shaking with absolute fury. "You liar, you are such a fake actor. You were not like this upstairs." "Enough," the officer barked, waving his hand. "Since the victim is not pressing charges, you are lucky. But you caused a major scene here, so you are coming with us. Drag him away." "I am not going. I want my money back." "Gu Fong, you bastard. You set me up. As the police car sped away with its sirens blaring, I instantly straightened my back and casually brushed off my clothes. I shook my head, sighing. Let's be real, young people these days have zero mental strength. Standing nearby, Jiang Wanning let out a soft giggle, her gorgeous eyes lingering on me before she leaned in and whispered, I realized my grandfather was right. I would rather offend the king of hell than provoke you, Gu Fang. Life back on campus was absolute heaven. While the other freshmen suffered through military training under the blazing sun, I stayed in my air-conditioned dorm, eating cold watermelon and scrolling through my phone. Day after day, Joe Wei and the guys would crawl back looking half dead. Seeing me relax made them burn with envy, crying about how unfair life is since we all offended people. Why do you get to lie around after taking just one hit? Gufang, maybe I should go find Jiang Ha and try to fake an injury too. I shoveled a huge spoonful of watermelon into my mouth. Keep dreaming. Jiang Ha probably has zero time for you right now. Besides, my injury is internal, and treating that takes real skill. So beat it and keep up your little act. Xiao Rui just rolls his eyes at me. I honestly have no idea if your internal damage is cured, but your face definitely looks way rounder than it did 2 days ago. By the time night falls, the 4 of us in the dorm are deadlocked in a super intense gaming session. Move it, fatty. Tell your support to stop stealing my farm. Joe, quit feeding the enemy, just play it safe, and scale up for late game. I am right on the verge of diving in for a flashy pentakill when suddenly boom. This cheesy, old-school ringtone blares out. The obnoxious noise completely drowns out our game audio. Annoyed, I glance down at the incoming call screen. There is no caller ID, but the very second I recognize the number, my lazy eyes snap wide open. It is that old man. He always uses WeChat for literally everything. For him to call my line directly at this hour, my brow furrows, and I instantly close the game. Hello, I mutter, right as my roommates start screaming at their screens. Damn it, Fang, do not go away from keyboard right now. We are in a major team fight. Why are you just standing there? Grabbing my phone, I quickly slide out onto the balcony. I slide the glass door shut, instantly blocking out my roommate's howling. It is me, Jiang Guang says, his voice sounding incredibly worn out and heavy. Little Boo, I hope I am not bothering you by calling so late. Am I? Well, I was literally about to secure a pentakill. What do you think? I say, leaning against the railing. My voice is dead flat. Just say it, old commander. Surely you did not call so late just to force me to marry Jiang Wanning, did you? On the other end, Jiang Guang coughs, nearly choking on my words. His tone immediately shifts to dead serious. I actually have some official business for you. There is a major emergency over on Shadow Dragon's end. It is incredibly messy, and those young rookies just cannot handle it. He lets out a deep sigh. The captain's body is not fully recovered yet. He cannot handle high-intensity missions, so I am afraid I have to ask you to take this trip. My mouth twitches. Old man, I say, I have literally only been in college for a few days. My seat is not even warm yet. Even as I complain, my eyes sharpen. After all, those young Shadow Dragon recruits were trained directly by me. It is impossible not to care. Fine, I say, rubbing my temples helplessly before letting out a small smirk. Good thing I faked that internal injury with Jiang Ha the other day and got a medical report. Otherwise, I really would not have a solid excuse to take leave. Jiang Guang lets out a booming laugh of pure relief. Do not worry, I already sent a guy to clear the leave with your college counselor. The official excuse is that the campus is way too noisy, so I'm taking you back home to rest for about half a month. His tone suddenly hardens. The vehicle is already waiting at your school gates. Get your butt out there right now. He hangs up, and as I push the balcony door open to step back inside, our base's crystal literally explodes on screen. Fang, you totally ruined us. Joe's face is a mask of pure, dramatic agony. I toss my phone onto my mattress and immediately start packing. My family just called. They are worried sick about my health and are insisting on taking me home to recover. The counselor has actually already approved the leave. I have to head out this very second. Right now, they gasp, completely stunned. Is it really that urgent? Well, my family is super worried about this internal injury. I tap my chest with a meaningful look, earning a highly enthusiastic send-off from my 3 loyal roommates. They walk me all the way to the school gates. Fang, where exactly is your family's ride? Joe asks, craning his neck around. It is right here. I tilt my chin, pointing straight toward the dark shadows down by the road. The 3 of them instantly turn to look. In an instant, their faces freeze. Honestly, you would react the exact same way. Parked quietly in the dim shadows of the street lamp stands a massive, dark green military assault vehicle. Its license plate is a blinding, official white. Right beside the massive vehicle, a a soldier in full camouflage stands perfectly upright. The moment he spots me, he snaps to attention and marches forward, his eyes full of deep respect and sheer excitement. Xiao Rui just stammers, completely speechless. "Brother Fang, is this the casual ride from home you were talking about?" Xiao Rui asks, looking absolutely dumbfounded. "Brother Fang, what on earth does your family actually do? They can just casually summon a military vehicle?" My lip twitches. I curse the old man under my breath. So much for keeping a low profile. What happened to our deal about pretending to be ordinary? How am I supposed to keep up this fake act now? Sighing heavily, I clear my throat and try to spin some terrible, forced explanation. "Well, you see, I have this distant relative who drives trucks for the logistics department. He just happened to be delivering supplies nearby, so he's giving me a quick lift. Anyway, I am off." I do not even wait for their response. I do not dare look back at their deeply skeptical faces. Snatching my gear bag, I quickly dive right into the back seat. The heavy engine roars to life. The massive vehicle lets out a low growl, blasting into the dark night like an arrow, leaving only a trail of red taillights. Back at the school gates, my 3 roommates are left standing frozen in the cold night wind. Lin Shan quietly adjusts his glasses, his voice sounding completely dry. "Guys, that car is the latest model of the heavy warrior assault vehicle. That license plate has an incredibly high clearance level," Zui muttered in disbelief. "Who delivers basic supplies in a ride like that, and since when do supply runs come with a personal chauffeur? Who on earth is Brother Fong really?" 30 minutes later, we are at a secret military airport outside the city. As soon as I hopped out of the car, I spotted Zhang Guiyong in full military gear beside a humming helicopter. Zhang Guiyong gave me a massive grin, but I just threw my bag down, looking completely annoyed. "Boss, could you be any less subtle, sending an elite soldier straight to my school to pick me up? My roommates think I am some kind of alien," but Zhang Guiyong just laughed, saying the strong never need to explain themselves. "This mission is an absolute emergency, and only a military ride could blast through the city streets this fast. Cut the small talk and get to the point. What is the situation?" Zhang Guiyong instantly turned serious. "Our first squad was ambushed across the border by a deadly group of 20 elite international assassins. Li Hen and his squad are cornered in a dead zone without ammo or supplies, ready to be wiped out at any second." Hearing about 20 top-tier assassins did not faze me one bit. I just nodded and walked toward the roaring chopper. "Wait," Zhang Guiyong called out, gesturing toward a massive black weapons crate lying open nearby. He asked if I was going to grab some gear, pointing to a row of high-tech, untraceable Black Tiger firearms. "Now check this out." I barely even glanced at those deadly weapons, not bothering to touch them. "No need," I said, shoving my hands into my pockets. "Those guns are for war, not 20 pieces of literal trash. Why waste the gear?" Without giving him a second to argue, I stepped into the heavy wind and boarded the chopper. The heavy cabin door slammed shut. The chopper roared into the clouds, leaving Zhang Guiyong standing there, staring at the rejected weapons with a helpless, wry smile. A few hours later, deep in the thick jungle across the border, a brutal storm began to pour down. Trapped in a corner and surrounded by mountains, 10 battered soldiers of the first squad stood back to back for their last stand. Their captain, Li Hen, leaned against a wet rock, a bloody makeshift bandage wrapped tight around his deep wound. The other 9 soldiers were completely beaten and bruised, each of them pushed far past their absolute limits. With empty rifles littered around their boots, the only weapon they had left was a single unmarked tactical knife. Even though they were completely trapped, you could not spot a single hint of fear in these 10 men. And here they come, 20 ghostly shadows moving silently through the deep, muddy forest ahead. These 20 elite assassins closed in with slow, haunting steps, playing a sick game of cat and mouse with bloodthirsty grins on their faces. They mocked them, asking why the great Shia special forces stopped running. Is this the legendary Eastern elite? Because they look like nothing but cornered rats to me. Lian spat a mouthful of blood into the mud, his eyes glaring at the shadows as he rasped out to his brothers. He told them those scumbags were mocking them, reminding them that Shadow Dragon only has dead ghosts, not cowards on their knees. He asked if they were ready, and the 9 men behind him roared in unison. Vowing to be brothers even in the afterlife, Lian stood up, raised his combat knife high, and let out a final, fierce roar. But right as they prepared to die, an incredibly lazy voice suddenly echoed from high above their heads. I called out, asking why they were screaming like absolute idiots in the middle of the night during a fight. Were they really that worried the enemy would not find them? My voice was so completely out of place that it instantly froze the deadly tension on the battlefield. Whether it was the desperate soldiers ready for their final stand or the 20 assassins closing their trap, everyone stopped and looked up in absolute shock. Lightning flashed across the dark sky, and in that brief, pale flicker of light, everyone finally saw me clearly. Perched on a massive boulder above them was a figure who had appeared out of nowhere, looking barely 18 or 19 years old. I was completely soaked from the heavy rain, wearing absolutely zero tactical gear, no helmet, and no body armor. I did not even carry a gun, standing there in a wet white t-shirt and jeans with my hands in my pockets, gazing down at them. My face still had a lazy, sleepy expression, leaving the 20 heavily armed, elite assassins standing there completely stunned. They wondered if I was some lost tourist, but the moment Lien saw my face, it was like he got hit by lightning. The knife fell from his hand into the mud, and this tough, iron-blooded soldier's eyes went red as he whispered, "Instructor." Yep, it was me, the very guy who once trained them so hard they actually questioned their own existence. The legend they worshipped like a god in the Shadow Dragon unit. Standing on that boulder, I didn't even spare those 20 assassins a glance. I simply stared down at Lien and the 9 injured soldiers, my brow furrowing with pure, deep irritation. My eyes showed nothing but absolute, naked contempt. I shook my head, skiing softly, and let out a heavy sigh. Look at this pathetic mess. 10 of you against 20, and you're getting chased like dogs all over the mountain. I've only been away at school for a few days, so how did you get this week? I guess I'll have to crank up your training to hellish levels when we return. Instructor Lien took a panicked step forward, the veins on his neck bulging. Just run and don't worry about us, he yells. These guys aren't normal mercenaries. They're Yaka, the deadliest assassin squad on Earth. Behind him, the 9 team members snapped out of their daze, each one looking more terrified than the last. If I had showed up fully geared, maybe they'd have some hope. But right now, I was standing there empty-handed, without even a protective vest on. Going up against 20 top-tier killers armed to the teeth, how is this not just a direct suicide mission? Instructor, there's no time, they scream. We are surrounded. Run, and we'll cover your retreat. One soldier struggles to his feet, literally offering his own flesh and blood as a shield to protect me from the enemy bullets. To these men, I wasn't just some instructor. I was their backbone, their pride, and the ultimate future of the entire Xiao military. Losing 10 lives here meant absolutely nothing to them, but if I died trying to save them, they would be the eternal sinners of the Hidden Dragon squad. Get out of here! Lien screams at the very top of his lungs. But standing up there on that high ground, my face only grows colder. I slowly look down, my lazy eyes shifting. A flicker of deep impatience begins to surface. It's like I'm looking at a bunch of rowdy, spoiled brats who don't know any better. Shut it. My voice isn't even loud. But the moment I speak, Lien and the others freeze and stop screaming instantly. I frown. Did you guys not hear what I just said? Or are you all just too stupid to understand? Since when did you bunch start telling me how to do my job? Lien opens his mouth to speak, but nothing comes out. Talk about an aura that commands absolute, bone-deep obedience. My hands stay casually shoved deep inside my pockets. A cold smirk plays on my lips. What? You spend a few days out in the wild and suddenly think you've grown wings? Or do you think I can't handle this? Think I'm not good enough? Speak up and report. No, sir. If it's a no, then keep your damn mouths shut, I stated coldly. These top-tier assassins of the Yaka squad are nothing but a pile of trash waiting to be cleared out. Those words don't just leave Lien and his men completely stunned. They trigger a wave of deep humiliation through the 20 elite killers hiding in the dark. The Yaka squad, ranked 3rd on the global dark web. Countless high-profile assassinations executed, and they have never failed a single mission. Yet in my mouth, they're reduced to mere garbage. 50 meters to the left of that massive boulder, an elite sniper lies in wait. This sniper, codenamed Viper, glares at me through his night vision scope, a wicked, cruel sneer curling his lips. On the battlefield, the higher up you stand, the faster you die. That is the ultimate iron rule. Since you're begging for death, I'll happily oblige. Viper doesn't hesitate for a second, his finger gently squeezing the trigger. A quiet, muffled gunshot is instantly swallowed up by the heavy, booming thunder. The specialized armor-piercing round rips through the thick mist, heading straight for my temple. It's lightning fast, silent, and deadly precise. Right as the gun fires. Down below, Lien senses the sudden wave of killing intent. Instructor, look out, sniper, he screams, but he's way too far. Too late. It is all over. Even a god would struggle to dodge this. But standing right there on that boulder, I don't even blink. I don't duck or make any desperate moves, acting like I am just casually shooing away an annoying fly. A tiny tilt of my head. Just a fraction. A movement so small it is basically invisible to the naked eye. Whoosh. The deadly bullet grazes past my wet hair, slamming hard into the tree behind me. Time completely freezes. They thought they knew my limits. Wrong. I just completely shattered their reality. He actually just dodged a sniper bullet. Anyone else would call it luck, but you know this is me. Pure, terrifying bodily control, combined with my clinical sense of danger. But only I know the real truth. This wasn't just raw reflex, it was clearly the system warning at work. Standing on that massive boulder, my movements paused for a second as I slowly turned my head back. My lazy eyes instantly turn razor sharp as my gaze cuts right through the dark mist, locking onto a sniper hiding behind a massive tree 50 meters away. I let out a cold snort. Even from dozens of meters away through the thick, heavy rain, Viper, lurking behind that tree, felt as if the Grim Reaper himself had grabbed him by the throat. He saw me. How? While Viper freezes in terror, I speak calmly. Didn't you see I was in the middle of a lecture? I narrow my eyes slightly, my voice dripping with pure irritation. When adults are talking, children should keep their mouths shut because interrupting is pretty rude behavior. Turning back to the battered group of soldiers, I give a lazy wave of my hand, saying a bunch of wounded guys is an eyesore anyway. I'll deal with you lot when I get back. Pointing impatiently at the crevice under a boulder, I tell them to hide well if they want to live. I will be right back and right away. I ditch all cover and tactical moves entirely. Right before their eyes, my body flickers, whoosh. It's as if I completely evaporate into thin air, plunging headfirst into the pitch-black rain. Meanwhile, behind that ancient tree 50 meters away, Viper stares through his scope, clearly seeing the arrogant great shaman still standing right there. Yet in the blink of an eye, that infrared silhouette simply vanishes, leaving Viper frantically rubbing his eyes. He swings his rifle around, desperately searching every single inch of the brush. Still nothing. In the green glow of that scope, there is absolutely nothing but the cold blue mist and zero heat signature at all. The guy has merged into the rain like a single drop of water, completely vanishing. Damn it, where is he? Viper's hands start shaking uncontrollably. A cold chill shoots straight up from his feet to his skull. Just imagine how terrifying this realization is. You lose your target in the scope, but they know exactly where you are. The hunter is now the prey. He is coming for me. I can feel it. Viper screams hysterically into his comms. Meanwhile, the soldiers hiding under the boulder stare toward where I vanished, completely dumbfounded, wondering if that was actually the instructor's real speed. I couldn't even catch an afterimage, Lean says, shaking his head with a wry smile. How could they possibly forget the sheer terror of being pinned to the dirt and crushed by me barehanded? Over at base, one soldier's tense nerves finally snap completely. He slumps right into the wet mud, pulling out a completely soaked cigarette and popping it in his mouth. With our instructor's insane skills, forget 20 assassins, even 200 wouldn't make him sweat, Lean agrees, relaxing against the rock. All right, since the instructor is personally handling it, let's make sure we stay out of his way. Suddenly, the dark, murderous atmosphere becomes incredibly relaxed as a group of guys who were ready to die moments ago start chatting about what dinner they want back at base. I want Old Black's pork trotters and Scarface's fish because they all know one thing. With Gufong here, this is easily the safest place in the world. Meanwhile, deep in the dark jungle, absolute fear spreads silently as Viper begs for backup over the radio. Leaning against a tree with cold sweat soaking his clothes, Viper swings his rifle wildly into the darkness until two shadows suddenly flank him. It's the two elite assault troopers assigned to protect his life. Standing back to back, they shield Viper in the center, forming a tight triangular defense with zero blind spots as they tell him to relax. Seeing his allies there, Viper's confidence returns instantly as he roars into the dark forest. "You pig, come out and face me." But the very moment his shout dies down, a cold voice eerily echoes from right above his head. Could you imagine hearing this right above your head? "Why are you screaming so loud?" he asks in a hurry to meet your maker. They instinctively try to look up and raise their weapons, but they are already way too slow. The exact millisecond my voice registers, I move. A hand shoots down from the dense, dark canopy of the tree crack. The sickening sound of snapping bone rings out clearly through the rainy night as Viper's head is twisted 180 degrees to face his back. His body goes instantly limp. His wide, lifeless eyes lock right onto the two assault troopers who just looked up, realizing a top-tier sniper was just crushed like an ant inside their perfect defense. With an instant kill, the terrified troopers scream he is in the tree and fire. Muzzle flashes light up the dark night, spitting hot lead everywhere. But when the gunfire finally stops, there is only falling debris. The tree is completely empty. That ghostly figure has already vanished into thin air once again after the kill. That command came straight from the leader of the Yaka squad, Ghostface. This beast stood nearly 2 meters tall with muscles like knotted steel. The guy radiated a terrifying aura like he had just crawled out of a mountain of corpses. He ranked 9th on the global assassin list. Right now, Ghostface was lurking deep in the bushes, his bloodshot eyes flashing with a very rare hint of caution. He gritted his teeth, thinking this guy is a pure monster. In that split second, even he could not track my movements. That ghostly speed reminded him of an absolute legend, the number one killer on the entire global list, Ghost. Impossible. Why on earth would Ghost be in this godforsaken place? Ghostface shook his head violently, forcing down the absurd thought. But he had no idea at this very moment, dozens of meters away, I was quietly crouching high up on a tree branch. Looking through the thick mist, my cold gaze swept over the terrifyingly powerful Ghostface. The moment I spotted his signature mask, I raised an eyebrow and a playful smirk touched my lips. Well, if it is not the famous Ghostface. Seeing him reminded me of last summer, when my life as a rich kid was just too boring. So, I used a vacation abroad as an excuse to register a mercenary account under the codename Ghost just for a little fun. But then, I suddenly awakened the system. The previous rank 1 assassin did not know his place and tried to steal my contract. And just like that, I became the new rank 1 assassin Ghost. You can bet that summer completely broke the dark web's balance. During that wild run, I also happened to save the Shadow Dragon captain while he was being hunted down by enemies. That is how I got recruited as their elite instructor. Looking down at the terrified Ghostface now, it felt like watching a complete noob. Since you are ranked 9th, I will show you some respect. I have decided to save you for last. I will let you watch your men die one by one. As I thought this, 2 terrified assault troopers trembled while moving toward Viper's lifeless body. One of them knelt down, reaching out to check him. But the moment his hand brushed the cold corpse, his face turned deathly pale. His pupils shrank in sheer horror. "He is already dead," he stammered, his voice shaking violently. "Captain, the gun is completely gone." "What?" Over the comms, Ghostface and the other killers were struck with total horror. The trooper screamed in absolute horror. Viper's heavy sniper rifle is gone. That monster took Viper's gun in just a split second. A cold chill ran down their spines as they realized what I did while snapping Viper's neck. I had actually snatched away that beast of a sniper rifle right from under their noses. Look closer before they could even process the shock. A bullet came screaming out of the dark. The trooper who had just reported in was shot right through the skull on the spot. The other assaulter broke into a cold sweat. He felt exactly like a piece of raw meat on a chopping block. He yelled out that the enemy was using Viper's gun, but before he could finish, there was another faint crack of a gunshot, and this trooper also collapsed heavily into the deep snow. 2 bullets, 2 precise shots, 2 lives instantly deleted. Ghostface's eyes turned blood red as he roared, "Damn it, everyone group up, do not spread out. With 17 of us, are we seriously going to be afraid of just one single man?" Thunder rolled, but my gunshots kept ringing out, one after another. They could not tell when the next bullet was coming or which direction it was being fired from. All they knew was that their allies were dropping one by one. Another killer's head exploded without warning. His body collapsed straight into the cold snow. That makes 11. I crouched behind a bush dozens of meters away, calmly taking aim. Honestly, picking these guys off is not even as challenging as playing a video game. Another shot rang out. Number 12. In less than a minute, the surviving killers had completely lost their minds. They could not see me. They could not hear any footsteps, nor could they catch a single muzzle flash. Yet, their allies kept dropping. Just as I was preparing to harvest my 13th target, the sniper rifle in my hands suddenly made a dry sound. The crisp click of the bolt locking back on an empty chamber. I clicked my tongue, staring down at the useless rifle in my hand with pure disdain. Out of ammo already? Man, the fun was just starting. I casually tossed that expensive modified rifle into the wet grass like a piece of cheap trash. Then, I slowly stood up and cracked my neck. Fine. Looks like I will just have to go back to my old ways. A cold smirk played on my lips as my figure blurred, merging back into the darkness. Meanwhile, over in the very center of the forest, the gunfire suddenly stopped. "He is out of ammo." One of the surviving killers noticed the shooting had ceased and yelled out joyfully, "Charge, let us kill him." But before those words could even finish landing, a dark shadow descended from above like a total phantom, landing silently right behind him. My mocking voice whispered right into his ear, "Yeah, I'm out of bullets. But who told you I cannot kill you without them?" The killer's hair stood on end instantly. Just as he tried to turn around, my hand solid as an iron vise locked right onto his throat. Snap. Clean and swift. Number 13. With the target down, I glided back toward the trees like a shadow, melting right into the thick undergrowth. Gunfire suddenly erupted. The remaining killers panicked, spraying bullets wildly at the empty spot where I had just been standing. But they only hit the cold ground next to their dead ally. I had vanished. True to my code name, Ghost, every single appearance of mine meant a life was cut short. Seeing his men drop one by one like flies, the guy completely loses his mind. Guimian completely lost his mind. This brutal efficiency, this terrifying presence, this sadistic game with his prey was Ghost. It really was him. Gwimian's eyes went completely bloodshot as his hand shook violently around his weapon. He muttered like a madman, "You are Ghost, the top-ranked Ghost." If he had doubts earlier, now he was 100% sure. Gwimian whipped his head around, screaming at his last remaining men, "Run! Get out of here! He is Ghost! We cannot win this! Run if you want to live!" Hearing the name Ghost, the remaining mercenaries did not dare linger for another single second. These brutal killers, who usually murdered without blinking, were now scattering through the forest like terrified animals. But as I watched my prey run in all directions, I was in no rush to pursue them. I just stood there, calmly watching their desperate struggle. "Run all you want. Where could you possibly go?" I picked up a bloody dagger from the dirt, casually spinning it between my fingers. I might hold the #1 rank, but since my very first job, I have only ever targeted those who truly deserve it. I only clean up the trash. And you guys? The files of the Yaka squad flashed through my mind. For dirty money, you did not even spare women or children. You have caused endless massacres. Scum like you are a total waste of oxygen. Before the words even faded, I vanished into thin air. In this moment, I was no longer that lazy college kid who faked injuries and fooled around at school. I was the absolute nightmare of the entire criminal underworld. Ghost. 1 minute later, a scream to the east was cut short. 2 minutes later, the heavy thud of a body hitting the dirt echoed from the west. In just 5 minutes, the forest fell completely silent again. Gimian did not run far, or honestly, he knew escaping was impossible. He collapsed against a muddy tree trunk, fully aware that in front of me, his loaded gun was nothing more than a useless stick. "It is all over," Gimian muttered, his gaze completely blank. The elite force he spent 10 years building had been slaughtered by me in under 20 minutes, just like chickens in a coop. "Come out! I know you are nearby," Gwymian screamed in total despair. "Ghost, I know it is you. Why did you not stay retired?" There was no answer. Only the low rumble of thunder, a terrifying silence that finally crushed his mental defense. Shaking violently, he pulled a dagger from his boot, gripping the handle with both hands. He aimed the point at his own heart. Ending it quickly was far better than letting me torture him to death. Goodbye to this miserable world. Gwymian squeezed his eyes shut, tensing his muscles to plunge the blade deep into his chest. But just as the tip hovered barely a centimeter from his flesh, a warm hand reached out from behind him without warning. "And check this out," I casually tapped his shoulder like an old friend on the street. Gwymian froze instantly. Then, my mocking voice whispered right into his ear. "Ranked 9th? And you are quitting already? Suicide is boring." "Let us talk a bit," I said, making Gwymian shudder. His breath caught. The heavy dagger fell to the ground with a clang as he slowly turned his head. Staring at my youthful face, he froze in absolute shock. I kept that harmless, innocent smile, but to him, it felt like plunging straight into a frozen abyss. "It really is you," Gwymian gasped in a raspy voice. "Ghost." But a second later, sheer terror turned into deep confusion. "Why did you not retire? Why are you here?" He stared at me, desperate for answers. Suddenly, a horrifying thought hit him. "Have you actually been recruited by the great Shia military?" I did not answer right away. I simply bent down to retrieve his dagger, casually spinning the weapon in my palm. "Joined?" I tilted my head and asked, a slow grin spreading across my face to reveal my white teeth. "Technically, I have not joined officially, but I am definitely working with them." I leaned in, whispering each word clearly. "Think of me as their teacher, or their instructor." "A teacher?" Gwymian felt his entire world spin out of control. The greatest mercenary on Earth, Ghost, is training the Shia Special Forces. No wonder they were so damn tough. No wonder this unknown Shia squad was impossible to handle. Gwymian suddenly let out a broken, self-mocking laugh. His laughter was pure despair. "I lost, and honestly, I have no regrets losing to you." With that, he closed his eyes. He bared his neck, ready for the slaughter, telling me to just do it. Dying by my hand apparently wouldn't bring shame to his name as Gwymian, but time ticked. 1 second, 2 seconds, then 5. The expected death never arrived. Instead, I kicked him hard right in the backside. "Get lost," I said lazily. He snapped his eyes open, staring at me in total disbelief. Do not get the wrong idea. I am not some kind-hearted savior. I casually toyed with my dagger, then gave it a sudden flick. Whoosh! The blade whistled right past Gimian's cheek, sinking deep into the massive tree trunk behind him. I clapped my hands, looking down at his pathetic state. "I am only sparing your useless life so you can deliver a message for me. Just pass this to your jumpy colleagues and those shady organizations eyeing Great Shia. Tell them if anyone dares lay a finger on a Great Shia soldier, or if they are just tired of living and want my #1 spot." I paused. With a perfectly harmless smile, I finished "Come and try." But before they make their move, tell them to weigh the consequences first. I dismissed him, like shooing away a fly. All right, the message is delivered, now get lost. Go before I change my mind. I stood there, hands behind my back, soaked in the rain. I still looked like a simple college kid, but to Gideon, my silhouette looked far more terrifying than a literal demon from hell. Granted a sudden divine pardon, Gideon scrambled up and ran, not daring to utter a single threat. He stumbled away into the dark rain and thick mist. Watching him disappear, I just curled my lip. Honestly, how boring. I thought he would be a bit tougher than that. I turned and walked back toward the giant rock. Meanwhile, right beneath that rock, Lean and his 9 squad members were staring anxiously into the pitch-black depths of the forest. Suffocating pressure weighed on everyone. Captain, is the instructor okay? Cut the crap, Lean glared. He is basically a god. 20 assassins are absolutely nothing to him. And look, right on cue, our main character steps calmly out of the dark. Plain white t-shirt, jeans, hands in pockets, just some mud and rain. Honestly, he looked just like an ordinary college kid who spent the entire night gaming. Seeing me return safe and sound, Lean and the guys immediately exploded with excitement, rubbing their hands together in pure thrill. Instructor, you are an absolute beast. Seriously, you actually took them all out. But I did not share their excitement. Instead, my cold gaze swept over Lean's bleeding arm and the utterly pathetic state of the crew. The squad, cheering loudly just a second ago, fell completely silent under my intense stare until you could hear a pin drop. A familiar, terrifying feeling began to crawl up everyone's spine. Done celebrating yet? I asked coldly. We are done. Lean froze. He immediately snapped to attention, sweating bullets. If you are done being happy, let's talk real business. I pointed coldly at the mess surrounding us. Then I gestured to the wounds on their bodies. 20 pieces of literal trash pushed you to run out of ammo and write suicide notes. Is this the actual strength of the elite Yinlong squadron? Are these the soldiers I supposedly trained? My harsh words made them hang their heads. Every one of them was flushed with deep shame. Instructor, this was just an unfortunate accident. Lean braced himself to make an excuse. The storm was just too heavy, and that was the elite Yaka squad with far superior gear. Plus, we had already wiped out over 100 elite fighters before they showed up. He quickly tried to change the subject before I could speak. Oh, instructor, you must be starving. How about we just head back to the base first? Exactly. Old Hay definitely saved some of his famous braised pork for you. The rest of the guys chimed in, desperate for a distraction. But I was absolutely not buying any of it. Keeping up that terrifying smile that made them shake, I said there was no need. As for all of you, I paused, voice turning sweet. You got off far too easy before. 10 elites struggling against 100, and then running from 20 stragglers. Oh, you already know what's coming. Training is about to become pure hell. Once we get back, your training is tripled. I will also prepare a brand new special physical recovery package just for you guys. Hearing about tripled training and new torture, Lean and the guys turned green. They had not felt this hopeless even when surrounded by 20 armed killers. All right, stop looking like you are attending a funeral. I was done dealing with them. Follow me to the extraction point now. We are going home. If any of you dawdle, expect 1,000 push-ups right on this spot. Yes, sir, they shouted together. Soon enough, we touched down at a top-secret military airfield inside Great Xia. The hangar hatch slowly opened. The old man, Jiang Guang, had been waiting there for ages. Spotting me, leading the squad off the aircraft, his stern face instantly cracked into a massive grin. Good kid, he said, stepping forward for a giant hug. Did you wrap things up that fast? I stepped aside to dodge him, dusting myself off with total disgust. That is because you guys have no idea what I can actually do. 2 or 3 days, you think way too highly of them. Right then, Li Hen and his 9 teammates finally walked down. They all snapped into a crisp salute. Jiang nodded with absolute satisfaction before turning his gaze over to me. Xiaowu, since you are already here, do not run off so quickly. Lian rushed over too, inviting me with a completely sincere face. Instructor, come stay at the base for a bit. The brothers want to thank you properly. Old Hay is making his specialty. That delicious braised pork is still simmering in the pot. Faced with their warm invitation, I did not even hesitate to wave them off. Not going. Li Hen stood there completely frozen. Why? I just threw my hands in my pockets and stared at this group of beefy guys. I rolled my eyes. Why would I visit Yinlong just to watch a bunch of dudes train shirtless? Pretty girls in short skirts? Top-tier graphics cards at internet cafes? Does Yinlong have any of that? What about ice-cold sodas and air conditioning? This massive barrage of soul-crushing questions left them utterly speechless. What? Internet cafes? Kid, this is a special forces base where we only have sweat, dirt, and endless hormones. So you have absolutely none of that, right? I threw my hands up. Then why would I go? Send me back to school. I turned around to jump into the car, but Jang was lightning fast. Grabbing my arm, he stared at me with a weird look, asking if I forgot something. When you asked your school counselor for leave, you claimed you had to go home and recover. You asked for half a month. You've been gone from school for barely a day and a half, and you are already heading back now. Are you trying to treat your teacher like an idiot? I froze. Damn, that was a major slip-up on my part. I was so busy being annoyed by these beefcakes that I totally forgot. If I show up at school looking completely healthy, my fake injury act is ruined. True. I rubbed my chin, sighing. If you are going to put on a show, you have to commit to the role. Turning back toward Lihen and the team, I let out a heavy sigh and spoke with a look of fake reluctance. Fine, I will crash at Yinlong for a bit. It is actually a great way to lay low. Hearing this, Jang smiled so wide his wrinkles bloomed like flowers. But Lihen and his 9 squad members felt their smiles freeze instantly on their terrified faces. Talk about instant regret. You can practically see the absolute despair creeping into their poor eyes right now. If this absolute monster actually tags along, thinking about the triple training program made Lian feel his knees go weak. His vision went pitch black. How were they going to survive this? No, instructor, please, Lian panicked, reacting with lightning speed. Shaking his head frantically, he pleaded that their base conditions were too brutal and nowhere near as comfortable as school. Exactly. The other squad members chimed in quickly. Instructor, you should definitely head back to school. Those pretty seniors are waiting for you. Seeing their survival instincts kick in like crazy, I narrowed my eyes with a smirk and stepped forward. Staring right into Lian's terrified face, I asked him in an eerie voice, "What is the matter, Captain? Do you want me to leave that badly, or are you just terrified of me?" No, absolutely not. Lihen thumped his chest hard, declaring they wished their instructor could stay forever and that their admiration was like a roaring river. But in his mind, his inner self was already on his knees, kowtowing frantically and begging me to just leave. Talk about inviting the king of hell right into their home. Since you are all so welcoming, I will not be polite. I patted Lihen on the shoulder with a warm, friendly smile. Let us go. It has been a while since I stretched my muscles there. Over the next half-month, we can really get close to each other. Hearing that word, Lian's vision went completely dark. His body swayed. He almost fainted. They were completely and utterly doomed. Get ready, because the next 2 weeks are going to turn this entire base into a complete living hell while our boy just chills. Holding fresh watermelon in one hand and soaking up the sun, I happily watched over those miserable Special Forces soldiers. They were exhausted like dogs as I subjected them to double the torture. Lift those legs higher. Did you not eat today, Lian? You call those push-ups? My grandmother praying at the temple has better form than whatever you are doing. Every single day, the Yinlong base echoed with agonizing screams alongside my lazy, mocking voice, making my 2-week recovery break incredibly comfortable. I basically had my every need served to me on a silver platter, until my fake medical leave finally came to an end. The exact second I stepped into the car back to school, the entire Yinlong crew lined up to send me off. Every single guy had actual tears streaming down their face, making it look like they were completely heartbroken to see me leave. In reality, they were screaming with joy inside, celebrating that the king of hell was finally gone. Sweet freedom. The storm over Yinlong finally cleared, but the second I stepped back into dorm 404 at Shanghai University, I froze. As soon as I shoved the door open, my 3 roommates were completely slumped over in their chairs. They looked like they had their life force completely drained. Spotting me back, Zhou Wei struggled to even lift up his head. His usually round, chubby face had actually shrunk a noticeable amount, leaving him with sunken eyes and a pretty pale complexion. You are finally back, he wheezed. I put down my bag and asked in utter surprise what happened. Has not military training been over for ages? How did you guys end up like this? Xiao Rui just sprawled across the table, wailing weakly, and told me not to even get them started. Fang, for the half-month you were gone, we have not been living like actual human beings. That instructor, Wang, I do not know if he is going through a midlife crisis, but he added brutal extra drills daily and found every excuse to pick on us. Our dorm got extra target practice, and I lost 10 whole pounds. A whole 10 pounds. Lin Shine pushed up his glasses as they slipped down his nose, speaking with a pretty raspy voice. Fang, I am so jealous of you, resting at home with good food and drinks, avoiding the sun and the torment from King of Hell Wang. If I had known, I would have paid someone to break my bones far better than this torture. Seeing their incredibly jealous, hateful stares, I almost burst out laughing right then. They were being tortured by Instructor Wang, while those tough dragon fighters were being pushed to their absolute limits by me. That feeling was honestly amazing, so I kept on asking. But has not training been over for quite a few days? How have you guys not recovered yet? Zhou Wei answered with a face full of pure bitterness. Who knows why we have so many classes? Non-stop lectures from dawn till dusk. The homework load is absolutely exploding, and I do not even have time for video games anymore. I cleared my throat, walked over, and patted Zhou Wei on his shoulder to soothe your broken souls. Tonight we are pulling an all-nighter at the internet cafe, my treat. We pulled that all-nighter, but I had barely gotten back and had not even warmed up my actual bed yet. The second I opened my eyes, I spotted my roommate Zhu Wei crying right by my bedside with an expression like he was attending a funeral. We are finished, brother, because something absolutely massive is going to hit our dorm today. I stared back with heavy dark circles under my eyes, wondering why this guy was screaming like a banshee so early in the morning, but his next words woke me right up. Look at this. Zhou Wei lunges at my bed, sounding so incredibly tragic. Fang, my dear brother, do you remember what our very first class is this morning? I let out a lazy yawn. Advanced math. Is it still with that total exterminator? Professor Lee, he whispered, instantly lowering his voice in a suspicious way while waving 4 fingers right in front of my eyes. Oh, brother Fang, you have absolutely no idea how terrifying that woman has been over the 2 weeks you were away on leave. I checked around, and her failure rate is as high as 40%. Right as he finished, Lin Xian poked his head over while brushing his teeth to twist the knife even deeper. That old lady absolutely despises people showing up late or taking any kind of leave. You have been gone for half a month, brother Fang, so you are pretty much walking directly into the line of fire. Even Zhao, who usually keeps quiet, slammed a notebook as thick as a brick right into my hands, telling me to take it just to look prepared. Staring at their deeply mournful expressions, I almost laughed. Instead, I took the plastic-wrapped, unopened advanced math textbook. Is it really that bad? I tossed the fresh book up in my hand. It is just a bunch of calculations, right? Back when I hauled heavy bricks, my accounting was way harder than this simple math. The moment those words left my mouth, my 3 roommates stared at me with pure, unadulterated despair, as if I were terminally ill. I did not even bother trying to explain. And watch close now. I ripped the plastic off the book, getting ready to show them something crazy. Flip, flip, flip. I gripped the textbook with one hand, while my other hand turned into an absolute blur. I flipped pages fast, sounding like a high-speed money counter as Zhou Wei twitched. What kind of secret martial art are you practicing, brother Fang, or is this some quantum speed reading nonsense? I did not have the time to deal with him, because inside my head, a rapid series of metallic pings started firing off like crazy. Ding. Host interacting with advanced mathematics. Initial analysis complete. Congratulations. Host has mastered Grandmaster level advanced mathematics. Congratulations, you have unlocked the God's eye view of calculus. Countless formulas and theorems instantly transformed into golden data streams, flooding straight into my mind. Those dull, dry symbols suddenly felt completely alive, dancing right before my eyes. In under 5 minutes, with a loud slam, I shut the heavy book. I had finished every single page. I casually tossed the book on the desk, stretched my arms, and said, "Done. You are finished." The 3 idiots were just about to walk out the door when they tripped, nearly face-planting on the floor. Lin Shuten points a trembling finger at the fresh, practically steaming notebook, his eyes wide as saucers. Brother Fang, you call that finished? The cover is not even dry yet. I casually changed my clothes without looking up. It is a total walk in the park. I thought it would be tough, but it is basically just a picture book. Zhou Wei covers his face in despair. It is over. Brother Fang has been pushed too far. He has totally lost his mind and started talking pure nonsense. 20 minutes later, inside the massive lecture hall, the room is packed to the brim. On the podium stands a middle-aged woman in a gray suit, wearing black-rimmed glasses. This is the legendary Great Exterminator, Professor Lee. Her face is set in a stern mask, her eyes as sharp as daggers. She holds up the roll call sheet and scans the room. But when she reaches Gu Fang, her cold tone clearly falters. Dead silence. Countless sharp gazes suddenly stab toward me all at once. I slowly raise my hand, calmly calling out present. Professor Lee adjusts her glasses, her sharp gaze locking directly onto me, her voice dripping with undeniable sarcasm. "So you are Gu Fang. I heard you were seriously injured and had to recover for half a month. You look pretty energetic to me." I lean back lazily in my chair and reply with complete indifference. "Thanks to your concern, I have recovered quite well." "Recovered well? Have you?" A cold smirk curls on her lips. She spins around abruptly, her piece of chalk dancing across the blackboard. A math problem looking like some cryptic heavenly script appears instantly. As she finishes the last stroke, she turns back and taps the board sharply with her chalk. "Oh, check out her face here." Her eyes are cold as ice as she asks if his brain can actually keep up. "Come up here and solve this for me. Do it." and I will act like those 2 weeks of missed classes never happened. Her tone shifts, becoming even colder, but if you cannot, your participation grade for this semester is an automatic 0. The room falls into a deathly silence. Everyone just stares at the pure gibberish written on the board. It is a complex problem involving surface integrals of the second kind. Even the top students in the front row break into a cold sweat. Is this even solvable by a human? The origin itself is discontinuous. You have to use Gauss's formula, but it is a trap. You would need the hole-punching method to fix the region. You could not finish this calculation even if class ended. Zhou Wei covers his face in absolute agony. It is over. Brother Fang is dead meat. Forget a 40% failure rate. This is a 100% death trap. On the podium, Professor Lee crosses her arms, a smirk of absolute control on her face. She wants to teach this arrogant kid a lesson he will never forget. Seeing that I am not moving, the exterminator begins to urge me on impatiently. What is the matter? Do not know how to do it. If you cannot, just admit you are wrong. From now on, you sit in the very front row. Unfortunately for her, before she can even finish speaking, I move. But I do not grab the chalk. Instead, I grab the eraser, wipe out a symbol at the end of the problem, and replace it with another without even turning around. My voice rings out flatly. Professor, your problem is not rigorous enough. Surface integrals of the second kind require a direction. You only gave a closed surface without even specifying if the normal vector points inward or outward. Without a direction, this problem is completely unsolvable. I will just assume you meant it points outward. Professor Lee instantly freezes. She instinctively glances at her lesson plan, and her brain goes totally numb. She really did forget that crucial condition. Before she can even recover from the shock, the chalk in my hand is already flying across the blackboard. The rapid clicking sound is like a rhythmic drumbeat, pounding against everyone's hearts. Method 1, the hole-punching method plus Gauss's formula. I explain as I write, the origin is the starting point, so you cannot use Gauss's formula directly. The standard solution is simply to carve out a tiny sphere right at the origin. Lines of formulas, as neat as printed text, instantly fill the left side of the board. The massive calculation feels as easy as writing 1 plus 1 under my hand. The top students in the class are completely stunned. That calculation alone would take them at least half an hour. And get this, I am even calculating the complex intermediate results in my head. But that is only the beginning. After finishing that first method, I do not stop. I draw a clean dividing line and start on the next section. Method 2, the field theory approach. The chalk in my hand dances. Actually, there is no need for all that trouble. If you look closely at this integrand, it is actually a very special vector field as long as you are not at the origin. Its divergence is always 0. Scribble, scribble. I quickly write down the divergence formula. Since the divergence is 0, it is a source-free field. That complex surface can be directly simplified into a simple unit sphere. The integral that looked like some divine mystery a moment ago instantly becomes a grade school level surface integral. Talk about mind-blowing. Lin Shan practically jumped out of his seat, his eyes nearly popping out. Is that even possible? That trick is strictly for grad school masters. The entire classroom erupted into absolute chaos. Professor Lee stared wide-eyed, completely frozen by the solution on the board. Her breathing grew rapid. But for me, this little display was not satisfying enough. I wiped a new spot clean on the far right of the blackboard and shook my head with a hint of disdain. Now watch this. He basically tells them that with a god-level view of geometry, you do not even need to write. Method 3, the solid angle method. This time, 0 math required. I just sketched a single diagram of an irregular surface enclosing the origin. No numbers, no formulas, just pure geometric intuition. It felt like a dimensional strike falling from a much higher plane of existence. Jabbing down the final answer, I flicked my wrist. The chalk sailed in a perfect arc, landing dead center in the corner trash can. I clapped the white dust off my hands and looked at the completely frozen professor, shrugging with a totally innocent face. Professor, we are out of space here. As for the fourth method, using exterior derivatives and Stokes' theorem, I will skip writing it. I paused just to throw in one final jab. That way is actually even simpler. Explaining it verbally should be enough for you to follow along. Instantly, the classroom fell dead silent. Professor Lee's hands shook as she took off her glasses, wiping them over and over. She stared hard at my third solution and those advanced exterior derivatives. Those were highly advanced mathematical tools that only graduate students were supposed to touch. She muttered to herself in a total daze, he is a genius, an absolute mathematical genius. Every bit of contempt in her eyes had vanished, replaced by the wild excitement of a hunter finding a legendary treasure. The silent room exploded. Is this guy even human? A total god. Who on earth said Guofang was a lazy slacker? The guy is a total beast who has already mastered 4 years of college math. Professor Lee took a deep breath. The coldness on her face melted away instantly, replaced by a smile so warm it was actually creepy. She stepped down from her podium, her attitude doing a complete 180-degree flip. Student Guofeng, this third method and your thoughts on exterior derivatives, how on earth did you come up with them? Shoving my hands in my pockets, I shrugged with maximum arrogance. Is math really that hard? I just skimmed the textbook in my dorm earlier. This problem is basically just about flux. The answer is obvious at a glance. Ouch. The entire class felt like they just got stabbed in the chest. Is that even human speech? Professor Lee just nodded in sheer excitement, granting me special permission. Starting today, you do not have to attend my lectures. I will personally give you a perfect final exam score. The classroom erupted as everyone stared at me, green with envy. Honestly, who wouldn't want a perfect grade without attending class? This was the absolute dream of every single college student. I just gave a polite nod and walked off the podium in pure style under their worshipful gazes. But the moment I sat back down, Lin Shan and my other two roommates pounced on me like starving wolves. They practically tackled me, crying tears of sheer shock and utter defeat. Lin Shan pushed up his glasses, his hands shaking wildly. Brother Fang, you can actually do that quantum speed reading nonsense, right? He stared at me like I was some ancient monster and swallowed hard, begging me to tell him the absolute truth. Does that crazy quantum speed reading thing actually exist? Seeing Lin Shan with a completely shattered worldview, looking like he was ready to go home and study magic, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. I reached over and patted his head like he was a confused child. What are you thinking? You are a college student. How can you fall for an obvious scam? Lin Shan froze in place. So it is fake? Then what was all that? I rolled my eyes hard, my face asking him if he was stupid. Obviously, it is fake. If I could actually quantum read, would I really be sitting here in class with you? I would have won a Nobel Prize by now. I shrugged, finally laying all my cards on the table. Truth is, I actually learned all this advanced math a long time ago. Flipping through the textbook in the dorm was just me messing with you guys because I was bored. The moment I finished speaking, the three of them looked at each other and let out a collective groan. Holy crap, Brother Fang, you are a complete jerk. Joe clutched his chest, looking like he was about to pass out. I thought you were walking into a slaughter, but you just went up there to show off. You scared the living daylights out of me. Joe confessed he was literally planning my funeral speech, but hearing it was just self-study rather than some cheat superpower made them feel a little more balanced. But right then, Lin Shan noticed something else, turning to look at me with a very puzzled face. Wait, Brother Fang, if your math skills are this insane, why are you in the finance department? If you went into pure math or physics, you'd basically run the school. That question instantly hooked the other two roommates. I let out a heavy sigh, acting completely helpless, while pulling off the ultimate humble brag. You think I wanted this? Shrugging like a victim of forced labor, I claimed I only wanted to do scientific research and find inner peace. But my old man back home absolutely forced me into finance. I pointed toward the ceiling, sounding deeply frustrated. He literally told me that our family business is too massive and the money is too messy. If I don't study finance, I won't even be able to count my own cash. He's just terrified his managers will scam me, so he basically exiled me to this college. Instantly, a dead silence fell over the room. The guys stared at my miserable face, their knuckles cracking in pure anger. Seriously, can you believe this guy? He's actually complaining because his family is just too filthy rich. He's studying finance just to count his own billions. The next second, the roommates totally snapped. They're ready to take this humble bragging bastard down. When the bell rang, Professor Lee barely left before something totally wild happened. A massive crowd of students suddenly swarmed in from all sides, screaming out for Brother Guofeng. I was immediately surrounded by girls from both my class and the next room, their eyes practically glowing with admiration. One sweet-looking girl leaned in close, batting her eyes, and gushed about how incredible my math solution was. She begged me to explain it again, while a gorgeous older student shoved her QR code in my face. She wanted the math god to add her on WeChat so they could discuss formulas deeply tonight, leaving me completely mobbed by beauties. Squeezed into the corner, my roommates watched this play out and completely lost their minds, crying tears of pure jealousy. Joe Wei wailed in grief, screaming to the heavens about why he had to exist alongside a monster like me. He is already a deadly fighter whose family owns a gold mine, but his grades are somehow this godly too? How are normal humans supposed to survive? Meanwhile, Lin Shaoan remained completely calm, pushing up his glasses. We came here to study, but Brother Guofeng was clearly sent here to absolutely destroy the competition. But standing there engulfed by all these girls and their strong perfumes, I couldn't help but frown. Honestly, none of them could even compare to Jiang Wanning. Not that I liked her, she was just easy on the eyes. Besides, my destiny lies on the battlefield. Dating would just be a total waste of a girl's time, and explaining math problems is the professor's job, not mine. Why is that my problem? I raise my hand, signaling for everyone to quiet down. With one single downward gesture, I instantly silenced the entire group of excited girls. Shoving my hands in my pockets, I swept a freezing look across them all. No way am I explaining this question. Didn't Professor Lee literally just say this was a basic question you should solve at a single glance? I paused, forcing a polite smile. If you can't even handle the absolute basics, I highly suggest going back to review high school algebra. Or maybe eat some walnuts to boost your actual brain power. Taking advantage of their stunned silence, I quickly slipped away. I told them to scatter since I needed to grab some food and catch up on sleep. But I barely took 2 steps before being grabbed. Wait, what do you mean grab food? We only finished the very first lecture. My footsteps completely faltered. Seriously, is university actually more torturous than high school? Lin Shaoan quickly chimed in from behind. Get ready, because this next class is the absolute biggest challenge of their entire major. That professor is a brutal stickler for real-world application, and his temper is worse than a drill sergeant. Plus, he always takes attendance. Miss one class, and he'll completely wipe out your participation score. I smacked my forehead. Damn it, I must have totally burned out my brain earlier because my memory is completely shot. Soon, we reached the finance lab. The walls were stacked with electronic screens, and every desk had dual monitors. The 4 of us claimed our usual spots. Our ultimate battle station, the premium seats in the absolute back row. The bell rang, and a middle-aged man in a sharp suit, rocking a gold Rolex, marched in with a powerful stride. Every single part of him oozed the pure arrogance of a real-life Wall Street wolf. Standing at the podium, his voice was hostile. Close your books right now. I don't teach useless theoretical theories here. The financial market is a brutal battlefield. It's a total meat grinder. Straightening his tie smugly, he bragged that his personal return last year reached 15%. The students gasped in total awe, making Professor Chien nod with satisfaction. He casually fired up the massive projector behind him, displaying the real-time, chaotic fluctuations of the stock market. Professor Chien smiles and says they are going to play an exciting game today as he pulls up a stock chart. The screen displays 10 in technology, and the red K line is absolutely exploding upward like it is on some serious steroids. It opened high and is already up nearly 7%, sitting just a hair away from hitting the daily limit. Pointing at the display, Professor Chien declares in a booming voice that this is a classic bullish alignment. Both price and volume are climbing, making it pretty obvious that massive institutional money is flooding in. He suddenly slaps the lectern, bursting with pure confidence. The stock will definitely hit the daily limit within 10 minutes, making it a perfect short-term arbitrage play. Hearing the students eagerly parrot back his textbook theories, Professor Chien smiles even wider with self-satisfaction. But while the entire room is completely swept up in this wild hype over a predicted surge, he is just sitting in the corner with his legs crossed, playing a match 3 mobile game. Suddenly, a quiet, mocking laugh cuts through the air, and Professor Chien's smug smile instantly freezes solid. Whipping his head around, his eyes lock onto him like lightning as he barks at the student in the back playing on his phone. He asks what is so funny and challenges my attitude, instantly turning the attention of the entire classroom right onto him. He swipes his screen to clear 3 matching cartoon chicks before finally looking up. Oh, here comes the best part. His god-level financial insight activates, flashing endless streams of data through his mind. Fake financial reports, massive insider dumping, and a devastating patent lawsuit loss set to go public in under 3 minutes. Just like that, this company has absolutely zero secrets left, and he leans back lazily in his seat. He calmly tells him that his analysis is just pretty hilarious, making Professor Chien laugh out loud from sheer rage. He dares me to explain what is so funny, so he simply points at the massive screen. He predicted a limit up in 10 minutes, but our main character holds up 3 fingers and declares that this stock will crash to the floor in under 3 minutes. The classroom instantly erupts into total chaos, with everyone staring at me like I have completely lost my mind. Going from plus 7% to minus 10% is insane, and Professor Chien looks like he just heard the joke of the century. He laughs mockingly, asking on what grounds I could possibly claim it will crash. Putting his phone away, he stands up with his hands in his pockets and casts a disdainful look at his perfect chart analysis, because with enough money, anyone can draw these lines. Market manipulators can paint whatever chart pattern they want. It is just bait for clueless retail investors, and my voice rings out clearly through the hall as I ask if he actually believes his own nonsense. This company's financial reports are completely fabricated, and their accounts receivable are bloated beyond belief. That big institutional entry is just the market makers passing money from their left hand to their right. It is a classic trap to keep the suckers buying. And if his math is correct, the devastating news of their core patent loss is about to break across the entire network. 10 seconds left. 10, 9, 8. Watching him count down in public makes Professor Chien turn purple with rage, but the exact moment I hit 0, and just like that, watch this. The soaring stock suddenly halts as if slammed down by a massive invisible fist. Under the shocked stare of 100 onlookers, a giant green candle forms as the stock price plummets straight down like a waterfall off a steep cliff. +7, +3, 0, -5, obliterating every single buy order in a matter of seconds. The stock is instantly pinned straight to the daily limit down floor. Right on cue, endless phone alerts start buzzing across the room as a student gasps that the news is actually real. Tenon Technology lost their major patent lawsuit, facing massive damages and delisting, instantly plunging the entire lecture hall into a dead silence. The laser pointer slips from Professor Chien's hand, clattering to the floor and snapping clean in two. His jaw drops open in sheer shock as he stares blankly at the ruined screen. He looks completely lifeless because the crash hit the floor to the exact second, and the way the class looks at me changes instantly. They are looking at a literal god of the stock market, but he simply sits back down. Unpausing his mobile game, he casually warns him not to bring out these useless chart patterns to deceive people anymore. Without even looking up, he adds that in his family, analysts who only read charts are not even qualified to serve tea. Professor Chien sways violently, barely keeping himself upright by gripping the edge of his lectern. He cannot possibly continue his lecture now, while next to me, Joe is shaking with excitement. He grabbed my arm, his tiny eyes practically popping out of his skull. Man, you're a literal god, Brother Fang. My dad spends a massive fortune on those elite Wall Street experts, but compared to you, they're just total hacks. Master, please accept my bow. From now on, our entire family fortune is in your hands. He got wilder by the second. Just name your price. I'll hand over half my shares if you help us out. We can split the profits 50-50. But facing this mind-blowing wealth, I just pulled my arm away with a look of absolute disgust. I calmly packed my books and answered in a completely flat, almost mocking tone. Forget it, this isn't about the money. Throwing my backpack over one shoulder, I looked at him quite seriously. The truth is, I'm just way too lazy. I hate being tied down, and I honestly don't need your pocket change. A smirk played on my lips. Besides, fatty, even my own dad, who owns endless mines and giant public companies, can't get me to work for him. He literally had to beg me to come here and experience normal student life. Do you honestly think your dad can afford me? Joe was left completely speechless. If anyone else said this, he would have called them a crazy liar. But these words came from a powerhouse who predicted the entire market in a single glance. He suddenly remembered that armored military vehicle picking me up 2 weeks ago, and those elite soldiers saluting me with deep respect. Joe sucked in a sharp breath, his whole scalp tingling with absolute dread. His newly rich father was absolutely nothing compared to a literal god with my insane power and backing. Master, the greedy look in Joe's eyes instantly vanished, replaced by absolute awe. I understand now, my vision was way too small. A godlike figure like you. I just looked at him, shaking my head with a quiet smile, not saying another word. Meanwhile, Professor Chan was so incredibly humiliated he wanted to dig a hole and crawl right into it. Staring at the crashed stock on the big screen, his face turned bloated and bright red. This simple lecture had turned into a brutal public execution. He coughed twice, desperately trying to save a tiny bit of his dignity with a forced explanation. Well, the market is always unpredictable. This was just a crazy black swan event, completely beyond any human control. Grabbing his briefcase, the disgraced professor couldn't stand being there another second and scurried right out of the room. Talk about a pathetic exit. By noon, the school cafeteria was completely jam-packed with hungry students. Leading my 3 roommates through the chaotic crowd, Lin Xiao kept rambling. Brother Fang, I actually ran the numbers using probability theory. There's absolutely no way that was just luck. Xiao Rui sighed, saying it's one thing to be a genius, but my physical strength is unreal. When God opened a window for you, did he just rip the entire roof off too? I completely tuned them out because my focus was elsewhere. The braised pork stall looked like it was about to run out. Squeezing through to the very front, I yelled out to the cafeteria, "Lady ma'am, give me extra braised pork, the kind with that perfect fat-to-meat ratio." We found a quiet corner and barely took a single bite when the noisy cafeteria suddenly went completely silent. Then, an incredibly tall, gorgeous figure appeared. She carried a lunch tray, walking straight toward us with legs that literally seemed to go on forever. Behold, the legendary school beauty, Zhang Wanling. Joe's chopsticks slipped right out of his hand. He was ready to act smooth, but Zhang Wanling didn't give him a single glance. Completely ignoring the utterly heartbroken stares from every guy in the room, She sat right across from me with elegant poise. Resting her chin in her hand, she locked her gorgeous eyes on me with a highly mischievous smile playing on her lips. Well, if it isn't our incredibly famous classmate, Gu Fang. I glanced up, asking if something was wrong as she leaned in. Lowering her voice, she teased me, saying she heard all about how busy I've been running around this morning. First period, that terrifying dragon lady was ready to break every single rule just to take you on as her graduate student. Second period, you humiliated Professor Chan so badly he literally packed up and fled before the lecture was even over. Her eyes danced with absolute amusement, and she lowered her voice to a quiet whisper that only I could hear. You've only been back for half a day, and you've already caused a massive storm. Guess you hate keeping a low profile. Instructor Gu. Those final words carried a pretty intimate and mischievous vibe. Joe and my roommates couldn't hear her, but seeing how close we were made them feel like glowing giant light bulbs. Talk about blinding. I simply swallowed another huge chunk of braised pork and let out a heavy, helpless sigh. Look, they are the ones who kept shoving their arrogant faces in front of me to get slapped. What was I supposed to do? I can't play dumb just to save their fragile egos. That is way too exhausting. Jiang Wanling giggled, completely amused by my cool, indifferent attitude. Her laugh was like 100 flowers blooming at once. Fine, fine, whatever you say, genius. She shook her head, smiling. Then she did something that completely shattered the hearts of every single guy in the cafeteria. She picked the golden crispy chicken leg off her own tray and dropped it right into my bowl. Here, eat up, Jiang Wanling said with a wink. You need some brain food, she told me. Solving tough problems and trading stocks must have burned through a lot of your brain cells. She paused, adding meaningfully. But it is pretty good that you are finally stepping into the spotlight. From now on, nobody in this school will ever dare mess with you again. I looked down at the chicken, then up at her blooming smile. I raised an eyebrow, massive bite. Well, at least you actually have a conscience, I teased. Joey and my other roommates clutched their bowls in utter shock. Their own food suddenly tasted like cardboard, making them mutter in bitter resentment. I cannot eat this anymore. They groaned. I watched my roommates turn their raging jealousy into a wild appetite. As they started shoving ribs into their faces, we just wanted a single moment of quiet peace. Now get ready for this. The school beauty, Jiang Wanling, suddenly stood up, locking her clear autumn eyes right on me. Classmate Guofeng, would you like to take a walk with me by the gym? She asked. I paused, hearing the collective sound of nearby hearts shattering. The school goddess was inviting me for a stroll, and to the secluded gym area of all places. I frowned slightly. I was just about to decline when Dewey suddenly shot up like a rocket. Oh, what a coincidence. He yelled out with a face full of completely fake surprise. We are stuffed too, and it is right on the way. Let us walk together to digest. While talking, he furiously winked at the other two. Lin Xiaoan and Xiao Rui could only play along with awkward smiles. Yeah, walking together is great, they agreed. Jiang Wanling stared helplessly at these three massive third wheels, but she did not chase them off. She just gave me a half smile. Let us go, Instructor Guofeng, she teased. I sighed and followed her with absolute resignation. The afternoon sun was blazing hot outside. We walked straight into the air-conditioned indoor gym, and the moment we stepped inside, a refreshing wave of cool air hit us, mixed with rhythmic training shouts and the screech of rubber sneakers sliding on the polished floor. 1, 2, 1, 2. Over on the massive indoor track, a group of students in tight athletic gear was busy warming up. Leading them was a tall guy clad in a flashy neon green track suit, barking out orders with an insufferably arrogant attitude. I took a closer look. Wait, was that not my old rival, Jiang Hao? He turned his head, and his eyes collided directly with mine and Jiang Wanling. His proud face instantly turned as black as a burnt pot, especially when he saw me standing right next to Jiang Wanling. Honestly, you could literally feel the heat of his jealousy as all those old grudges boiled up at once. Last time, because of my injury, he did not just lose $3,000. He also got a disciplinary strike and a trip to the police station. Humiliation? There was no way. Stop, Jiang Hao barked, waving his hand aggressively. Leading a few beefy athletes, he surrounded us menacingly and blocked our path completely. Well, look who we have here, he sneered. Scanning me up and down, a sarcastic sneer twisted his lips. Well, if it is not our weak, sickly classmate Guofeng, who breaks like glass. What is wrong? All healed up yet? Why are you in a place like this, instead of playing the damsel in distress in your dorm? He finished with a heavy, threatening step forward. He glared aggressively. Hear this. This is a real man's battlefield. A fragile doll like you should go home and drink milk, and do not cry to the police if you get hit by a ball. The athletes behind him burst into loud laughter. Instantly, Jiang Wanling's face went freezing cold as she stepped forward, shielding my body with hers. Jiang Hao, you better watch your mouth, she warned quite coldly. Who was the one who actually started the trouble last time? Seeing his goddess protecting me like that, the raging fire of jealousy in Jiang Hao's heart burned even hotter than before. But he did not dare go head-to-head with Jiang Wanling. Instead, he directed all of his venom right at me. He taunted me with pure, unadulterated disdain. Hiding behind a woman? What kind of actual man are you? Guofeng, if you are still a man, step out and face me yourself. Jiang Hao pointed at the running track behind him, his eyes daring me. We happen to be testing the 5,000 meters today. Do you actually have the guts to race me? Afraid I would refuse, he quickly added. Do not say I am bullying a weakling. I will give you a 2-lap head start, which is a full 800 meters. If you lose, a full 800 meters, Jiang Hao gritted his teeth. He snarled, if you lose, stay away from Jiang Wanling from now on. A weakling like you does not deserve her. The air instantly froze. Everyone around us turned to look at Jiang Hao with pity, as if they were staring at a complete idiot. Trying to compete with me in stamina? This guy must have a serious death wish. I slowly stepped out from behind Jiang Wanling. I did not even spare him a glance, only looking down calmly at my canvas shoes. Shaking my half-finished bottle of cola, I let out a lazy sigh. I literally just finished eating. Running like crazy right after a meal is a one-way ticket to appendicitis. Scared? Jiang Hao immediately sneered, saying if you are scared, just say it. Just admit you are a coward and get out. I scratched my head. This fly was getting seriously annoying. Fine. I tilted my head back for a swig of cola, burped, and decided to treat this as a simple post-meal stroll. Forget about that 2-lap head start. I looked right at Jiang Hao and gave him a pretty friendly smile. I am just afraid you will lose so miserably you will go home, crying to your mother. That arrogant talk made Jiang Hao tremble with rage. Since you are begging to get hurt, do not blame me. 2 minutes later, the starting line was tense to the breaking point. Jiang Hao took his spot in the inner lane, showing off some professional-looking stretches. His lackeys started cheering like crazy. He glanced over at me, standing there in casual jeans and canvas shoes, still holding my warm soda. He let out a disdainful snort. Hey, sickly brat, this is a 5-kilometer race with that ridiculous gear of yours. Your inner thighs will be bleeding before we are done. Kneel down and apologize now, and I will let you leave with some dignity. Faced with his loud trash talk, I just yawned, unscrewed the cap, and took another slow sip of my cola. Enough of the nonsense. If we are racing, let us do it. I've got to get back to my nap after this. You are dead, Jiang Hao thought, a ruthless look flashing in his eyes. He was determined to lap me. He wanted to crush me under his feet right in front of the school beauty. Suddenly, with a sharp whistle blast, the race began. But the starting signal went off and everyone froze. Instead of pacing myself, I took off like a world-class sprinter. I practically catapulted forward. After just one turn, I had already left Jiang Hao 20 meters behind. Up in the stands, a student who actually knew running cried out in shock, "Holy crap, is this guy crazy? He is sprinting like his life depends on it. Does he think this 5-kilometer race is just a 400-meter dash? That insane speed takes 3 times the normal toll. Let me tell you, there is no way he lasts past 2 laps. Watching my reckless pace, Jiang Hao just smirked. To him, I was nothing but an amateur idiot. He figured I was just showing off for Jiang Wanling, and my cool act would not last 3 seconds. Keeping calm, he maintained his textbook perfect form. With steady steps and perfect rhythm, he confidently shouted to his teammates to keep their own pace steady. The harder that kid pushes right now, the faster he will cramp up later. He was convinced that within 3 laps, he would easily pass my collapsing body. Yet, 1 lap passed, and my speed did not drop. 2 laps went by, and I was still moving at an absolutely insane speed. I had already opened a half-lap gap. By the 4th lap, the whole atmosphere in the stadium began to shift. The haters in the stands waiting to laugh at me felt their smiles slowly fade away. This is completely ridiculous. Why is he not slowing down? He has run almost 2 kilometers, yet he is still sprinting. Is this guy a robot or what? Out on the track, cold sweat began to bead on Jiang Hao's forehead. It was not from exhaustion, but from pure, undeniable fear. He was running at his absolute best pace. Yet that figure ahead of him in casual jeans was not slowing down, he was actually pulling further and further away. This is absolutely impossible, Jiang Hao muttered, gritting his teeth and forcing himself to speed up. But he soon realized it was completely futile. Lap 5, lap 6. By the 7th lap, a gasping Jiang Hao suddenly felt a strong gust of wind rush past him from behind, and it was accompanied by the highly distinct, mocking sound of soda bubbles popping. A second later, that casual figure holding a half-finished bottle of cola suddenly pulled up right beside him, neck and neck. That is right, We were watching him get lapped. Jiang Hao's mental state completely collapsed. His perfect rhythm broke and he nearly tripped over his own feet, gasping for air in utter disbelief. By contrast, I was not even winded, and my heart was barely even beating. I had not even broken a single sweat while effortlessly maintaining a speed that drove him to absolute despair. I casually looked over. Then, tilting my head back, I took another sip of cola and let out a satisfied burp. I spoke in a highly punchable tone. "Hey man, is this really all your professional level amounts to?" Jiang Hao was so livid he could not even squeeze out a word. He could only struggle desperately to steady his ragged breathing. I just shook my head in mock disappointment. "Your breathing is as messy as a broken bellows, and your stride is shorter than a little girl's when you run this slowly. How do you have the nerve to call yourself the school star with such pathetic skills? You actually had the balls to try and provoke me." Every single word was like a sharp blade stabbing deep into his heart. He screamed at me to shut the hell up. Jiang Hao's mind completely snapped, his eyes turning bloodshot as he let out a furious roar. He put every ounce of strength he had left into shaking me off, but looking at his humiliated, raging face, I just let out a soft chuckle. Wow, he's already tilted. So boring. Honestly, I'm done playing. You're too slow, man. You're just blocking my path. And just like that, my gaze turns ice cold. You guys won't believe how fast I suddenly burst forward, leaving everyone completely horrified. My insane speed surges again, faster. My legs and these basic jeans become a total blur on the track. Instantly, the gap widens. 5 meters, 10, then 20. But a second later, I slow right back down. I intentionally ease up on the gas, staying right there, dangling exactly 2 meters ahead of his face. When he grits his teeth and speeds up, I match him. When he slows from exhaustion, I slow down, too. Talk about a visible but totally unreachable wall. This mind game makes Jiang Hao feel like he's about to cough up blood. I even have the time to turn around, run backward, and wave my empty cola bottle. "Hey, Mr. Professional, better keep up. Didn't you boast about giving me a 2-lap head start? Why can't you even see my taillights now?" Jiang Hao glares, his eyes nearly bursting with blood. This is absolute, soul-crushing humiliation. As the varsity track star, he's being played like a dog by some guy wearing simple canvas shoes and chugging soda. I finish the last drop and toss the bottle behind me. It flies straight into the trash can next to the track. Clean shot. I let out a sharp whistle. Then I turn back, looking down on him like absolute garbage. With that pathetic crawl, you seriously think you can chase Jiang Wanning? Seriously, you should just quit running and focus on growing some thicker skin instead. You clearly have a massive talent for it. And those words are the ultimate final straw for his ego. Before everyone's horrified eyes, Jiang Hao gets so incredibly triggered by my trash talk that he literally vomits blood. Right after that, his vision goes dark. His legs turn to absolute jelly, and his body goes totally limp. He faceplants onto the dirt. I mean, can you blame him? The entire stadium goes dead silent before everyone starts screaming. Holy crap, Jiang Hao is spitting blood. Get the school nurse. The athletes immediately panic and rush over. The whole place devolves into utter chaos. Meanwhile, I just come to a casual stop. I stuff my hands into my pockets, looking totally innocent. Damn, he's spitting blood already? I only told him a few basic facts. Was spitting blood really necessary? The guy's mental game is pathetic. As they carry Jiang Hao off on a stretcher, the entire crowd is left completely stunned. Feng, not only do you have jet engines in your legs, but your mouth is filled with pure poison. Jiang Wanning hands me a tissue. Giving a helpless smile, she tells me I'm really something. She knows he's annoying, but asks if I was too harsh. I take the tissue, wipe my face, and give a casual shrug. It's his own fault for being so incredibly fragile. Can't blame me for that. Let's head out. Finally, some peace and quiet so I can go back to sleep. The second we step outside, Joe slaps his thigh in pure excitement. Oh, right, Feng. Next week is the big autumn sports meet. With your crazy skills, you've got to sign up for either the 5,000 or 10,000 meters. Those gold medals are basically yours. Our finance department can finally get some glory. Xiao Rui chimes in, completely hyped up. Totally. Feng, if you run, literally every single girl in this school will be there screaming for you. Even with all their excitement, I couldn't care less. I lock my hands behind my head and let out a lazy yawn. Hard pass. It's just boring racing a bunch of kids. Even if I win, there's zero accomplishment. Just a lot of useless sweating. Joe's face immediately drops with disappointment, but then Jiang Wanning, walking quietly right beside me, looks over with a curious stare. Her gorgeous eyes hold a subtle spark of curiosity as she casually asks if I'm seriously skipping out. You can earn some sweet extra credit if you win, she adds. Hearing that, I freeze completely. I turn my head, staring at her with highly knowing eyes as a sly smirk begins playing across my lips. Why are you of all people asking me this? Jiang Wanning is taken aback, but her brief confusion quickly fades. Realization hits her all at once. She just shakes her head and lets out a soft laugh. In her smile, there's a secret, private understanding that only the two of us possess. Good point, she says. Jiang Wanning tucks her hands behind her back, walking forward with a light bounce. You're a busy guy, after all. It'd be bad if you had to fly off mid-race for an emergency. That would be pretty problematic. Then she glances back at me with a highly mischievous grin. Since you're not running, you can at least watch, right? Maybe bring me a bottle of cold water. Is that too much to ask? I raise an eyebrow in disbelief. You are actually running? Jiang Wanning nods, confirming the women's 800-meter. Walking ahead, the vibe between us feels incredibly sweet and natural, leaving the three guys trailing behind with looks of absolute, mind-blowing confusion. Zhou Wei cannot help but nudge Lin Shaoxin hard with his elbow. Hey, Four Eyes, give us a quick analysis here. What did the school beauty mean by flying away in the middle of a race? Is Feng actually Superman? Lin Shaotian pushes up his glasses, shaking his head with an expression of deep, dramatic seriousness. Analyzing this logically, it is clearly some sort of encrypted talk between a couple. Xiao Rui flexes his biceps on the side, reaching his own conclusion. Basically, these lovebirds are just flirting. They are just annoyed we are acting like three giant third wheels, Zhou Wei grumbles in mock frustration. But right then, Xiao Rui suddenly snaps to attention, catching the single most important detail. But wait, check out his reaction as he rushes forward, completely forgetting about the flying stuff. He stares at Jiang Wanning in absolute shock, his booming voice shattering our peaceful walk as he asks her if she is really participating in the sports meet. Jiang Wanning stops, spins around, and starts walking backward with her hands casually folded behind her back. Her high ponytail bounces playfully behind her, and under the warm sunlight, she looks incredibly youthful and vibrant. Yep, Jiang Wanning nods with a beaming smile, confirming she is indeed running the women's 800-meter. I stand right beside her, scanning her delicate frame up and down with a highly skeptical look. Sure, her slim t-shirt and denim skirt make her legs look insanely long and stunning, but she still looks way too fragile. Teasing her, my voice is filled with pure doubt as I ask if she can even handle 800 meters. I warn her not to end up crying on the track, but she just laughs off my typical dense comment. She huffs, telling Feng not to dare look down on her because she has been training hard since she was a little kid. Suddenly, her mischievous eyes dart around, completely bypassing me to lock onto my three roommates standing behind us. A playful, wicked smirk appears on her lips as she prepares to drop a major bomb. Jiang Wanning points at Zhou Wei and the guys, admitting they do look pretty sturdy. But in a real fight, she claims she could easily take out all three of them without even breaking a sweat. The air instantly freezes, and the guys completely blow their tops as Zhou Wei points in disbelief at his own nose. His eyes are wide with shock at her claim, calling it an absolute, devastating blow to their male pride. Beside him, Xiao Rui literally rolls up his sleeves and flexes his solid biceps. He complains that she is going way too far, bragging about his 100-kilogram bench press since his muscles are not for show. Even Lin Shaoxin pushes up his glasses, trying to argue the situation from a strictly scientific perspective. He claims that biologically, male bone density and muscle mass make her chances of a 1 versus 3 victory practically zero. Watching these three idiots argue their hearts out, I can barely keep from laughing out loud. Do they honestly think Jiang Wanning is some delicate flower? Shaking my head, I casually decide to add fuel to the fire. I give them a deadpan look and deliver the truth in a completely calm, matter-of-fact voice. It is harsh, but she is telling the truth, and now, watch their faces as they go completely dumbfounded. I point at Jiang Wanning, then at my three roommates, delivering an absolutely brutal, merciless blow. I tell them that with their pathetic skills, they are basically just three heavy sandbags meant to take a punch. Even if there were three more of them, she would still destroy them, though I note her combat skills look like child's play to me. But against guys like them who only rely on raw, brute force, it is a total, satisfying curb stomp. Hearing this brutal reality check from me, their undisputed peak, Zhou Wei and the others completely lose their minds. Zhou Wei clutches his chest in deep grief, dramatically asking Feng how he could possibly take her side over theirs. He complains that Feng is endlessly trashing his own brothers just to look good in front of a gorgeous girl. Xiao Rui yells with a bright red neck, accusing Feng of committing the ultimate sin of choosing girls over bros. They demand to see it to believe it, while Jiang Wanning quietly watches them bicker back and forth. She does not disagree with me, knowing her martial arts skills really do look like simple morning stretches to a monster like me. But against ordinary people, she represents absolute, undisputed, queen-level domination. Jiang Wanning looks at the three of them and their stubborn faces, asking if they really do not believe her. With an even wider smile, she walked over to the grass and beckoned them over with her finger. Since you are not convinced, let us settle this with our fists. Sound good? Suddenly, Zhou Wei and his crew froze. They looked at each other in awkward hesitation. This is not a great idea, is it? Lin Xiaodian waved his hands frantically. His face was flushed red. Three grown men fighting one girl would ruin their reputation if word ever got out. Xiao Rui quickly agreed, trying to play the gentleman. Yeah, exactly. Your skin is so delicate if we accidentally scratch you. Fengji would probably tear us apart. Jiang Wanning's eyes twinkled. She crossed her arms and tilted her chin up. Do not worry, we will play by different rules. She wagged one slender finger. You do not actually have to hit me or even knock me down. The rule is incredibly simple. Jiang Wanning pointed to the hem of her t-shirt and smiled. The three of you can attack me all together. As long as your hands or clothes touch even a corner of my shirt, I lose. How about it? She tilted her head, provoking them. If you cannot even manage that, then you will have no excuse to deny that you are absolute weaklings. Hearing these bizarre rules, the three of them exchanged a quick glance. Their eyes instantly lit right up. Just touch the hem of her shirt to win? Zhou Wei was suddenly re-energized, his tiny eyes gleaming with a competitive fire. Is this not basically a free win? Three grown men surrounding one girl. We could touch her just by flailing around blindly. You said it yourself, he cheered, rubbing his hands together with excitement. If we win, no crying and definitely no running to Fengji. It is a deal. Jiang Wanning nodded confidently. Her smile was as dazzling as ever, but then her tone shifted. Pointing toward the stadium bleachers, her voice turned playful. Since this is a challenge, there has to be a wager. If I lose, the massive feast is on me. But if you lose, her gaze lingered for 2 seconds on Zhou Wei's round frame and Xiao Rui's heavy muscles. Her smirk deepened. During my 800-meter race at the sports meet next week, you three must wear custom cheerleader skirts and dance with pom-poms to cheer for me. Do you dare to accept? Jiang Wanning's direct challenge was an absolute power move. My three idiot roommates were instantly stunned. Wear girls' clothes and do a whole cheerleading routine? And right in front of the entire school at the upcoming sports meet? Looking at them, I instantly pictured three 200-pound hulks in pink lace skirts shaking their hips. God, that is a mental image I never wanted. I did not expect sneaky Zhou Wei to actually view this as a free win. He lowered his voice to conspire with the other two. What are you afraid of? We are three grown men. If we cannot even touch her shirt, we might as well go jump off a bridge. We might as well just bash our heads against a brick wall and end it. This guy actually had the nerve to argue that the school beauty was just finding a roundabout way to buy them a big dinner. Good grief. The other two idiots were brainwashed in a split second, slapping their thighs and accepting the challenge right then and there. You and I both know they have no idea what they are walking into, and I just could not watch this train wreck. I decided to give them one last chance to save themselves. Shoving my hands in my pockets, I glanced at Jiang Wanning's highly amused face. I tried to warn them. Do not let her fool you. If you back down now, you only lose a tiny bit of face. But if you actually fight, you three combined do not stand a chance. Zhou Wei shook his head like a total maniac. He was full of defiance. Fengji, you are totally biased. In front of raw weight, all technique is just flashy nonsense. Fine. Then. There is no saving people who are determined to jump off a cliff. I shut up. I pulled out my phone and immediately opened up a shopping app. While they were forming a ridiculous triangle to show off to the school beauty, my fingers were already flying across the search bar. Keywords locked extra-large custom cheerleader uniforms, pink pleated skirts, and highly elastic lace. Then I messaged the seller directly, telling them I need these rushed express because they have to arrive tomorrow. Oh, and do you have any styles that really show off the figure? Something that can squeeze a 200-pound man into an hourglass shape. Get ready, because right now, this insane showdown on the grass is about to explode. With a loud roar, Zhou Wei spread his arms and charged down the middle, while Xiao Rui and Lin Xiaodian flanked her from the sides. Against any normal guy, this would be total checkmate. But Jiang Wanning just stood there leisurely with her hands behind her back. A tiny smile played on her lips. She looked like she was watching three toddlers learning how to walk. Just as Xiao Rui reached for her shoulder, Jiang Wanning moved. With a light tap of her toes, she drifts half a step to the left like a phantom. That single half step is absolute perfection, landing precisely in the blind spot of Xiao Rui's momentum. He swings at thin air. His massive momentum sends him stumbling straight into Zhou Wei like a cannonball. A second later, Zhou Wei's scream echoes across the lawn. What the hell, Xiao Rui? Are you blind? You ran right into me. He wails back in frustration. I didn't mean to hit you. The two of them are a tangled mess, totally unable to tell up from down. Lin Xiaoan, thinking he's clever, tries to sneak up from behind to snatch an easy win, whispering that he's got her. Lin Xiaoyan stares at her exposed back, excitedly reaching out his hands to grab her. But get this, just as his fingertips are a fraction of an inch away, it's like Jiang Wanning has eyes in the back of her head. She lowers her center of gravity, dodging with a silky smooth turn while giving his back a gentle, effortless shove. Off you go. Lin Xiaoyan trips. He stumbles forward, lunging right into Xiao Rui, who is just trying to stand. Oh, my back. The three grown men roll together like giant gourds. Meanwhile, Jiang Wanning drifts back gracefully. She claps her hands, looking at us with a playful, beaming smile, mocking if this is the 1 versus 3 they bragged about. It looks more like a human pyramid. Zhou Wei scrambles up, completely covered in dirt, spitting out the grass stuck in his mouth. His face turns bright red as he roars that he just let his guard down and didn't dodge. 10 minutes later, the match they thought was a guaranteed win turns into a completely one-sided public execution. No matter what they try, brute force charges, tactical flanking, or even playing dead to trip her up, they can't touch a single hair on Jiang Wanning's head. Even more ridiculous, Jiang Wanning keeps her hands behind her back the whole time, relying solely on footwork to run those three 200-pound hulks in circles. Whoa, isn't that the school beauty? Jiang Wanning? And those total idiots? Aren't those the clowns from Gufang's dorm? What the hell are they doing playing tag? Someone in the crowd snarks tag. Are you kidding? Look at that big guy panting like a dog with his tongue out. This isn't tag. The school beauty is clearly walking her dogs. That's the perfect analogy. Now look at this. The crowd keeps growing, and people are even pulling out their phones to record. Camera flashes go off like a storm, with my three roommates already drenched in sweat and heaving like oxen. But compared to the physical exhaustion, the sheer humiliation of being watched makes them want to drop dead on the spot. Every time they pathetically lunge at nothing, every single time they fall flat on their faces, the crowd erupts in heartless laughter. Finally, Zhou Wei's mental defenses completely crumble. He flops onto the ground and wails, "I'm done. I give up. This has to be some kind of supernatural footwork. I can't even touch her clothes." Lin Xiaoyan and Xiao Rui collapse right beside him, their eyes completely hollow, looking like they've lost all will to live. Seeing the circle of phones held high around them, they hit absolute rock bottom. Zhou Wei wishes he could just disappear. He looks up, practically begging for mercy, glancing at me and then at Jiang Wanning. Wanning. Can we talk about this? Zhou Wei rubs his hands together, awkwardly curling his toes inside his shoes in pure embarrassment. We surrender. We are totally beaten. What about that cheerleader dance? Can we just forget about it? If we actually go out there and dance in those outfits, how are we ever going to show our faces at school again? Jiang Wanning looks at them with a smile, saying nothing. Instead, she turns her gaze toward me. I'm currently looking down at my phone, where the screen clearly displays a payment successful page. Hearing Zhou Wei's plea, I finally put my phone away, stroll over, and give his sweaty shoulder a meaningful pat. I tell him a man has to accept his losses, fatty. A bet is a bet. Besides, do you really think Jiang Wanning cares about your lunch money? I sigh, pretending my hands are totally tied. And honestly, it's too late to regret it now. I shake my phone at them, showing the shopping list on screen. I've already ordered your outfits with expedited shipping. Get ready for tomorrow. Pink pleated skirts with lace trim, custom made in extra large. This is my hard-earned money. Don't let it waste. What? Pink with lace? At those keywords, Zhou Wei, Lin Xiaoyan, and Xiao Rui instantly let out sky-shattering screams of despair. Sure enough, that very night, the Shanghai University campus forum completely explodes. A video titled "Shocking School Beauty, Jiang Wanning and Fierce Sky," showing how Gufang toyed with the 4043 idiots, shot straight to the top of the trending charts. On screen, the pathetic struggling of the three roommates contrasted sharply with Jiang Wanning's incredibly graceful and fluid movements. Its entertainment value? Seriously off the charts. The comedy was explosive, especially when they collapsed and begged for mercy. Honestly, you would have laughed too seeing the viral memes. Because of this, the atmosphere in dorm 404 dropped to absolute zero, leaving the three roommates staring blankly at the endless laughing comments. Their expressions looked worse than if they had swallowed flies' pure humiliation. Xiao Rui slammed his fist against the bed frame, yelling that this is an absolute disgrace, and if he doesn't get revenge, he is not a man. But Lin Xiaoyan just pushed up his glasses in despair, his pale face asking how they could do that when sports meet registration closes today. They were already the biggest laughingstocks in the school, and those humiliating punishment skirts were arriving tomorrow. Just picturing that made them want to jump off the roof as they sighed in absolute misery, even starting to look up school withdrawal forms. Stepping out of the bathroom after my shower, Drying my hair, I looked at their completely grief-stricken faces. I calmly asked if they really could not handle this tiny setback. Walking over to the desk, I unscrewed a bottle of water and took a sip before asking if they wanted to win back their dignity, making them look up with burning longing. They desperately said yes, asking if I had a plan. Fang. Pointing to the calendar on the desk, I told them to sign up, since next week's sports meet is their golden chance to wipe away the shame. If they could just place or even bring home a gold medal, everyone would think they were hidden experts merely playing the fool. That viral video would just look like a playful spar between top masters, because the winner takes all and losers are quickly forgotten. I shouldn't have to explain that, I added. A spark flickered in their eyes for a second, but then it quickly died out again. Zhou Wei let out a bitter laugh, patting his soft belly and pleading with me to stop messing around given their weak physiques. Other students have trained for months, and entering now would just be begging for another absolute beating. Putting down my towel, my expression suddenly turned intensely serious as I walked right up to them with a razor-sharp gaze. Standing like a commander inspecting hidden elite dragons, I demanded to know who said they couldn't do it since I had already analyzed their raw potential. Pointing precisely, I told Fatty he has a pretty solid lower body and incredibly strong core strength. His power delivery technique is absolute garbage, so he should stick to medicine ball or shot put. I guarantee he would reach the top 3 within a week, then pointed right at Lin Xiaotan, addressing him as Four Eyes. He knows how to calculate angles perfectly, so he should do long jump and let me turn theory into reality. Finally, looking at Xiao Rui, I told old Zhao his raw muscle strength is undeniable, but his movements are too stiff. I said he was like a stiff robot, promising to adjust his power habits and activate his deep muscle groups. I assured him he has a real shot at gold in sprints, but after hearing my devilish training plan, they just stared at each other. The tiny spark of excitement in their eyes was instantly doused with cold water, replaced by deep, heavy suspicion. Zhou Wei swallowed hard, staring in disbelief and saying that of course they want to compete, since nobody wants to be a laughingstock forever, especially when picturing himself wearing that highly humiliating skirt. He shuddered at the thought, his face twisted. But ask yourself this, can this training actually work with only one single week left? Even if I were some god descended to Earth, how could I turn them into elite champions literally overnight? Even the usually calm Lin Xiaotan pushed up his glasses for a rational analysis, arguing that muscle memory takes at least 21 days to properly form. 7 days makes a comeback theoretically impossible, but I just stared back, my resolve totally unshaken. My voice was not loud, but every word carried serious weight. Theory is dead, but people are alive. They just need to tell me if they want it or not, and as for whether it is possible, a confident smirk curled on my lips. If I say 1 week is enough, then it is enough. It sounded like fantasy, but my calm demeanor made it look like I could easily hold up the sky. Their logic completely crumbled as Zhou Wei slapped his thigh hard, making all his fat jiggle in excitement. Xiao Rui gritted his teeth, yelling that if their boss says so, they should stop waiting and go completely all out. They agreed that dying on the track was way better than facing social execution in a humiliating lace skirt, silencing any further doubt. I glanced at the wall clock showing almost 10 p.m., realizing today is the final day to register, and the deadline is exactly midnight. I told them to contact the counselor right now, and not daring to delay, they scrambled for their phones with trembling hands. Zhou Wei dialed their counselor, Yi Xiaoyun, and after a few rings, she finally picked up. Yi Xiaoyun's voice came through pretty lazy but incredibly sweet, asking why they were calling so late. Zhou Wei sat straight up, apologizing with total respect as he asked to register for the sports meet. Is the system still open? A 2-second silence followed before her mischievous laughter suddenly rang out. She teased them about the sports meet, mentioning she was just on the campus forum and saw a crazy viral video. Giggling softly, her voice filled with laughter, she asked if those 3 on screen were actually them, joking that they switched to arts just to be Jiang Wanning's personal cheerleaders. Since that ridiculous pink skirt bet is basically common knowledge across the campus by now. Instantly, the entire dorm room fell into a dead silence, freezing Zhao Wei, Lin Xian, and Xiao Rui. Their faces flushed red as beets, wishing they could crawl into a hole. Even their counselor knew everything. She even knew about the pink skirts. Zhao Wei practically wailed, begging Yi Xiaoyun to stop teasing them. They were signing up to wash away the shame and prove they were real men. She laughed, praising their fiery spirit. Yi Xiaoyun finally stopped teasing them, smiling as she confirmed that the system was indeed still open. She asked for their events, and Zhao Wei immediately yelled out that he was doing the men's medicine ball. Lin Xian took the long jump, while Xiao Rui claimed the men's 100 and 200-meter sprints. Her keyboard clattered loudly on the other end as she registered them quickly, then asked if Gu Feng was truly not signing up for anything. She sounded a bit regretful. I leaned toward the speaker and calmly said that I would not be competing. Instead, I would be their full-time coach to guarantee they placed. Yi Xiaoyun chuckled, warning me not to regret it. Just picture the absolute chaos if these guys actually end up dancing around in those bright pink skirts. Right as the call ended, before my roommates could even relax, I stood up and threw on my sharp athletic gear. The stopwatch in my hand glinted. I asked what they were staring at. If they did not want to wear those pink skirts, they needed to move. It was 11 p.m., time to train. Zhao Wei stared at the pitch-black night outside, turning pale with pure fear, but I did not argue. I just kicked the door open with a cold, intimidating glare. We are out of time. If training does not kill you, then keep training until you are dead. I ordered everyone to the track. Under the silent night sky, I stared at the three shaking, pathetic pieces of junk in front of me. Deep within my eyes, complex data streams began to flicker wildly. Using my God-tier system cheat, I instantly spotted every single flaw and built a brutal regimen, barking at Xiao Rui to keep his center of gravity low. He needed to drive from his hips instead of strolling, while telling Zhao Wei to hold his breath and engage his core. He had to throw that medicine ball like his absolute worst enemy. As they wailed, the secure, encrypted phone in my pocket started vibrating. This was the direct line reserved only for the Supreme Commander. Stepping into the shadows, I answered in an instant, steady voice. Chief Jiang Guang's powerful, authoritative tone immediately came through the line. He called me Little Gu, asking if I was too worried about the mission to enter the sports meet. I paused, wearing a bitter smile as I noted that my cover identity was highly sensitive. A sudden emergency would ruin everything, but Chief Jiang Guang loudly cut me off right over the receiver. Reminding me that I was only 18, he urged me to show some passion and sweep those first-place trophies. He told me those low-level punks were way too terrified to show their faces lately anyway. Even if the sky fell, our organization would easily shield me from any consequences. Unless the world was literally ending, they promised never to interrupt my normal college days. He told me to have some fun. Hearing the old chief's deep concern instantly shattered all of my lingering hesitation. Taking a deep breath, a wild smile spread across my face as I told him I gladly accepted his order. Watch closely right here. Hanging up, I spun back to my exhausted roommates with a truly terrifying spark in my eyes. Instantly, I dialed our counselor Yi Xiaoyun back. Her voice sounded totally confused as she asked what was going on. She wondered if they were trying to back out, but I clearly stated that I had changed my mind and wanted to join. Yi Xiaoyun was incredibly surprised, saying that was absolutely fantastic news. When she asked which events I wanted to enter, my immediate response completely stunned her right on the spot. I told her to put me down for every single individual event left besides the ones my roommates chose. Her voice went totally shrill in pure disbelief. She asked if I was crazy, but I just smiled calmly, assuring her it was fine and to register me. Then I glanced down at the three pathetic piles of sludge on the field, deciding to give them some extra tough love. Oh, and Counselor signed the four of us up for a team event too. Let us do the four-man five-legged race. Since we are brothers, we should share the burden. No one gets to run. The second I hung up, my roommates completely lost it. Tying the four of us together for a five-legged race is a total disaster waiting to happen. We have absolutely zero chemistry. This is not a free point, it is a death sentence. I just smiled calmly and patted Joey's stomach. Chemistry is built through hard training and a little tough love. Listen closely. Follow my lead, and first place is already ours. For the next 2 hours, I showed them what a real world-class coach looks like. I casually picked up a heavy medicine ball. I arched my back like a drawn bow and hurled it. The ball turned into a literal cannonball, slamming down 20 meters away. Joey's eyes nearly popped right out of his head. Holy crap, that was almost 20 meters. I just gave him a cold look. Do not just stand there staring. Do exactly what I said. Focus the energy in your core and get that fat moving. Next, I turned to Xiao Rui and kicked him in the heel. Xiao, stop right there. Your starting block angle is totally wrong. Who even taught you to set it up like that? I kept shouting. Your first half stride is way too wide, a total death sentence. It is too wide for the first 30 meters. You need to launch yourself like a bullet. To prove it, I demonstrated the move myself. That terrifying explosive power actually made the ground tremble. Then, I turned my attention to Lin Shaoan. I gave him a crushing, direct critique. 4 eyes, stop calculating your useless math. Your real issue is the rhythm. Do not go slow in the first 4 steps, and do not rush the last 6. When jumping, do not just think forward. You need to push upward, fly high. That is how you land far enough away. The insane level of professional skill I showed left them completely stunned, from power output and breathing to muscle control and psychology. I was a walking sports encyclopedia, and watching these guys struggle through my brutal regime was pure comedy. But as the training kept going, things started getting pretty weird. Joey casually tossed a heavy shot put. Looking at the landing point, which was way beyond his usual mark, his face was pure disbelief. How did it feel so smooth? Xiao Rui ran back, drenched in sweat, his face shining with pure excitement. This is a total miracle, Brother Fang. Running the way you taught me makes me feel faster and faster, and I am not even tired yet, damn it. The most shocked of all was Lin Xiaoan. His hand shook as he pushed up his glasses. This makes zero scientific sense. It has only been an hour. My muscle memory, how could it form so fast? I seriously feel like a veteran athlete who has been training for 6 months. Suddenly, they all looked at me with total awe and confusion. I just laughed to myself, the system boosts really are that overpowered. During our short break, Joey could not help but ask me, Brother Fang, you signed up for over a dozen events alone. Javelin, discus, high jump, long distance, and all of that. Do you seriously not need to practice at all? I unscrewed a bottle of water and waved my hand casually. No need for that. I do not need to practice. The three of them were completely dumbfounded. I shrugged with a relaxed smile on my face. Is it not just running, jumping, and throwing? To me, this is as easy as eating or drinking water. When the time comes, I will just go out there and win. The moment those words left my mouth, they looked at me like I was an absolute monster. Is this the raw gap between us? Talk about an absolute flex on his poor roommates. We finally made it back minutes before the dorm gates locked, dragging our completely exhausted bodies. The three of them looked like they had just been dragged out of a river, holding each other up as they wobbled along. In stark contrast, I was still overflowing with energy, walking light on my feet as if taking a pleasant stroll. But the second we stepped inside, the dorm auntie poked her head out from the duty room and adjusted her thick reading glasses. Her eyes locked onto the four of us, focusing directly on those three with their weak, trembling legs. Her face instantly lit up with a highly suspicious smile. Oh my, the boys are back. Look at how utterly exhausted you look. You can barely even walk. Where did you go to practice? Before we could explain, the auntie hit us with an absolute killer blow. Working this hard? It seems the rumor about that pink cheerleading squad is actually true. Did you go out to practice your splits and backbends, or was it the actual cheerleading routine? Her face was full of admiration. Not bad at all. Working this hard just to cheer for our school beauty? Auntie is honestly very impressed. I watched as Joey and the others nearly coughed up a mouthful of blood. Their already trembling legs gave out right then and there. They practically fell to their knees. Now there was absolutely no way to clear their names. Auntie, you have it completely wrong. This is a massive misunderstanding. The fat on Joey's face shook with sheer panic as he waved his hands, yelling that we just went to train. This was hardcore athletic training, not some basic cheerleading routine, and Xiao Rui was sweating bullets. Auntie, look at my legs, they are totally sore from running, not from doing the splits. But excuses are just cover-ups, and cover-ups always reveal the truth. The dorm auntie calmly cracked a melon seed, continuing to smile at them. Her eyes carried that warm, knowing look as she teased them. Oh, boys, do not be shy. College kids are so open-minded now. What is wrong with wearing a skirt to dance and cheer for your crush? She fully supports them. What do they call it again, right? Gapo. She waved her hand, telling them all to get upstairs. If they kept dawdling, she was locking the doors. Before they left, she added one last bit of pure, deadly concern. Remember to be careful next time you practice that dance, she warned. Do not throw your backs out. Honestly, can you even blame them? The three of them stood frozen, completely petrified, with their mouths wide open. I only trained them for a single night, but my three roommates already seemed like completely different people. Though complaining about the pain, their eyes shined bright as they rolled around on their beds, shouting in pure disbelief. Joey cheered that he actually felt stronger and his core felt incredible, while Lin Xiaoan pushed up his glasses in agreement. His muscle memory was forming at a completely unscientific speed, developing a sense of rhythm that usually takes months to build. Xiao Rui pounded his bed frame, yelling that Brother Fang's training method was straight up divine. He felt like he had springs in his legs. Listening to their dramatic flattery, I lay on my bunk with my hands behind my head. Lazily, I told them to stop making a big deal out of it, since this was only the very beginning. Having a pro coach like me, they should just be grateful, and they quickly agreed that Fang was the GOAT. Amidst their endless brown-nosing, the three of them finally drifted to sleep, dreaming of winning those gold medals. But the next morning, as soon as class started, these three guys were absolutely, completely drained. Yawning constantly, I literally had to physically prod them to keep them awake, until they finally made it to the lunch break. Just as they prepared to charge the cafeteria like hungry wolves, my phone buzzed with a WeChat message from Jiang Wanning. She asked if Instructor Gu would do her the honor of having lunch together. She was waiting on the third floor of cafeteria number 2. Raising an eyebrow, I casually texted back a sure. I ordered my 3 starving roommates to turn around and head to cafeteria number 2, though Joey immediately wanted to complain. But meeting my cold gaze, he quickly changed his tune, stammering that a longer walk was just great exercise. It was great for the body. 10 minutes later, we reached the third floor of cafeteria number 2. Jiang Wanning was wearing a lovely light yellow dress, sitting at a secured table and waving at us. The moment we sat, her big expressive eyes darted between me and the guys, and their stiff postures made her burst out laughing. Resting her cheek on her hand, she mischievously teased them, asking what had happened to our great campus scholars. She mentioned hearing they did not get back until late, noting how they were all painfully holding their waists. They were sitting down in slow motion. She blinked her beautiful eyes, asking if the rumors were true. Feigning total shock, she covered her mouth and asked if they really practiced that pink cheerleading dance in the woods. Joey immediately spat out his soup, his face turning bright red as he quickly denied it. They were only practicing track and field events. Xiao Rui also looked incredibly embarrassed, asking the school beauty how she knew they returned so late, and how on earth did she know they were so exhausted from training. I mean, are they seriously forgetting who she is? I calmly popped some braised pork in my mouth to clear things up. Pointing directly at Jiang Wanning, I reminded them that she is the absolute #1 school beauty at Shanghai University. If she wants to know something, there are endless guys tripping over themselves to report back to her. Their pathetic state from last night had probably already gone viral in those protective simp group chats, especially after I teased them. Jiang Wanning's pretty face flushed a little, giving me a playfully annoyed glare. She did not deny it, simply huffing and acting like a total tsundere. She turned to the others with curious eyes, seriously asking what on earth had gotten into the 3 of them. Were they really planning to work themselves to death? Hearing this, I put down my chopsticks with a serious look. Pointing at the 3 goofballs next to me, I proposed a deal to Jiang Wanning. Since they signed up for the upcoming sports meet and are aiming for the podium, if all 3 of them place in the top 3, can we scrap that bet about the pink cheerleader outfits? I smirked and asked if we could call it off. They are grown men, so she should give them a break. Hearing me actually plead on their behalf, all 3 of them instantly shot me looks of overwhelming, tearful gratitude. But after hearing what I said, Jiang Wanning was clearly taken aback for a brief moment. Then she put down her chopsticks and started laughing uncontrollably, asking if we actually took that seriously. She was just annoyed by their bragging earlier, so she was only messing with them. Jiang Wanning looked at them laughing, saying she never intended to make them wear skirts and dance since she is no monster. Why would she make them suffer social death in public? Let's just forget about this whole cheerleading thing. But check this out, instead of being overjoyed, all 3 of them suddenly made the most bizarre, conflicted faces. Feeling inexplicably ashamed for being the petty ones all along, Zhou Wei suddenly slammed his hand onto the table. With an incredibly serious face, he demanded to know who she was looking down on. Since the men of room 404 keep their word, they had to accept the consequences, and Xiao Rui also shouted with a stiff neck that she was absolutely right. They were definitely doing this cheerleading gig, Lin Xian declared while pushing up his glasses. They might have lost the competition, but not their integrity, and this sudden burst of manliness left Jiang Wanning completely bewildered. Looking at these 3 guys who seemed determined to embarrass themselves, she did not know whether to laugh or cry. She asked if they were serious and mercilessly pointed out that they did not even know how to dance. Cheerleading takes rhythm and specific moves, so they better not turn it into a mess that ruins her reputation. This hit their weak spot directly because dancing is a technical skill, and just then, Zhou Wei looked toward me. His eyes darted around, and he immediately leaned in with a totally fawning grin. He shouted excitedly that while they did not know how, they had Brother Fang, who was a literal god among men and their all-around coach. From shot put to sprints, there was nothing he did not know, so a simple cheerleading routine would be a piece of cake. Xiao Rui and Lin Xian caught on instantly, chiming in that it was absolutely true. They begged Brother Fang to quickly teach them how to dance to that Love You song. The 3 of them were snickering inside, never guessing that a manly guy like me would not fall for their cheap tricks. Facing their ill-intentioned cheers, I was not embarrassed at all and just looked at the 3 of them like they were complete idiots. I raised an eyebrow, telling them teaching them was no problem, so what style did they want to learn? Jazz, competitive, or that Love You song? I told them to meet me at the field tonight for personal lessons. Instantly, the air in the entire cafeteria froze, and the smile on Zhou Wei's face froze solid. Xiao Rui's mouth hung wide open, and even Jiang Wanning's beautiful eyes went wide with pure disbelief. Zhou Wei grabbed me and stared in shock, asking if I was serious and if I actually knew how to do girl group dances. Giving him a flat look, I explained there was no difficulty in it, just basic body movements and rhythm control. The truth is, I was not joking at all because my system is the legendary max-level human system. With this cheat, any skill a human can master, whether it is combat, hacking, cooking, or even dancing. Now here's the crazy part: I am a grandmaster instantly, and Lin Xian just stared at my calm face. Feeling his entire worldview crumble, he could not help but shout and ask if there was anything in this world I could not do. I simply stood up and straightened my collar, leaving them with nothing but my mysterious, cool silhouette. Outside of giving birth, I know a thing or two about everything else, leaving Jiang Wanning staring with wide eyes. Completely stunned, she hurriedly stopped me to argue that cheerleading involves hip shaking and intense waist twisting. How could a big guy like me possibly know how? But I just took a very slow sip of my soup. I smiled, told her she was thinking too small, and wagged my finger. A simple cheerleading routine is nothing. As long as she can think of it, there is nothing I cannot do. Though everyone there was convinced I was just bragging. Especially those 3 bad friends of mine, who would not believe I could dance even if they died, and after lunch, I wiped my mouth. I was about to drag them to the gym for extra training, but just then, Jiang Wanning suddenly spoke up to stop us. Smiling, she shook her phone and suggested going to the dance studio instead, wanting to see for herself if I was just full of hot air. Shrugging indifferently, I told her anywhere is fine, and so our group marched grandly toward the arts building. On the way, Jiang Wanning suddenly caught up to me and suggested making a little bet. If I actually knew how to dance, she would basically be my personal cheerleader for every single event. She promised to cheer me on right from the sidelines. Hearing that, my 3 roommates gasped in absolute shock. You do realize I signed up for over 12 events, right? I smirked. You said it. Girl, do not come crying when you are exhausted. Jiang Wanning puffed out her chest, announcing her challenge with absolute, unshakable confidence. But if I win, you are wearing a massive pink skirt and joining Zhou Wei as the center dancer. Before I could even open my mouth, the 3 idiots behind me absolutely lost it, practically shaking with pure, evil excitement. They begged me to take the bet. My supposed friends were totally plotting my downfall. They wanted nothing more than to watch a tough guy like me shaking his hips in a bright pink skirt. Seeing them eagerly throwing me into the fire, I just shook my head. I stared calmly at Jiang Wanning. Fine, it is a bet. To make sure I did not try sneaking any practice, she watched me like a hawk the entire walk over, even banning my phone. I had to throw my hands up, desperately trying to prove my innocence to her. Inside the studio, Jiang Wanning crossed her arms and threw down the gauntlet, telling me it was not too late to back out and run. She even offered me a mask to hide my face in shame. I casually cracked my knuckles. Let me ask you one last time, then. When you lose, you are dancing at all my matches, so do not beg for mercy. Jiang Wanning just snorted at that. She claims she never backs down. So, right before her eyes, I queued up a massive, high-energy cheerleading anthem. As the heavy beat started pounding, my roommates whipped out their phones and opened their camera apps. Wearing devious grins, they got ready to film what they thought was my ultimate humiliation. But get this, the second that heavy bass dropped, I exploded into action. No hesitation. My sharp opening move left everyone completely frozen. My moves were not goofy or awkward. They were incredibly precise, sharp, and perfectly timed. My arms sliced through the air with real power, every sharp movement radiating explosive energy and control. It was supposed to be a basic cheer routine, but I transformed it completely. It became an absolute, blood-pumping war dance with insane, pro-level intensity. When the music stopped, I landed a flawless final pose. I was barely even breathing hard. Silencing the music, I turned to look at the 4 completely petrified faces in the room. Smirking, I asked her if the school beauty was finally ready to pay up on her little bet. Jiang Wanning was totally paralyzed. Her jaw literally dropped, leaving her standing there in absolute disbelief. Her entire worldview just shattered. She could not even stop herself from whispering, "Is this guy even the same person?" My grin widened. I asked her once more if our little deal still stood, school beauty. Jiang Wanning finally snapped out of her trance. Taking a sharp breath, she proudly tilted her chin right up. Flashing a bright smile, she declared that of course it counts, since she never goes back on a promise. Giving me a solid thumbs up, her voice was full of real respect as she called me Instructor Gu. She admitted she had no idea I possessed such talent, promising it would not just be her cheering me on. Jiang Wanning confidently patted her chest, vowing to recruit every single girl from the entire dance department. Every gorgeous girl in the arts college will join to create the most elite cheer squad ever witnessed. They would guarantee total support for me. Meanwhile, the expressions on the 3 guys next to me were completely ruined. Can you even imagine their faces? Their master plan to humiliate me completely blew up in their own greedy eyes. Instead, I just flexed on them hard, leaving them completely helpless on the sidelines. Here I was getting royal treatment, flanked by the school beauty and an elite squad of dancers. Xiao Rui was practically crying from pure jealousy. I clapped my hands, telling them to stop staring so miserably. My gaze shifted instantly into fierce instructor mode as I swept a freezing look over my three roommates. Since you are already here, we are not wasting time. I am putting you through drills, so you do not embarrass me out there. The three of them immediately let out a chorus of utterly pathetic wails. Ignoring their complaints, I turned to Jiang Wanning, raising an eyebrow to ask if she wanted to join in too. Jiang Wanning blinked, totally caught off guard. Huffing proudly, she puffed out her chest and said she would pass. She argued that her childhood martial arts training gave her a solid foundation, making a simple routine like this easy. She claimed she could master it just by watching. She sounded totally confident like a seasoned pro, but I knew she was secretly sweating. I looked back with a slight smile. Certain power generation techniques just can't be mastered by watching. Seriously. Come on, let's have some fun. Plus, you can help me fix these zombies and their awful moves. Let's do this. Who is scared of a little practice? Jiang Wanting shed her outer jacket. Underneath, her tight training gear put her incredibly toned figure on full display. It was pretty clear she wanted a closer look at my techniques. But once the training started, the scene became almost too painful to watch. Fatty, that's a hip sway, not a request to scratch an itch. Are you some bear rubbing against a tree? Old Jiao could only grimace. I need high-energy vibes, not you baring your teeth like you were going to eat someone. Zhu Wei and the others had to mimic pure girly moves. They were so embarrassed they looked ready to explode right there, while Jiang Wanning was completely doubled over laughing. She kept snapping photos on her phone. Seriously, Zhu Wei, that playful wink of yours was way too greasy. That was definitely going on her feed. But now, watch how the vibe in the room suddenly begins to shift as I step in. I step forward, giving Zhu Wei's waist a light tap before carefully adjusting the pressure on Xiao Rui's shoulder. I even adjusted Jiang Wanning's posture, telling her to feel the power in her spine. It is in her muscles, not her ears. Just an hour later, a total miracle occurred. Zhu Wei's once stiff hips seemed completely blessed. His movements actually started to show real flow. Xiao Rui was equally shocked to find his stiff arms hitting every single beat with perfect precision. He gasped, asking Brother Fang what was happening. His body did not even feel like his own anymore. It was moving entirely on its own. Linnea shouted in pure excitement. But the most stunned person was Jiang Wanning. Under my guidance, she only adjusted her power's angle slightly, but the quality of her entire movement instantly jumped to a whole new tier. It was an absolutely stunning fusion of explosive power and grace. This was a realm she hadn't reached even after years of hard practice. 2 hours later, the moment the music stopped, the four in the mirror finished in perfect unison. They hit that final pose, incredibly sharp and clean. Who would have ever believed it? Just 2 hours ago, these three guys were clumsy bears who couldn't walk and clap together. Jiang Wanning wiped the sweat from her forehead. She looked at her perfect form in the mirror, then turned to me, still breathing easily without a single drop of sweat. The realization finally hit her, and looking at me, she whispered to herself that it made total sense. No wonder her grandpa thought so highly of me, Jiang Wanning thought, looking at me with sincere awe. She asked Instructor Gu if there was anything I couldn't do, but I simply turned my head and gave her a mysterious smile.